Good afternoon and welcome to Cadwell Park, the mini Nürburgring right here in Lincolnshire. Well, the rain's coming down, but we have got 17 incredible races for you between now and close of play on Sunday as the Caterhams take centre stage. Football, I don't want to jinx it, but it could be coming home. England and Spain entering the final laps of a titanic tussle in the European Championships. But for now, we are firmly fixing our attention right here on proceedings in Lincolnshire. The first race is ready to get underway in a few minutes' time. It's the Caterham Academy Green Series. You're not going to just have to listen to my voice throughout this weekend. We've got Sam Parker as well, who's going to be chatting to some of the drivers, but he's currently racing in this first race. So we thought we would have a catch up with the number 7 car over here. We'll just make our way around. Just annoy him ever so slightly. Sam, sorry, jumping in very quickly. Hello. The rain's coming down a little bit. What have the conditions been like so far out on track?
First, I did the practice session this morning before our qualifying, and it was really greasy, but parts of it dry. And then in qualifying, it was actually a lot drier on the top. Up not this complex through the under the trees was super greasy. So luckily we've got the green flag lap, so we can see what the conditions are like and just take it from there.
We've had a couple of drivers going off in those practice laps as well in all of the categories so far. Like you said, it's okay in places, but it's going to be really important keeping all 4 wheels on the track.
100%, yeah. Even like the grass is so wet, so you do not want to get one wheel on the grass. So it's going to be, it's such a narrow track anyway, so overtaking is going to be hard. But yeah, it's just going to be, driving around as quick as we can and trying to keep, the people that are behind us. But yeah, just enjoying it as well.
Enjoying it's the main thing. In the series, everyone seems to be chasing down Bruno at the moment. It's been dominant, I think it's fair to say, so far, but there's always chances, and we've seen that throughout the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's right. You can see others improving so much throughout, third race of the season. Bruno's in another league, but, the others there are people that will be, fighting. In that last qualifying, I think David Hall was on pole for some of it. So, it's getting tighter now at the top.
And for you, what are you hoping for from your race before we let you focus on matters out on the track?
If I can still, if I can finish 10th, I'll be over the moon. If I can get any further up, then I'll be ecstatic, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Sam, all rooting for you to work further up the field. Thank you very much. Sam is going to be with us for the rest of the day as well after this race is finished. She's going to be doing some of the interviews for us as well. Let's catch up with some of the other drivers here. Let's go into Charlie Nern quickly. Charlie, hi there. Sam was just saying it's really greasy out on track. It's going to be really important to keep all 4 wheels on.
100%. I think also staying on that white line going in the first turn, I think it's going to be really greasy if you're going to be trying to go around the outside. But I think it's all changeable. So I don't think we've actually, this might be the wettest it's been all weekend, so we'll just have to go out there and see.
And that is the thing, isn't it, with the conditions? It's difficult to overtake here, but with a dry line potentially emerging, there are going to be options if you're brave enough to go out.
But then again, you're going to be going down the inside off the dry line. So to be honest, for today, I think the main aim is to just be consistent and keep it on, and just pray for mistakes. Because as you said, you have 1 or 2 opportunities a lap. It'll be harder to follow, and it's all changeable. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
See what happens, Charlie. Best of luck out there. We'll keep making our way down through the assembly point as well. Loads of cars out here. Everyone's starting to ramp up. You can see all of the different cars, all of the different colours. And we're going to make our way over quickly to Dan Crawley as well. Dan's going to quickly jump in. Common theme so far seems to be how greasy it is out on track, but that presents opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been slippy, really changeable. Got the setup sort of slightly wrong for quali. We're taking a bit of a gamble now for the race. We've gone for totally dry tyre. Been a little bit softer on the pressures, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, hopefully have a good start.
Fingers crossed with a good start. You said risking it with the dry tyres. Talk to us a little bit about the thinking behind that.
Just the weather that we've seen, although it's getting a bit of a glaze, it seems to dry really quick. So we're hoping that the grip will just come in. And hopefully the track temperature just lift that a little bit more. So yeah, fingers crossed we get it right.
Fingers crossed for sure. Hopefully the gamble works for you. We'll let you focus building up and just before we get ready to go out. Bruno has obviously been dominating the championship, but Aaron Coombs been the only person to be on the podium for every single race so far. So let's head over quickly, Alex Coombs, and just see if we can find him. Alex,
how are you?
I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks very much. Bit of rain, let's see what happens. It's going to be proper slippy, right?
Definitely going to be slippy. I'll be really quick because I feel like we're getting the hurry up. You've been the person challenging Bruno the most so far this season. Today seems like a great opportunity.
Well, anything can happen in the wet, right? It's a bit of a leveller and there's a bit unknown about it. I think I've got to go.
I think you do have to go. We're going to let you go. There he is, the man that's been on the podium for all 3 races so far, the only man other than Bruno van Dijk. Cars making their way out on track. It's wet, it's slippery, anything could happen. And well, before we cut to all of the action out on track, Sam has been catching up a little bit earlier before she got back to the day job with some of the drivers back in Parc Fermé.
I've just gate crashed these guys' lunches. I'm with the Academy Green group, so we've got Steve Lorryman first. Steve,
Hello!
Steve, how's it going for you out there?
Oh, brilliant. I got pole, which I was really pleased about. I wasn't expecting it, but luckily Bruno van Dijk had a nasty nasal injury, so he couldn't qualify. So I got the pole, and yeah, I'll probably win the race. Sam, you're meant to be professional. There we go.
Brian Thornton and Alex Coombs, who are racing in the Green Group Academy with me. Qualifying this morning was quite tricky, wasn't it? But we made it through quite well. I think the track was getting quicker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tough because we were all paranoid from how well it was the last day and how greasy it was. But dry lines came up pretty quick. It just took a little bit longer to find the dry line than previous days. But look, we had fun and car came back in one piece, so I was happy with that.
That's the first, isn't it?
I know.
Brian?
Yeah.
All the corners and everything.
Breaking news.
Yeah, very similar day really. It was pretty difficult to find out where it was going to break to start with, and actually some of the points where we thought it was going to be dry and to start breaking offline, significantly worse, and so struggled with that. Finally got a lap together, and then our culprit Bruno van Dijk ruined everyone's day. So and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Brilliant, thanks guys.
Yes, everyone, welcome to the Lincolnshire countryside, and we're tucked away here, nestled in the hills, but the hills are alive here with the sound of Caterhams, with the sound of exhaust fumes and revs, filling our hearts with joy because there's plenty of racing action set to take place here this weekend. And speaking of the racing action itself, let's take a look at how the grid lines up for race 1 this weekend. So here we are, the Caterham Academy Green Group, and you can see there on row 1, Bruno van Dijk, the championship leader, leading the way from qualifying as well, nearly over a second actually between himself and James Hall, the man in second, and Alex Coombs, his closest championship rival, back on row 3, and you can see Sam Parker, our lovely in-house reporter, back there starting in row 5. And if you can hear a bell in the background, that's the siren indicating that they're getting ready to start their green flag lap, and indeed they will start that very soon. Looking back further down the grid as well, Aaron Oliver and Charlie Nern begin that second half of the grid as well. Daniel Crawley, Chris Morley shortly behind them in row 8, and Alistair Kinnear and Mark Stancer bringing up the rear as well. And here we have our final rows of the grid. Last but not least, Scott Miller, Scott Darling and Chris Hicks, filling 12 rows of racing here to get us underway at Cadwell Park. And speaking of being nestled away in the countryside and in the hills here of Lincolnshire, it's not uncommon to see a few goats jumping around, or sheep, and I'm pleased to say there's a goat of the Caterham world who's come to join me in commentary. It's Chris Hutchinson. Chris, you're laughing, but that's probably your favourite introduction you've ever had.
I will absolutely take that. Yeah, brilliant to be here in Cadwell Park. It always gives some fantastic racing, especially in these Caterhams, and we've got plenty of Caterhams on stream for you today, including the 5 races from the official championships, including this first one of the green group, but we've got a Caterham Academy white group to look forward to, Roadsports 270s and 310s as well. Always good to call racing here. If you haven't seen it before, you're in for a treat. It's all about close action, slipstreaming, and don't forget these guys, they're only in this is their 3rd ever on on-track race. They're all complete beginners at the beginning of the season, and how they've learned, and they've got probably one of the most tricky track conditions to deal with over the course of this race. So let's fingers crossed they can keep it all facing in the right direction.
Chris, as if you couldn't get me any more excited for the racing this weekend, you literally just did it, because this is indeed my first weekend with you here at Cadwell Park, and it's set to be an absolute scorcher. Race after race after race with these fantastic little machines, and you can see them completing their green flag lap. Chris, quickly before they get back round to the starting grid, talk to me through, from a driver's perspective, what you're actually gaining out of this green flag lap.
So you're just checking track conditions. This will be the first time they've been on track since qualifying this morning, so you're seeing how much grip you've got. It's considerably wetter than they were in qualifying, and so they'll be just checking what grip level, trying to push as much as they can. Obviously you don't want to spin it, but it's checking also Marshall's post conditions on the track in case someone's dropped a load of oil out since they've last been on track, trying to get things warmed up and making sure you're feeling completely dry this morning. They might have even got 2 green laps, but today it will only be 1 because the conditions are roughly similar, and we'll get this race underway. But yeah, lots to get doing even in this even though they're new at this, they'll be learning quickly what they want to do out there.
Absolutely, and comfort is not a word that comes to mind in these exposed pieces of machinery. I don't think there's anything else up and down the country apart from a bike that makes you so exposed to the elements really here, Chris. So comfort isn't a word that I would choose, but I understand what you mean. You've got to get comfortable with your car on the track, and it looks as though the rear of the field are making their way around the corners from the barn, and they're taking their allotted positions on the grid. Bruno van Dijk, of course, the Caterham on the right-hand side of the screen there, as you can see, and James Horby, the man challenging him from second on the grid, so it'll be neck and neck most likely down to the corner. And a reminder as well, Alex Coombs is in the 3rd row on the right-hand side. He's the closest rival to Van Dijk in the championship at the moment as well, only a few points separating the two. And the board is out to get us ready for the start of the race. Our eyes are gripped onto the pitch straight. We're ready to go racing at Cadwell. The lights are up and they're out, and we're underway here in race 1. It's a poor start from Van Dijk, and it looks as though Hall has got the better of him on the outside. He'll definitely have the advantage going down into turn 1, flying up Coppet, and he does indeed. He's taken the lead from Van Dijk at the get-go, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first time that Van Dijk hasn't been leading one of these races. He has been the dominant force as the rest of this field flow on through. You can see the drizzle on the camera as they all go with the lights blazing up into the hill. But yeah, James Hall making a dream start there. Also worth saying, Erden, who started at 3rd place, he's maintained that. He's got a bit of a gap already to Van Dijk, but that's the highest up he's qualified since the beginning of this year, and doing very well. Thank you very much as we watch them all flow. But it's side by side once already for the lead as they go up Park Hill, then into Park Bend at the top of the hill. But it looked like Van Dijk was going to take that place back. Indeed he has.
He has indeed. Van Dijk's having none of it. He's used to leading these races and indeed the championship, and he will do just that as they head further around this fantastic circuit, the mini Nürburgring that someone so affectionately stole off you, Chris. And they're all making it safely round. That's the good thing. No damage, no cars that have flown off just yet in this race.
Yeah, saw Sam Parker also side by side there, looking to see whether she can make her way up from 10th place where she started on the grid. But it is these front 2 out front, Van Dijk followed by Hall, and they've got a little bit of a gap. We might see that come back. You can see how tricky the conditions are out there. They're all really struggling as they head down into Mansfield this time.
I was literally just about to say, you can see from that brilliant camera shot there the sheet of rain that's starting to come in here at Cadwell Park. The light drizzle, but there's a lot of light drizzle, Chris, and that will definitely be affecting the track as we can see the cars now flying up in towards the mountain. Here we go. How is it going to turn out? You lose a lot of speed going up that hill, but Van Dijk has maintained his lead, but he is being hunted down by Hall. A change of positions as well, because Darling's already flown right up into 3rd position, Chris.
Yeah, well, Darling's doing a great job. He's really fly-by-wire driver. He really feels the conditions, and he's looking like he's making good progress early on in this race. Van Dijk doing well to hold on into the lead, but not disappearing off like we've seen before. You can see how squirrely and slowly they're having to go through these Hall bends. Normally they're 70 miles an hour in the dry, so you can see how wet and tricky these conditions are as these academy drivers all look to see what they can do. Lap 1 completed.
Lap 1 is complete, and this is how things stand. Van Dijk has maintained the lead after having it stolen off him from Hall in the 1st corner. Darling has leapt up 3 places into 3rd. Coombs has been able to leap up from 5th as well. Remember, he is the championship rival of Van Dijk, so he has got the bit between his teeth, and he is trying to get up the grid as quickly as possible and into those podium positions.
Yeah, Darling was sideways as we watched him through turn 1 there as well, so he really is pushing on. There's a risk-reward element of that. If you touch a white line or any of that grass, and one of the cars is well off in the lead there. What is that Hall? And there's Van Dijk gone back into the drifting behind, I think. So there's a bit of a change out front there through turn one. I said one of the cars was sideways. Maybe there was a bit of an incident there. But as we look at the cars disappearing off then up to the top end of the track, and I think it is indeed looks like Van Dijk's dropping down to 4th. So he's had a problem out there. And he has
Contact between Van Dijk and Hall. The two Caterhams coming together, and it's paid off for the others who are hunting in behind. I believe it might be Darling that's flown out into the lead. We'll await to see as they go round the corner and disappear from our cameras. The next one that picked them up should give us an indication of how this race is unfolding in front of us. But at the moment, Van Dijk has slipped down the order, and it's a bit too dim there, Chris, to be able to see properly who's actually taken the lead in this race.
I think there are two turquoise cars. I think James Hall might be disappearing. There's another driver off there, another black driver. That's not. Is that Van Dijk again? Is he having a nightmare start to this first race? He also crashed in qualifying, so he's had to fix his car before now coming out on track. And we're just watching Sam Parker going through. It is indeed James Hall then, who's scampered off into the distance. He's over to Alistair Darling, who is in second place, and then it is Coombs in that third place, I think. So as they've gone through, it's Van Dijk is well down now into about 9th or 10th place.
He won't be happy with that at all, Chris. He won't be happy one bit. Positions changing, and we've only done one lap of racing, Chris. This is lap 2. Yes. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
Save your voice a little bit. There's a long way to go, and there's lots of position changes in Caterham. It's awesome to watch as they're all around the back of this track again, feeding. Just watch them out of this commentary box in front of me, or as they slip and slide as they go over that line. James Hall is so far ahead. He is disappearing into turn 1 as the second place driver Darling comes across the line.
I'm looking at the timing screens now, and Van Dijk is falling down the order. He's lost 6 positions on that lap alone. We're hearing a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd as well as they fly up coppice in towards the distance away from our commentary position. But as things stand, the top 3 are currently Hall, Darling and Coombs, with all gained positions from their starting grid slots.
Yeah, and Darling here having to protect himself from Coombs. Coombs is on the move, moving up through it. Darling did make the initial move, but he is now side by side as they go down, up the long straight now. Initially they go down, and it is side by side then into Park Bend at the top of the hill. And it does look like Coombs is going to have the advantage. He's on the inside of the right-hander that they're approaching.
Look like they just gave each other a little bit of a kiss, and it is the inside advantage that is going to pay off here for Coombs. So that means he's taken second position, but he can't seem to keep it. The car wobbling like crazy there, the back end almost kicking out, Chris. But he has been able to take the position away from Darling as they head back towards the mountain.
And it's Burden making his way up. He started in that 3rd place. He's now made his way back to 4th after dropping to about 6th place. So he having that speed from qualifying re-showing itself. But don't forget, Hall's disappearing out front. But Coombs is wobbling. The little
contact. It stepped out for Darling, and Coombs was there. And unfortunately, Coombs might have been collected ever so slightly. We think that the cars have survived. They had. There's no major contact just yet that's resulted in an off, and I can't see any flags. And I'm waiting for the first cars to emerge. Here we go, past the commentary position in the mountain. Hall disappears off into the distance, but who will be the man to follow him?
It is Coombs over Darling then, and there's Burden now following through as well. In fact, Darling's dropped down to 4th, so it's actually Burden who's behind Coombs, so the contact did cost Darling a couple of places there as they feed themselves back through Hall Bends again.
The important thing to keep your eyes on at home, ladies and gentlemen, is that Van Dijk has slipped down to 7th position, and as we said in the build-up to this race, Coombs was his nearest championship rival. There's a bit of a points difference between 3rd and 7th, isn't there, Chris?
Yeah, there's a single point difference between each of the positions after first, second, there's 2 point difference, then everyone else is separate at a point. Every point in Caterham racing is important. You need to get it. So every single overtake here is another point in your championship. As we watch them coming across to complete their another line there, a lap there. Hall still out in front by a fair distance over Coombs. He's 8 seconds now into the good. Darling following back into 3rd, so there's more. Where's Burden gone? Burden's gone all the way down to 10th, 11th. In fact, we've lost Burden out on track. He's not coming through unless his transponder didn't happen, so let's keep an eye out for that. But it was Darling came across in 3rd. Carver's in Van Dijk is now up to 5th from 7th.
Yes, according to our timing screens and indeed the board that you can see on the live stream as well, Burden has not completed the last lap, so everyone else is moving on to their 3rd lap, or has completed their 3rd lap of racing, sorry. Burden is still yet to complete that 3rd lap, so most likely a GPS or timing issue, but we'll wait to inform you as well as you see more action unfolding on our screens now.
I can't see the number 56 there, so I think he has dropped down. He must have disappeared over at the hairpin or down through Barn, I think.
But that's Van Dijk making a nice move on the outside, and he's hunting down fiercely Darling as well. He's desperate to get back towards that top 3 position. We were just talking about how important championship points are, and he knows it for sure.
Really pushing. That's Hall out front. He's losing time. He can see them catching up Darling, and now it's back to Van Dijk, who's making his way, or streaming back to the front of the grid again. But Van Dijk and Thornton and Snape there all looking in, and Hall, I guess the Jaws music's playing in his ears because he was out of control as he went through the Swan there that time. Gooseneck.
Well, he's flown past the commentary position here in the mountain. Hall with a commanding lead at the moment. 8 seconds you can see there on the timing screen, but I can assure you it's ever so slightly more, and Coombs is right behind him. There's a nice little pack forming here at the front. Darling is being hunted down by Van Dijk, which means he's taken Cabot's position from him. So there's a lot of changing going around behind the leader at the moment, Chris.
Yeah, and it was actually Coombs in that second turquoise car that was one sideways, so he's broken a little gap as it goes, as they go through Hall Bends. Just keeping an eye on Sam Parker as well, her progress through. She's 11th the last time across the line, fighting with Nern in front of her. They've had some good battles already this year, so see if she can make that place back.
This is incredibly exciting to watch, Chris. How do I get one of these things?
Oh, you can. If this is all the Caterham Academy, if you want to get on CaterhamCars.com, you can go and buy one of these cars. As long as you've never raced a car before, you can go out there. I can see Burden is all the way back down, right deep in the field, probably half a lap down, so he did recover back to the track, but he is a long way down. But yeah, you can go to CaterhamCars.com, sign up for the Caterham Academy, and a brilliant package it is indeed.
That must have been some sort of mistake for Burden, perhaps in the Hall Bends and the hairpin area, the bit that's just out of reach for us, Chris, from our commentary position. We can see a lot, but we can't see, or we're not that omnipresent as much as we wish we could be here at Cadwell this weekend.
Really tight bends out there as well, and extremely slippy. Last place to go, that's Hall.
More wobbling, sorry, Chris, more wobbling from the front runners. Under braking as well, so they're going for it.
Yeah, they're really having to push, even though it's Academy and this is their third ever race. They are having to figure out where the grip is. How do you drive fast? This sideways is generally not quick, so it's actually a slower thing to do, but really easy to do. It's easy to grab a brake. They don't have a brake bias valve in the Academy car when they first start out, as Coombs again drifted sideways. So remember, Hall is still out in front and pulling distant, but another start is also sideways. Really, they're going sideways more than they're going straight forward at the moment, but they are finding out, and what car control to have in your third ever race.
This is the time to start learning it, that's for sure, in conditions like this. And here comes Hall, the race leader, flying out in front. He's definitely built up a lovely advantage there from first, so the Jaws music may be slightly dying down in his helmet. Who's the man behind him? Well, of course it's Coombs. They are being hunted down fiercely by Van Dijk, who's managed to work their way up to third position now. He's taken the place from Darling, and it means as they disappear off into the forest, once again we'll wait to see how they emerge onto pit straight and who will have taken first, second and third again.
We're just watching Sam Park here on screen in her battle, looking to see whether she can catch up with Nern. She's dropped away a little bit since the last time through. She's going to come over the mountain. We can hear the wheels really losing traction as they head over the brow of that hill, and she heads into Hall Bends and really has to hang on the anchors to get these cars. You can see how they look so pedestrian around this section of the track.
Those cars. There is Sam Parker again, heading round the final turns and onto the pit straight now. She'll come down, hunting down as well Nern for what will be the final position in the top 10, and that's a good race here in the Caterham Academy Series. If you finish in that top 10, you've done a flipping good job.
Yep, she finished 10th in her first race, finished 7th in. I know she's looking to see whether she can get higher than that 7th. At the moment, though, she's got that 10th place just disappearing off up the road, so she'll be wanting to see what she can do. But tricky conditions, as you can see all the rain lights blazing out on these cars as well as they head up into turn 1. In the dry, that's absolutely flat out turn 1. You can see this left curve going away from us. They're definitely not going to be flat out in these conditions. It is generally getting wetter out there, but it does change lap by lap.
That's a nice dive down the inside from White. Sorry to interrupt you there, Chris, on Snape, taking what looks to be 7th position there on the timing screens. Really brave move in these conditions to go so late on the brakes.
Yeah, and it really is a risk. If they touch the grass or the white line, that will be a spin easily, or if they touch any curbing. So yeah, it really is a risk. Sometimes they just do it by default, by accidentally braking too late and figuring out, oh, I could get it stopped after all. As we watch the leader going past up, here is the leader, Hall, as he heads into Hall Bends, and he's got now a 9-second gap over Coombs, so that gap is growing, and Coombs is having to look in his mirrors now because Van Dijk is closing in on him.
Alex Coombs has indeed got some company, but we have got someone who's gone off the track. It's Andrew Davison. He was running in 16th before he went off, but after going off and venturing through the grass, those Caterhams unfortunately aren't very good rally cars. They're definitely designed for the track, and he's made his way back onto it, but unfortunately he would have lost a lot of time and a lot of positions.
Yeah, the gaps are so small, generally speaking, that yeah, you're going to lose a lot of positions, but he did well not to spin it, so he's slippy out on those bits of grass, and it's very easy to put your foot down and lose it, which is going to cost you even more. Sam Parker's back close again with her battle, so we keep that eye as it goes past us, but Van Dijk is really closing in now. It's the battle for second and third, which looks like it's the one that's going to be interesting.
He is indeed. 1.8 seconds separates Coombs and Van Dijk from each other, the two big championship rivals, and with those 2 points separating first and second onwards, Chris, these are vital times now as we enter the final 7 minutes of racing.
Yeah, Van Dijk's had such a good run through the early part of this season. We're heading to the midpoint now, obviously, but we've still got 4 races to go after this one, so they've still got just under halfway through as we finish this weekend. And but fantastic action for him, and like I say, he's been the class act. This is the first time he's been sort of slightly nose out of joint.
And on that last lap as well, he set the fastest lap of the race so far, 2:02.2 as well. All the twos for Van Dijk, but he doesn't want to settle for second place. He's definitely hunting down Hall out front, who's enjoying a lot of fresh air at the moment, and you can see there Coombs on your screen disappearing off into the distance once more. He's the man that should be concerned about Van Dijk hunting him.
And I think after being down in 8th place, I think Van Dijk will be pretty pleased that he's made his way back up to that podium paying position. Fastest lap is also worth an extra point for our drivers out there, so again, another really important part in Caterham racing. That's the equivalent of overtaking someone, how important that is out here when the gaps are so small. Obviously, as the academy, they'll get more experience as the years go on, and they upgrade their cars through the other championship series that we're going to see later, and you'll see that the action gets even tighter and more frantic as the day goes on today.
Fastest first sector was set by Coombs as well on that lap, but a very, very slow second sector in comparison to the man hunting him down, and Van Dijk is right on his tail now as well. Bruno Van Dijk is coming up behind Alex Coombs, and they will be fighting right to the very end, but James Hall is enjoying a 9-second lead now. The gap up front currently stands at that. What's it going to be as he takes the timing beacon now here at Cadwell Park? Has he been able to open up that gap even more?
We're going to have to find out in 9 seconds time, aren't we?
Well, I'm starting to count in my head, Chris. That's what I was doing. That's what the pause was for. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm gripped to this right now. There we go. They've taken the timing beacon. They've set some fast laps. Coombs just going ever so slightly quicker than Van Dijk as well on that occasion. And there's roughly a 9-second gap, but there's less than a second now between Alex Coombs and Bruno Van Dijk.
Indeed, and you can never accuse Coombs of being under the limit. He has been sideways more than he's been forwards. Whenever you've switched to him, he's been sideways. That time through Hall Bends, he was really flinging it around, taking risks there, but obviously enjoying the conditions, and feels comfortable enough to do it.
Talking about people that are enjoying the conditions, Bruno Van Dijk has smashed his current best lap by a second. He's down to 2:01.2, Chris.
Yeah, it's getting quicker. The conditions are, there's a drizzle, or the mizzle as I might call it, has faded away a little bit, so it will now be drying out just a touch. It's not going to get dry before the end of this track, but there are pieces of the track, like the tarmac in front of us, is drying out quicker than it is through Hall Bends. So they're facing these tricky conditions, and they've got no reference points to say, right, this is like it was when I was racing last year. They're learning all those reference points every single time as we watch Hall disappearing off. It's a lonely race now, isn't it? He's going to be delighted about how lonely his race has been so far.
I mean, if you had a radio through to James Hall, you might start saying to him now, look, James, there's 4 minutes left in this race. You've got a 9-second lead. Let's just finish. No more sideways action, please. Let's get this car as straight as possible through the rest of the circuit.
And I'm sure that is popping through his head at some level. Absolutely regulated against. We're not allowed to talk to them, unfortunately. Can you imagine if we could? But yeah, there wouldn't be enough time. But it's sideways again as we go up through the mountain for our second place drivers. You can see them now coming through Hall Bends. Absolutely, you can nose to tail. The number 3 of Van Dijk has now closed that gap. Coombs is again sideways, drifting that car as they head through the right just before they go to a tight right hairpin just before our Lex camera picks them up as they go through the trees. This is the slippy part of the track, and the bit that we lost the driver earlier on. There we go, as they come out the final bend. It is a swap.
We've seen them re-emerge through Barn, and they have indeed swapped around, so they'll take the timing beacon, but it looks like Van Dijk has also given the place back. We're looking out onto the circuit, which is obviously slightly ahead of the stream, and Van Dijk has let Coombs have that place back, so obviously that will refresh as it has done.
I wonder whether there was a yellow flag maybe out back and he had to give that position back. It's hard to say from where we are. Either that or he had a misgear or something along those lines, but it's not usual to see a place go straight back, so he was obviously feeling like that wasn't his place to take.
And you can't gain much of an advantage by going off then coming back on as well, so it wouldn't have been anything to do with that for anyone questioning that at home as well. But there will be some sort of drama. There's a bit of bodywork that's just blown off as well.
That's a rear wheel arch of a Caterham. You'll see plenty of those this weekend, I imagine, but they went side-by-side contact. That was the number 51 losing his left rear wheel arch. That was Carver's losing it to Thornton, I think, as they were fighting, and they just went wheel-to-wheel contact as they went through Chris Bend that time.
very friendly contact. They won't have choice words about that. They'll just say, sorry mate, you owe me a new rear
Do you know
wheel
what?
arch.
On some days it's good to lose your rear wheel arches because it cools your tyres down. I don't think they're going to have that problem today, but it's not an uncommon sight to see a Caterham without its rear wheel arch. But this is the battle for sort of 4th, 5th and 6th, isn't it? This is where Lewis Darling has ended up, and he's having that battle with Carvers and Thornton.
Well, he's actually just lost that position to Carvers, who's gone through ahead of him. So Carvers will take 4th position. Darling, he had a really good race at the start, but he slowly started to fall back in terms of pace as this race has elapsed.
I don't know if you're calling Darling or me Darling, but it's very kind of you to be working with you as we go around here through this gooseneck that we see coming down the hill. It's a really steep manoeuvre down here into Mansfield. As we look at that battle, it is still in 2nd place. Coombs going past our camera here.
There is less than a Caterham between Coombs and Van Dijk right now. That's how I'm going to put it to you, Chris, because we're obviously going to see James Hall come flying out of the forest down the pitch straight. He's got his comfortable lead, but I am very intrigued to see who's going to come out in 2nd position.
And they're going to be starting their last lap, I think, this time. I didn't see when the leaders went across, but we've only got a minute. There we go. So we've only got a minute 30. This will be the start of their last lap. I can see the last lap board being hung out by the marshals. Then we've got a car out to the grass. That's in front of Sam Parker. Who's that? Is that what the battle that she was having? She's actually made her way back up to 10th before we've seen her, and I think that might be Oliver just in front of her as well, maybe White.
Well, Sam Parker's definitely got an opportunity to grab the position ahead of her, as I can confirm as well that Van Dijk is still stuck in 3rd position behind Coombs, but once again has set another fastest lap of the race, this time 2:01.24 instead of 2:01.26. He is absolutely flying out there.
That was Burden making his way back through past, or had made his way back through past Parker, but now dropping that place again. So last time he went over the line, he's been battling with those two. But here we are coming down then to the last section of this race. We just watched the back markers, but we can see where those leaders are as they're heading around this 2-mile track.
The fantastic Union Jack livery of Lorryman actually towards the back of the grid. I am a massive fan of that, Chris. I'm going to have to grab him for a chat about it in the paddock afterwards. What a great sight to see, and I'm eagerly anticipating seeing, we've got a car that's pretty much stopped in the middle of the circuit there. That's Stancer, who's another marker towards the back of the grid as well. More back markers going in front of us in commentary here. We await to see whether James Hall has been able to maintain his lead. It was at 9 seconds. It had dropped down to 7.5 when they last took the beacon. So let's see how they emerge from that back part of the track. James Hall is out in front, but who's going to be behind him? Will it be Coombs? Will it be Van Dijk?
Yeah, James Hall is just coming into the Hall bends. Our leader is into the final part. Here we are on screen. You can see James Hall. He's still 7.6 seconds back, so he has definitely dialed it back in these later part of the race.
Van Dijk is in 2nd. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. He's taken it from Coombs, and Coombs has dropped back dramatically. There's definitely been some sort of incident between the two of them, or a significant loss of power and speed at one point by Coombs. As we see, someone's gone off completely. That is Nern. It was the man who was fighting Sam Parker. So Nern has gone off and lost that position. And we're getting ready now to watch James Hall take the checkered flag in race 1 here at Cadwell Park. And that's one very happy Caterham Academy driver. And it looks as though Bruno Van Dijk is going to be the 2nd Caterham to take the checkered flag. He is indeed. And look at what it means. He's banging his fists. He's celebrating. That was a great drive from the number 3 car. And we're waiting to see whether Coombs will take the checkered flag. He does indeed, significantly behind Bruno Van Dijk, and Van Dijk, I can confirm, will get the fastest lap of the race as things stand, but we are waiting for the rest of the grid to come through and take the checkered flag. But Chris, what a race, and it's still not over. There are plenty of cars going around.
Yeah, we can see all the other drivers crossing the line, completing their 20 minutes of action here. First bit of Caterham action, plenty more to finish off today's racing. Well, the action from the Caterham Academy White group to follow as well, so don't swap your sets. We are going to be continuing that action, but that had all the signs that Coombs went onto the grass at some point, and Van Dijk was just able to take that gap. It looked, whether it was helped, we didn't see, but I just think he might have dropped his wheel onto a White, trying to keep Van Dijk behind, and then that's what it looked like from where we were sat.
Sam Parker, unfortunately, just missing out on a top 10 finish. Very, very close. Not a lot separating themselves and 10th position, and a fantastic drive in very difficult conditions, Chris.
Yeah, they're going to be pleased, all these drivers, to get to the end. It's really fantastic. So I don't think we lost anyone there. Everyone who did spin continued on. So really well done to them. They've all completed now their 3rd race, and they'll be looking towards their next next challenge, which is going to be heading up to Knock Hill on the 3rd and 4th of August. So what a challenge that will be. Riding that track in both directions. On Saturday they run it in one direction, Sunday they run it in the other. A unique thing that we do in Caterham Motorsport. So again, great stuff to look forward to for all these drivers.
Crispin, you've made a sale. Stop selling. I've already asked you where to pick up a car online, but you're just making me even more eager. Well, let's take a look at the results, because all the cars have crossed the line, and there it is, the important stat up front. James Hall wins by nearly 10.5 seconds over championship leader Bruno van Dijk, who fought his way back from dropping all the way down to 7th at one point, and he climbed all the way back to 2nd. And Alex Coombs comes in for the final slot on the podium. And of course, a special shout out to Sam Parker in the number 7 Caterham, part of our broadcasting team here this weekend at Cadwell Park. And a confirmation as well, Bruno van Dijk got the fastest lap. It was that 2:01.2 that he got, and in the wet, Chris, that is an impressive lap.
Yeah, and I think we can see all the drivers heading back into Parc Fermé then. And hopefully we'll be able to go to listen to some of their stories in a short while. But fantastic 20 minutes of action first up, but we've got plenty more to go.
Chris, race 1 is done. You go and have yourself a coffee and a drink. But for now, we're going to head down to Harry, who's in the Parc Fermé, to talk to some of the drivers. Harry.
Well, there we have it then. Bruno van Dijk has been beaten. First time this season, and James Hall, you can see there, just taking his helmet off. A great recovery drive from Bruno van Dijk. 7th at one stage, but he climbed his way back up to 2nd place at the end. And you can see here, James Hall celebrating as he gets out of the car. We'll just grab a quick word with him as well. James, congratulations.
Thank you.
Bruno has been beaten, and you are the man to do it on his birthday. Sorry about that. But the conditions look really challenging out there, but you kept your composure, and how relieved are you to get over the line and see P1?
It's good fun as well, yeah, but if you can't win as a Scottishman in the rain, then what are you doing wrong?
It's your natural habitat, isn't it, surely?
That's it. It's a summer's day.
Really is a summer's day. Now, for you, see, great first win, 4th in the championship before this race, starting to move yourself up. This gives you hope going forwards as well now.
Absolutely. Silverstone was a spin, so it was a bit gutting after that, but onwards and upwards from here. So.
Onwards and upwards, congratulations, brilliant result.
Thank you very
Now,
much.
it was his birthday, sadly, but he's still recovered well. We'll come over to Bruno. Considering you were down to 7th at one stage,
the win streak is broken now, so the pressure's off for the next one. So.
pressure's definitely off. But considering you were down to 7th, getting 2nd place on that final lap as well, a really good recovery drive.
Yeah, Alex went off. He made a mistake in turn 2, so that gave me 2nd place. But you know, they both drove really well, and yeah, didn't have anything more to give today. So yeah.
And say if you're slightly disappointed with 2nd place, you know you're still in a really good place going forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, not quite the first place you wanted on your birthday, but still another podium finish. And, well, we saw their 3rd place, keeping up the podium records.
Yeah, it's my natural habitat, I think, 3rd. I've managed it every race, so, apart from the sprint. But, yeah, it's a mistake on the last lap to let Bruno through. A bit of a shame, really. How did Sam do?
11th in the end.
Oh, cool. All right. You have a good time in the wet?
Oh, we'll find out in a minute. I think she hopefully did. There's a fair few runners, riders, spins out there as well. Sure. We'd all said beforehand about keeping it on the track being really important. Didn't quite keep it on the final lap, but like you said, consistency.
Yeah, quite a painful one, that one. I'm not sure if there's a lesson in that or just to go home and kick myself too, but we'll find out, I think.
We'll find out. But even still, as you said, keeping that consistency on the podium, back in your natural habitat. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Have a good day.
So, race 1 is done. A great race. Bruno van Dijk beaten, so it shows anything can happen this weekend, and we're going to get right back into the swing of things, moving on now into the Sigma 135s. Yeah, do you want to?
He basically comes from Bristol. He's won at Castle Coombe. Black and red car, number 46, obviously with pole position. Next to him is 135, Paul Goldstein. Paul Goldstein, and we'll see him out in a later race as well. He's 77 championship. He's won twice already.
Welcome back, everyone. Briefly catching up with Harry there in Park Fermé to congratulate the victorious driver, James Hall. He was very happy with that victory. And as we've already alluded to in this coverage so far, the racing action is non-stop this weekend at Cadwell Park here in the Lincolnshire countryside. And next up is the Sigma 135 series. You can see them disappearing off for their green flag lap. Just one lap gifted to these drivers to get comfortable with the cars and get comfortable, ready to race. And speaking of the race itself, let's take a look at how they line up. And on pole position is the number 46, Jamie Winrow. Shortly behind him, Paul Goldstein in the number 135. Tom McEwing shortly behind him as well in the number 49, Paul Armitage as well in the 56. They make up the front two rows, and they will be the cars to keep your eyes fixated on as they head through turn one and up into the hill. A much drier track than we've experienced in race one as well. That's the beauty of having other people go ahead of you, is they can dry up this tarmac and they can make it much, much faster for you as well. Here we are taking a look at the second half of the grid, or the second of three parts of the grid, I should say. Sorry, Chris. Giles Derry there, fronting that in the number 77. Peter Mott shortly behind him in the number 196. Andrew Sager as well in row 8 in the number 119. Sean Cronin in the number 117. And Andrew Bergham and Mark Barrett are the ones to lock off the second third of the grid. And of course, bringing up the rear, and by last and no means least, you have Russell Gunter and John Hood fronting that up in row 11, and John Vincent and Simon Nicholas in the 18 and 27 respectively will round up this grid of Caterham racers. A jam-packed grid ready to get going here at Cadwell Park, and I know no one has been able to see it on comms as well, but Chris, I don't think I've ever seen anyone eat a Kit Kat bar so quickly on a break, but you've shown me it's possible, as we see them heading around the rest of this circuit, just trying to get used to it. And Chris, I alluded to that point of when a race goes ahead of you, they do you a favour really, they dry up that track and make it much faster.
Yeah, for these graduate cars out here, they're going to be looking to... They would have been watching that race before to see what happened, and I'm not so familiar with the drivers in this, although there's some familiar faces from when they had times in the official Caterham Motorsport ladder. But the cars you're seeing here are effectively the same style. This is equivalent of the 270R class, which we'll see a bit later on as we watch them in front of us, and you can see them on your screen going through. This is effectively sort of 2 steps up from the Academy cars, so it's like that kind of equivalent pace. So they've got no windscreens, you'll see, and they also lost their front lights. It's basically a race-going car now in this Sigma 135 class. A good grid size here as well.
You answered my question before I could even get to it, Chris. I was just about to ask you to explain all the differences, but you did that. You don't even need to worry. You can get back to your Kit Kat Chunky, that's fine. As we see them start to take their grid slots there in front of the marshals. As I say, Jamie Winrow taking pole position, but 4 tenths separated him and Paul Goldstein in qualifying. So they're neck and neck on the grid next to each other in first and second, and they were neck and neck on the timing screens as well. So plenty of reasons to watch those front runners as we see the rear of the field coming out the back, emerging from the forest, taking their positions out the back of the barn turn. We're just waiting for the board to come down from the marshals to let us know that the racing is about to get underway. And we will have 20 more minutes of racing once we do get going. We're still waiting for the timing board. The board is up. The warning is out there. The racing is ready to commence at Cadwell Park. The lights are on. And the lights are out. They are away. Fantastic start from Goldstein as well in that beautiful gold shimmering Caterham. And in fact, Armitage is going to come through and take second place from Jamie Winrow as well. So Winrow from pole position has potentially slipped back to third, but he might have been able to squeeze it through the first corner as well. But it's Goldstein taking the headlines and taking first place.
Yeah, so also already a couple of wings went flying there as they went through turn one, as it all compressed in the midfield. The action here likely to be a lot closer, and they're also trying to figure out what the conditions are under their track. But it is Paul Goldstein, and he is running in both championships. He's in the graduates as well as the official championships. He's got a busy weekend ahead of him because he's got these 2 races for the graduates and 3 for the official championships as well. He runs in a Roadsport grid as we watch them all come out into Park Bend, all being very well behaved at the moment, but we will see a couple with locked up.
Oh, a bit of a lock-up and contact as well. And it's the Martini liveried, or the Martini inspired liveried number 12 of Hood, who's also connected with the number 26. So it looks like both of them are now going to be out, whether we have a yellow flag or not, or maybe even a safety car. Depends if they can get those cars going again, Chris. But
like
drama on lap 1.
Yeah, Birbaum able to get there, but he was the innocent party there. Just a bit of a lock-up, and he actually slammed into the side of him. But he's going to be licking his wounds there, and he's got to catch up quite a big gap now. But it's what happens when you snatch a wheel, and it's easy to do. As we watch the rest of the field, then the bottom part of this track just heading towards that mountain as they're all sort of sideways as they go down the mountain. I can see out our commentary box as you watch them all jumping, and what a great shot that is, as the front wheels of these cars just leaving the ground, and as they head through then into Hall Bends, all line astern.
That is the difference between the cars in the graduate category and this evolution as well. The front wheels flying up into the air as they come through that tricky uphill section. Oh, and a spin as well here. It's the number 18. We're just trying to identify that car. So many cars try and keep our eyes across, Chris.
And at the back of the field there, so he was already towards the rear, but he's going to spin and actually going to lose out even more place. I think that was Nicholas going past. As the leaders, though, going up into turn 1 as they head away from Canberra. Those 2 rear wheel arches have been quickly dispatched by the marshals. Thank you ever so much to all our Orange Army out there. It's going to be a busy weekend for them out on track picking up wheel arches, no doubt, as they head then around into this. So we have heard Winrow has been the sort of man in charge of these championships for a while, and where is he currently? He's down in 3rd place behind McEwing, another driver who runs in either the graduates or the main championship. He's in the green car there, just being chased down by Winrow. So Goldstein and McEwing both getting the better of them, and Groom having a great result in 4th place so far.
Jamie Winrow will be very cross with himself that he slipped from pole position down into 3rd place as things stand. And just a quick one on the Vincent thing, actually, he made up quite a few positions on that opening lap just to then spin out and spoil the fun. He's going to have to work really hard to go from the very back now back to where he previously was, Chris.
Yeah, taking a few risks, wasn't he, to make those places up, and unfortunately it all came to a head as they went into Park Bend that time. But Winrow looking like he's struggling, maybe on a more of a dry setup, and his car might come back to him as the day goes on and the track dries out.
Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe the track isn't as dry as I thought after that Academy Series went out. So Goldstein is still leading them. Winrow's chasing them down. He's in 2nd place as well. He's been able to snatch that back from Armitage. There's been a lot of very close racing in this opening exchange.
Yeah, absolutely, and more of the same. It will happen like this all throughout the day. You can see these drivers are a little bit more experienced than our Academy drivers. They've all been racing for a number of years, or most of them will have been racing for a number of years. And so, yeah, the gaps close down, the action gets even more fraught, and they will have experience in these conditions. Although Paul Goldstein is only in the Academy last year, so he's doing a fantastic job to be showing a clean pair of heels to Tom McEwing, who's an erstwhile winner in 2nd place.
Good show then there from Paul Goldstein, taking the lead. He's very much comfortably in the lead there. 2.5 seconds he's already been able to establish there between himself and McEwing. Winrow, though, very much on the tail of McEwing as well. He's desperate to try and get back towards the front as well, and Groom not too far away from them as well, but he's leading his own little pack with Armitage and Gunter just behind them.
Yeah, what's better than one Caterham? Well, Goldstein decided he wanted 2. He's got this 270 and he's got his Roadsport. We'll see him out later as we go side by side then. Tom McEwing on the left, and it looks like it's Winrow on the right then. And it's going to be a Winrow in that number 46 car who takes over and is now into the 2nd place.
Fantastic move there from the number 46. Nice and controlled, but Winrow needs to get on the power quickly because McEwing is trying to stay with him. And he's desperately... I've got that completely the wrong way around. Apologies. Winrow's taking that place.
That's right.
No, McEwing is taking that place. Winrow is trying to stay with him.
No, you were right. The 2nd time, Winrow's just gone past in front of McEwing. So it's Goldstein out front, who's disappeared off the front of our screen. Then it's the Winrow in the dark car, and then that's the McEwing in the green car. So they're following on through. So they have swapped that position. Groom is in a red car, so he'll be following on, and then Armitage and Gunther over there as well, as we watch Goldstein heading over the mountain that time. Again, you can see Winrow's front of this car just leaving. As this track dries out, they will get more and more air under their wheels, and by the end of today, if it keeps dry, then we will see full air under all four wheels as they jump over that mountain. But you can see how wet it still is under these trees, and how slow even in these 270s they're having to travel. Still sideways action there from one of our drivers nearer the rear of the field as they try and get that power down, but it's really difficult to do so.
That was Giles Derry in the 77 getting a little bit too sideways for our liking. Goldstein's taking the timing beacon once again. Winrow shortly behind him as well. And McEwen again still holding on to third place. I think it's going to be a three-way battle for the lead there. Goldstein is looking quite comfortable out front though as things stand. As you see even more drivers come through and more quick times being set. This track is evolving, Chris.
But yeah, that's what evolving is the name of the game. And if Goldstein's more set up to a damp track and Winrow's still more dry, we could see that gap disappear quite quickly.
Well, and you asked about maybe getting a little bit drier. The mizzle is back, unfortunately, Chris, as your technical terminology was, and the grey clouds look like they are here to stay as well. As I've watched the number 12 of John Hood go flying past me as well. He was involved in that contact earlier on lap 1, so he's running right towards the back of this race. But it's good to see that he is still running indeed.
Yeah, it's always good, and so far, touch wood, no DNS from anyone in the last 2 races, as we watch them going up then into a part.
You've said it now, Chris.
No, it's
you've said it now.
But here comes Goldstein then. That car's definitely looking like it's gaining more grip round Mansfield. I heard earlier on that Mansfield is one of the early ones to dry out, and like you say, this drizzle that keeps coming and going is more psychological at the moment. It's definitely getting drier than wetter.
McEwen's going to have to look out here for Paul Armitage, because as we saw on our screens there when they went through, Armitage is closing the gap from 4th to 3rd, and it's only a case of maybe one more lap where he starts to become a bit of a threat. As you can see him there going past our commentary position as well. I love the homage to the silver cut Jaguars on that Caterham.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? And there's like I say, one of the expressions you can do as a driver in a Caterham is the wrap that you put on your car, and what a fantastic sight they all make as they go round. But and I think Winrow looked like he was making progress at Goldstein. I'll be interested to see where that 2.65 goes down this time across the line as they go over. We'll find out in a little second whether that gap is reducing or not, but Winrow looked like he was. In fact, he's a couple of tenths quicker on that lap through, so I think he is going to reduce that gap. 2 seconds, yes, so he's lost almost gained half a second then since last time through, and so watch out for that, because Winrow is on the move. McEwen is, like you say, having to look in his mirrors to protect from Armitage, and then it's not too far back to Gunther and Groom as well.
Look, Winrow is the fastest man out on that track at the moment. Fastest lap of the race so far, fastest in Sector 2 and Sector 3 as well, though as I say that, Goldstein went fastest in Sector 1 just now, but no, Winrow's got even faster still. So this track definitely is getting quicker, it is evolving as well, and the fight right at the front of the field is going to get even tastier as this race creeps towards the second half, its final 10 minutes.
Yeah, go time for our drivers, isn't it? If you're going to make a move, then you really have to start pushing now. Some of the gaps have developed, and they've gone wider than I thought they might with these sort of slightly more experienced drivers. And but I think the conditions they're really having to feel it out, and obviously they need to make sure. But this gap with the lead group, there's Goldstein, they're definitely getting closer. Is that less than 2 seconds now? I think it might be. I think the race is coming to Winrow. He's found his track legs out there, and he is closing that gap quite quickly now.
He is indeed, and it looks like on our timing boards that Peter Mott is sort of the start of that second half of the pack as well. Goldstein is out in front, but Winrow has significantly reduced that gap as well. McEwen has dropped off from those leading 2, and he is being hunted down fiercely by Armitage, and you can see them now heading into the forest. Paul Armitage is right on his tail as well, and he had much more control of that car as well, heading through the turns as Gunther also joins them as well.
It's a pack of 4 following him, but you're right, yes, the car looked more planted and settled, didn't it, as they went through that series of left and rights in the greasy conditions. But Goldstein, that time across then, what is the new gap? I think another 0.7 of a second, I think, is disappeared from that lead. So he is scything into it, but as they always say, catching's one thing.
1 second separating the two of them now. Winrow is a man possessed. He's gone even faster still. 1:46.6 on that lap that time around, the fastest in Sector 1 this weekend, and it's very competitive around the rest of the track, but he is miles ahead in terms of pace of the others, almost a second quicker.
Yeah, and that's significant, isn't it, in this condition? I told you he was looking like he was on the move, and that car definitely looks under control now after early on, so maybe he has got it set up just for these conditions we're seeing now, or maybe he's just getting his feet, again, different conditions from qualifying. It just takes a little time as we watch battles forming up and down this long park straight. Then you call it a straight, but it's continuously bending up the hill. So that's the number 23 there. That's Groom battling for those 6th and 7th place. I think it was Barney looking to see whether he can get past, and I think Barney has got through.
Great fighting going on from these four as they head round the Chris curve and down towards the gooseneck as well. Will there be much to separate them when they head into that second half of the circuit? Well, they disappeared behind the brow of the hill. I'm sure we'll rejoin the action very soon. There we go then, heading down towards the mountain chicanes and the uphills. Goldstein's coming past our commentary area now. Not more than a second separating him and Winrow this time around. The gap will be even less when they cross the timing beacons. But this pack of 4, 5, 6 cars now as they head through the chicanes are very entertaining. And behind them as well, McEwing and Armitage right neck and neck with each other. It's not showing up on your screen, but the gap separating McEwing and Armitage probably less than those 7/10 from when they last crossed the beacon.
Yeah, and they're going to have to keep an eye. If they start battling and start slowing each other up, then this angry battle pack will be right on them. But Groom is struggling in that red machine. He's having to hold everyone back, and he is struggling to do so. As we watch, I saw Tom Powers at the back of that group, another driver name I recognise, and came back into this graduates grid. But he's pushing to see whether he can get from that 10th place up to that 6th place at the front of that group.
Well, at the very front of the field, let alone the front of this group that we're watching right now, Goldstein has still got the lead, but it's by 7/10 of a second. So Winrow again setting another fastest lap of the race and really chasing them down. It looks like there could be a move here up the inside into turn 1. They think about it, but they've decided against it, and so it looks as though Barney is going to stay behind Gunter and Armitage.
Yeah, I think Goldstein's got the hurry up though. He's definitely increasing his pace. Can he defend though as he's going through the last 8 minutes of this? It's going to be a long time to defend from, especially with that extra pace, but definitely finding a little bit more speed to withdraw, blunt the attack of the Winrow coming behind.
Well, here come the 4 of them now heading down into Park. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? They're all nice and tidy, keeping it within the lines, and they will head round to the Chris curve as well. This lovely little parade of Caterham cars.
Groom back in front as well. He's got back past Barney then in that run up to Park Bend that time.
There's a bit of a wobble from the yellow Caterham there as well, so conditions still not ideal for these open wheelers. Sorry, not open wheelers because they've got covers on them, but they're practically
close wheel, yeah.
Practically open wheelers in my opinion, Chris. But there we go, Goldstein and Winrow flying past our commentary position as well as we remain on this battle. Someone's gone very wide there. That will open up the door of opportunity for everyone behind them. Here they go now, heading into the gooseneck chicane.
They tried to go 3 wide there, and there's definitely not room to go 3 wide, but somehow they have come out all pointing that way. Richard Groom has made his way back in front. I think Barney might have lost another place then to maybe Hapgood overtaking as they went round there. There really isn't enough room, but these cars are all tripping each other up as they try and head round the hall bends.
That is the joy of Cadwell Park as a race circuit. Very, very narrow, and you've got to be right on the toes of everyone around you in order to maximise your racing here at the circuit. Try and maximise the opportunity, because you can't really dive from very far back to attack, can you, Chris?
Not in these wet conditions. You might see a bit later. When it will start drying out, we'll see the toe becoming a factor. But here comes side by side then. This Groom pulling with Hapgood. This Arnold, Barney, Power Derry all trying to be on the same bit of tarmac at once.
We saw their drivers trying to break the slipstream just as you alluded to it, Chris, as they were heading down into the start-finish straight, and it's going to be essential really to make sure they don't provide any of the opposition advantage.
Flag waving in the background there around the top end, so there is someone off track maybe or spinning. It's hard.
There's a whole front of the car missing on one of the Caterhams that's come past the commentary position now. I'll try and get you an update. It's Russell Gunter. He's completely lost the front bodywork of his Caterham and a lovely exposed radiator that he's going for.
And he was involved in that battle, I think. And there is that. There's a silk cut car. He's spun at the top of the hill. So that is the 56 car then of Armitage. He's going to have lost his 4th place. In fact, he's got dropped right into the battle with Groom. So he has lost all the advantage he had. And he's now going to be swallowed by this chasing pack.
Paul Armitage will be kicking himself. And I can see Goldstein out the corner of my eye getting ready to lap one of the back markers as well, and that might hamper his progress. No, actually, Winrow's gone ahead of him. Winrow is ahead of Goldstein. That's what it is. It's not a back marker, Chris. Just as the numbers flew past me, I realised what had happened.
Last time through, he was half a second back, so he's made half a second. We see that battle pack, another car sideways. Is he going to rejoin it? Just about. Well done. Whoever that car is avoided him as he was rejoining there. That car was not fully in control. But yeah, Winrow made up a half-second deficit over the line last time and was able to pull away into quite a comfortable lead.
Well, he's been the fastest man out on this track for a while now. Winrow has just taken the timing beacon to take the lead for the first time in this race. He's already got 8 tenths between him and Goldstein will be kicking himself that he's dropped further back than what, well, he had an 8-second lead at one point, Chris.
Crazy that, yeah, he has lost out at least a few of those seconds as we've gone here, but Winrow was also down in about 4th place, so he fought back as well. So clearly got pace in that car, that's why he was on that pole position, and he'll just have to see what he can do about the early part of the lap in tomorrow's race. But he's still got a matter of 4 minutes of this race to go yet, so still not done and dusted just yet.
It's never over until the checker flag is waved, and we can see this lovely parade of cars still fighting from 4th all the way down to about 10th, because there's just seconds separating them all as they head through the first few turns at Charlie's.
Yeah, as we still see the drizzle and out of our, I say window, it's not a window, is it? But the drizzle has started once more. As we watch the 163 lot without, like you say, his nose cone out there. And so it's Gunter that's had that issue out on track. But fantastic to see 56 then back up to speed after his spin and still battling away Armitage. But he has lost the place to Gunter up there in that 4th place as part of that spin.
But he's right on the back of him. Look, Paul Armitage, they're heading out of the screens now. We've still got them. This is a very interesting race to keep your eyes on here, and the secondary pack behind them also. But here we go, Armitage chasing down, bearing down, trying to get that slipstream to give him that speed advantage, and they're going to start heading up through the gooseneck as well in just a second, and luckily it's right in front of our commentary position, so we should get a really good eye on it as well.
Just watching the leaders are now in back markers. They're having to scythe their way through. Goldstein losing out a bit more, I think, through the hall bends that time through.
There we go. Armitage is right on the back of the number 95 of Gunter. I'm sure there will be a position swap as they head into the forest and potentially out the other side. There you go, disappearing off your screen. You can see there how close Paul Armitage is. But just look at how close this pack of 6 are still together, Chris.
Yeah, they've absolutely sort of, like I said, they came together mid part of this race, and they've just been trying to figure out who's quicker and trying to get the order right, haven't they? That's what they've been doing for the last sort of 5 minutes or so. But yeah, like I said, our leaders are into the pack, and the gap that we did see from Goldstein back to Winrow has been reversed. Goldstein now a 1.5 seconds back and dropping further.
He's dropping into the clutches of McEwing as well as this race progresses, and Gunter is somehow managing to keep his lead over Paul Armitage, but Paul Armitage has closed that gap to 0.5 seconds, or even less than 0.5 seconds as well. We can hear tyres screeching in the Atmos mics as well, Chris. These are the times now in the final minutes of this race where you have to give it absolutely everything now.
Yeah, surefire sign that the track is drying out as well, even though we have got drizzle this end of the track. The top end of the track there with the tyre squirrel, you can tell that it is drying out. You wouldn't get that if it was still fully damp, but the battle's still intense. We still watch it, still Hapgood in front then, isn't it, of Armitage that time?
Armitage was diving down the inside at Park Corner and heading round into the Chris curve. We wait to see how he's been able to do that, potentially get ahead of Gunter as we watch the pack trailing behind them, still fighting with each other. Hapgood and Power neck and neck going around this track, probably 2 laps of racing remaining to try and get those positions established. As we see our race leader Winrow come past our commentary position here in Mountain.
Yeah, I think
Goldstein's gone off. Goldstein's lost a lot of time, and some back markers are going to go back past him now as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a hand gesture as he did that, so he has lost out. You can't see it on your screen just yet, but yeah, he is losing time. He still had plenty of time over McEwing then, so I think he'll still be okay. Yeah, McEwing is still firmly in 3rd place, but yeah, Goldstein not happy with the back markers that time through.
No, and there is a bit of gap as well between McEwing and Gunter, but the gap between Gunter and Armitage has closed once again, despite Paul Armitage going off. So brilliant driving from the man in the silver cut, Jack livery.
We said that Groom was struggling, and he has been the man to lose out in that group. He was the cork in that bottle, holding that in 5th place at one point, but he's dropped all the way to 8th place now, and he is struggling to hold ahead of Barney, who's closed up that 1.5 seconds as it was when they last went across that line.
Well, here they go, emerging onto the pit straight now as well. There looks like there's going to be a bit of racing action now. One driver diving up the inside. It's the number 12 of that Martini Racing, a liveried car from John Hood, who's going up the inside in turn 1 with one of his rivals. We're yet to see how it's paid off. It looks as though Hood has been able to get ahead. He has. That's a very brave move in these conditions, going up the inside in that turn.
Yeah, so we are on to our last lap then. 40 seconds of this race to go. We'll see where Winrow is on this track, but he's going to be coming around to the sort of tail end of this lap now. So he has had a well-controlled race. He's had to do a bit battling back through after losing positions early on, but made his way back up to the front, and Goldstein, even though he's had trouble with those back markers, he's still 9 seconds into the good of McEwing.
Here we go then, Paul Armitage right on the tail of Gunter. He's sticking to him like a Velcro patch. He is all over the back of that Caterham. And there is Goldstein out the back. Is that Goldstein? No, I've done that completely wrong. No, it is. It is a very gold Caterham.
So Winrow must be coming round towards us, or having gone past. There is Winrow right in front of us. So he's heading into Hall Bends. You just saw him on the camera. He is going to go into Hall Bends now. Our leader just about to finish his race 1 for the Sigma 135s.
And Goldstein has gone past us as well. So a huge gap between first and second has evolved, and Winrow will be the one to start heading through the Forest Circuit and look to take the checkered flag as the first man to cross the line. I'm still waiting to see who's going to come past us. Paul Armitage has got ahead of Tom Gunter. Gunter dropping back there for some reason as well, coming up from the gooseneck as well. We'll find out why he lost a little time potentially after the race. But it's Winrow. Winrow is going to take the win in this Caterham Sigma 135 race. Goldstein will take second place. And we'll wait to see how close it is between Goldstein and McEwen. But what a race that was. The front sort of sorted themselves out, and there was a great fight in the middle that's still going on. McEwen does indeed take second place. At the moment, Winrow has achieved the fastest lap of the race as well. And yes, Paul Armitage was able to take fourth, and Tom Gunter dropped down even below Hapgood as well. Oh my goodness,
so
Chris.
Shenanigans out the last few corners there, out back of the track, and a little bit of squeezing no doubt going on, but yeah, they held that checker flag back late, and I thought, oh, well, they're going to have one more lap, but no, it was the lap that time. Winrow taking that win then. Goldstein so long in front, but actually 6 seconds back after he had had a few back marker issues on his way. McEwen still comfortable there in that third place, bit of a lonely race for him after the early part, and Armitage, like you say, coming good at the end, and he'll be delighted with that fourth place.
He should be delighted. He raced the wheels off that Caterham, it must be said, because there was a mistake and it looked as though he completely bottled the position that he was in. And there are still people flying around this circuit. That is the background noise that you can hear. Still those yet to take the checkered flag. You can see the another Gunter as well, the number 163. He was the one that lost the entire front bodywork of his Caterham as well.
That's right, I mistook him for the guy that was in the lead group, so apologies for my misidentification earlier.
It's fine, Chris. I'm sure I can let you off. We all make mistakes sometimes. Your mistake was choosing to spend the whole weekend with me, so don't panic. All can be forgiven. But there you go. So confirmation as well that Winrow did indeed set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.6 from car number 46. And let's take a quick look, a quick peek at the results as they come through. I'm sure they will be formalised soon. So there you go. Jamie Winrow takes the win by almost 6 seconds to Paul Goldstein, who will be disappointed he wasn't able to hold on to his advantage out front for longer. Tom McEwen taking the final podium spot in third, and Paul Armitage will be thrilled with himself that he was able to come through to fourth place and not bully Thomas Gunter, but stay on the back of him right until the very end. Gunter making the mistake out the gooseneck, which allowed Armitage and Hapgood through. And what a race we were treated to. Confirmation again at the bottom that Jamie Winrow achieved the fastest lap of the race, and so an extra championship point, Chris.
Yeah, and you can see the drivers all heading up then into Parc Fermé, having completed their adventures out there for the last 20 minutes or so of racing for these Caterham graduates. And looking forward to seeing these cars a bit later on as well. In fact, they're back out tomorrow, so we've got the Sigma 150 class a little bit later today. But it's Caterham's wall-to-wall action, so we've got the official championships and these graduates, but as you can see, the racing is equally exciting both ways.
Well, Chris, it's time for us to take a break and have a biscuit. Any biscuit, multiple brands are available. But for now, it's time to head down to Harry Scott Munro, who is in Parc Fermé.
Well, what a race that was in the end, and you can see the cars, well, the rain's coming down a little bit, so we're going straight into scrutineering, but our winner, car number 46, Jamie Winrow. Jamie, I'm just going to come over to you quickly. Talk to us about that one, a brilliant performance from yourself.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. Yeah, that was really tricky. It was. I got a terrible start, and then particularly in the wet, it's really difficult to get past because you're kind of going offline. Eventually managed to get past, I think it was Tom, after a few laps, but that time Paul already had a bit of a gap on me, so he kind of got my head down and managed to catch him in the end, and then kind of got past him. I think we got tangled with a few back markers as well, which I think probably went in my favour, but yeah, really happy.
I say you should be, and as you said, Paul got a really big lead. It's up to about 8 seconds, I think, at one point, so being able to pull it back, being able to concentrate and just put in those lap times, I suppose, was crucial.
Yeah, kind of following Tom, I knew I kind of had the pace in there. As I say, it's just getting past. And then when I managed to eventually get past, I had some clean air and I could quite quickly catch him. And then when I got to the front, I managed to get a little bit of a gap. So, yeah, it's really tricky, but over the moon.
Brilliant. Well, you should be. Congratulations. Fantastic results. Sets you up well for the weekend. Paul will come in. Hello there. Back in the mix, back on the podium, second place. Talk to us a little bit. It looked like a properly tough old race out there.
Very tough. It just got wetter and wetter and wetter. And I had some skill when it was slightly wet, but the wetter it got, my skill level went down. I had several visits to the grass. Came up through the mountain on the left-hand side grass. That's not advisable. But no, really good. I mean, clearly better than me in the wet. Simple as that. I think we gapped the guys behind us quite a bit, though.
Yeah.
So no, it was good. Great race.
Like you said, great race. Couple of new little course routes that you took there as well at times. Lots of people having to do that as well. But you said it was getting wetter and wetter. Just talk to us a little bit about how difficult that is when you're initially at the front, but then you're trying to follow as well and close those gaps with back markers.
Yeah, so you go into a corner with one line, you go through it okay, and you think, okay, next up I'm going to do the same, if not try and improve on that, and you approach the corner and it's actually got worse. So you try and take a slightly better line and realise that you're going sideways and it really wasn't happening. And then you come around again, you take a worse line to try and take the wet line, but then that still wasn't accommodating. You still end up half on the grass. It was very, very difficult. Very difficult.
Really difficult, but still a positive performance. Second place sets you up well for the weekend ahead. Congratulations. Well, we'll see if we can go back a little bit and chat to a couple of the other drivers if we've got time. I think there's ones we're going to quickly just pop back here to Paul Armitage. Well, we're not going to throw to Paul. We were, but we've run out of time. So instead, we're going to start looking ahead to the next race. Sam called up a little bit earlier with some of the drivers, but first we're going to go back to comms, back to James and Chris to lead us in.
Yeah, sorry, Harry, I do want to hear more from Sam, actually, because she's probably got more insightful things to say about the racing than I do, that's for sure. Chris is nodding along, which is very rude of you, Chris. You shouldn't be nodding along that convincingly. But look, the reason why we haven't got time to go to it is because there's plenty more racing. It's our second Academy group. It's the Caterham Academy White who are ready to get going here at Cadwell Park. They will take a green flag lap, remember, so that isn't the grid that's lining up right now to then go racing. But we'll take a look at how they line up now. So, taking a look at it, Craig Evans is on pole, and he's on pole quite convincingly, 0.6 of a second between himself and Charles Harris. And then as you look back behind them, David Hall and Scott Helm are close behind. And keep your eye out for Paul Oglesby, the current championship leader as well, Paul Oglesby. He starts in 7th on that 4th row of the grid, a 1:47.9 for him in qualifying, so a little bit off the pace of Evans, but I'm sure he'll be looking to make that up as the racing gets going here at Cadwell. And here are the second batch of racers. Alistair Morton close behind, obviously that front group, 1:48.9 for the number 12 Caterham Academy White driver there. And Greg van der Garst right back on row 9. He'll be looking to attack forward in these conditions as well. Stephen Harris and Gary Fry, not a lot to separate those two at all. 6/600ths of a second separating those back two on that second page. And then Charles Chapman, Zina Al-Jalili and Ivan Searle make up the final places on this packed Academy grid. And now it gives me great pleasure to once again bring back in a goat in these countryside hills once more. Chris Hutchinson, you finished another Kit Kat or Club or Penguin. Other biscuit brands are available. Please don't sue me.
Time to go Academy racing once more. The white group, so popular is the Caterham Academy. So many drivers do we have wanting to sign up each year that we can't fit them all onto one grid. So we have to split them into two. So they run completely independent championships. We were watching the green group earlier. They score their own points in their own races. And now we're watching the white group. So they're scoring their own points in their own championship. And as you said, it's Paul Oglesby who is out front, but he finds himself down in 7th place on the grid. This grid is topsy-turvy according to our championship. We've got 9th and 10th in the championship making up that front row. So really unusual drivers, but it's fantastic to see that they are in sort of the middle pack sort of catching up. As you said, they're all new drivers, so they're figuring out. They clearly made better use of these conditions. You can see the conditions are still very tricky out there and really changeable. Each lap is different, but it's also Cal Short finds himself in 5th, and Luciano Caruso in 10th place, and he's 3rd place in our championship. So there's going to be a lot of movement in this race, and we did see that first Academy driver sort of split and splinter a little bit. Let's see whether this group can keep it a little bit closer as we head into the latter passes of these races.
One thing's for certain, the drama will not stop. It will not stop at all. There will be changes of positions, there will be risky moves on lap 1. Actually, that's a good point, Chris. Will we see someone as brave as our previous race going down the inside of people at Park on lap 1 potentially?
Yeah, I think there's every opportunity that they're going to give it a go. And as we said in that first race, sometimes it can just be a fact that you've missed your braking point and it all just happens to work out for itself. But the Caterham action is always close, and up into Park is the best overtaking opportunity on this Cadwell Park. 2.2 miles around this Lincolnshire circuit, and never a dull moment. A gradient everywhere you can see even out the last corner there, a really steep downhill as they come to line up then to take the grid for their 15-minute Caterham Academy race with the white group.
That's what I was about to say. It doesn't feel like 2.2 miles, especially if you're walking around the thing. It's so much of an elevation change. I honestly couldn't believe it with my own eyes when I first arrived here, Chris. I looked forward and there was just a huge dip below me and a racetrack that happened to be plonked in the middle of it. Yep. It's fantastic. A very unique setting, Cadwell Park.
Absolutely, and a fantastically scenic place. If you've not been here to watch car racing, there's not many cars. It's more of a bike track, this one. But Caterham's are such a scale and small enough to make racing absolutely brilliant around here. As you can see them just looking for that 5-second board, then the marshals on the gantry looking to see everyone just pulling in. You can see the final few drivers just getting themselves lined up. Not an easy job actually to find your grid spot again. You've got to use all your reference points, and that's another thing you learn as you go up through the ranks. You can see the rear of this field still trying to just tickle themselves into the right grid boxes.
Well, they are just trying to edge their way into the correct positions, and so it's my pleasure to point your direction towards the front there. You've got Craig Evans on the right hand side in pole position, Charles Harris on the left. Harris will obviously be looking to try and get the better start from Evans, and we've had disappointing starts from all of our pole sitters so far in the racing here at Cadwell Park. Will that be the same here? 5-second board is out there on the grid. The lights are getting ready to turn on. The lights are on and the lights are out, and we are racing at Cadwell. It's a fantastic start by David Hall. A brilliant launch from the Caterham with the orange roll cage, but out in front is Craig Evans, who's completely proved me wrong with a great start from pole position as they head up into the first corner at Coppice.
The front two cars actually sort of were a little bit compressed. They didn't get as good a start as the second row. We got sideways. I think that's our pole position. Was that Hall in front? Sorry, Evans into the barrier there. He's definitely clonked the barrier on the inside. He was sideways as they went through Coppice that time. So who is it out front now? We're going to have to identify these drivers as they head through Chris Curves into Gooseneck.
It looks as though we might have lost him there. William Harris was the Caterham in focus on your screen there. The nice green number 14 Caterham as they head up through the park straight and towards Park Corner itself. Here we go then. Cars everywhere, cars diving left, right and centre, and they do start to make their way cleanly around Park towards Chris Curve. There is our number 14, William Harris once again, but who's gone sideways?
That's 22.
It's William Coop. He'd made positions up from 13th on the grid to mix himself with some of the front runners, but he'll be disappointed that a little mistake has cost him, as someone's wheel arch has also disappeared and said sayonara as it heads off into the grass.
I was told earlier that Coupe car is actually an old Ferrari livery. Can you believe Ferraris used to have liveries outside of being red? But there you go, as he rejoins the track and they all head through the Gooseneck, this time down to Mansfield. There's another car sideways. This white group are having a real trouble keeping everything in alignment. Another car sideways as they went down towards Mansfield. I think he might have gathered it all together. Off to the
Someone's
right
gone right off of our screen towards the barriers here. They're starting to make their way up through the Gooseneck now. Let's try and see who our leader is
well out in
front of us. It is the number 23 of David Hall, the man who got the best start out of everyone. Scott Helm just behind him as well. And as they take the timing beacon, I'm sure that we'll find him. One of the Caterhams went past in a fantastic 1996 Rothmans Williams livery. These cars are incredible to watch go around, Chris. I love the fact that everyone can pick any colour to race in.
Yeah, brilliant. Like I say, an expression of your own personality. This more sideways action. They're really struggling out there. They are pushing way more than the green group. Yellow flags as we went into Hall Bends that time through. As they come across the line, we will be able to identify finally all the drivers out there. It is Hall who crosses the line though, in making up 2 places, as Helm does, crosses in 2nd place. Another driver making up 2 places, so the second row did really make benefits there. It is Harris across in 3rd, then we've got Caruso, Oglesby up to 5th, Harris up 3 places, Haig up 8 places on that lap into 7th place, Morton, and it's Sampson, and then it's Evans, and it is Evans that we've lost out there. So from our pole position there, that's he's right back and out of the action.
Van der Garst also making up 5 positions, it must be said, Chris. Another one who's made up a lot of positions on lap 1, but it is Hall, the man who got the best start out of everyone, I think it's must be said, from the 2nd row of the grid to find himself in the lead of this race, and in the lead by 2.3 seconds as we see themselves coming down into park now. Hall there in the lead, but who's the car just behind him now? It's the number 42. Helm has been able to hold on to it. Harris shortly behind him as well, and the number 96 in this lovely classic Caterham looking livery.
We lost we lost Short there, the number 97 out there. He is 2nd place in our championship, and he finds himself all the way down in 18th place. So that was the other driver, I think, losing the car as we watched him disappearing off down Mansfield. So unfortunately for our 2nd place in the championship, he has dropped all the way back. We run a drop score in the Caterham series, so he should be able to drop this one if it's not one of his best by the end of the season, but he'll be wanting to see if he can fight back through.
Well, look, we've had our first DNF then potentially of the weekend now, with Evans not able to convert his pole position into a finish. He obviously lost out to the faster Hall behind him on that 2nd row, and Hall has built up a remarkable lead already in these tricky conditions. Helm still chasing him down, and right on the tail as well is Harris, and here come the rest of them. Very sideways coming out the top of the gooseneck was Caruso, and everyone else is joining him behind. There's a lovely train of about 6 cars that are right on the heel of Caruso, Chris. This is going to the wire.
Yeah, absolutely. David Hall clearly coming alive in these conditions. Remember, this is their 3rd ever race, and they haven't raced with these sort of mixed on-circuit conditions, and see, clearly Hall has come alive, duck to water out there in this wet, as the rest of the field then look relatively unchanged as they go over the line this time through in that lead group.
He has crossed the line. I'm waiting for my timing screen to update as well. Chris, yours is much quicker up to date than mine. There we go. I've got a little bit of an improvement. Hall is still the fastest man out there by about 2.9 seconds. So the gap is essentially 3 seconds. By the end of this lap, Chris, we're potentially looking at 4, and a very commanding lead and drive from Hall. So now the battle to keep our eyes on is Helm and Harris behind him in 2nd and 3rd.
Absolutely, yeah. 2nd and 3rd is the battle out there. They've got a comfortable gap back, but that chase group is like 5 cars big, so they've got a bit of a breather, and they're the ones that are going to be going action out front. So it is Helm in front then, but Harris is closing in pretty quickly there in the green and yellow car as they head around through Chris Curve again. You can see all the novices crosses on these drivers. All these drivers will have the novice cross on because they haven't completed 6 signatures on their race license just yet. They will do that later in the year in a nice little bit of a ceremony, but it is looking like Harris is really hounding the rear of Helm.
He really is as well, and you can see them now coming out the back of the gooseneck as well, heading down towards Mansfield. They've disappeared off our screen as well, but they are neck and neck with each other. Sorry, there is the gooseneck.
That's Mansfield at the bottom of the hill.
I didn't trust myself, Chris.
Yeah,
I didn't trust myself.
You're absolutely right.
Where was the pat on the back? I'm used to having that from you. Used to saying, "Oh yes, good job, James, well done." But no, here we go. Hall still out in the lead. There he is, flying past your screen now, but being chased down by Helm and Harris, who's getting even closer now as well to the number 42 Caterham. Whether that might change through the forest is yet to be seen, and we see the really big racing train come in behind them as well. This field is staying nice and closely compact in the middle.
These Academy cars running on sort of bog standard, we call them delightfully van tyres basically. They are really not racing spec tyres. It's one of the things they swap out when they go up into Roadsport next year. They don't have a lot of grip, and you can see that Helm was sideways as he went through the final bend, and Harrison also trying to get that power down. They just cannot get these tyres to warm up in these really damp conditions, and they're managing it well, but they're sideways everywhere.
Scott Helm and Charles Harris losing quite a bit of a gap between each other. They've now spaced them out a little bit more from the front runner Hall, and they also both couldn't control their cars going around the final turns. What would be your advice to drivers going around the track at the moment, because it's clearly a lot slipperier. Goodness me, I couldn't even get that out, Chris. It's a lot more slippy out there essentially than they were probably expecting.
Searching for grip is the skill of a driver out there. Where you can get grip in the dry will be exactly where the grip isn't when we you get into these damp conditions. So they need to figure out on their car where the grip is and then work out how the fastest to stitch all those grippy bits together. And as you go up through this ladder of Caterham Motorsport, you get more experience and a better understanding of that. They're all figuring this out as they go along, as they go through then. And watch for Oglesby, he's up into 4th from 7th on the grid, and also closing that gap down to Harris in 3rd place. So Oglesby in 4th place as a man on the move, and a second's been reduced down from his gap to 3rd place that last time through.
Well, I mean, just look at how far he's climbed up the grid from where they started, and here's another one for you as well. Cal Short, who dropped from 5th as we started all the way down to 13th as he runs now. Has set the fastest lap of the race at 2:02.9 as well, which is very, very quick for these Academy spec cars as we see them all cleanly make their way through Mansfield.
Yeah, and in fact, Cal Short was actually down at about 18th, so he is scything his way back up through as he's setting those fastest laps. He's really motivated to see what he can get done. The gap for 2nd and 3rd is spreading out, and who's that? That's up Chris Curve, another driver going slowly, the number 47.
That's Fry.
Yeah, that's Fry, so he's lost out a little bit there, but it's this battle for 3rd place. I'm interested to see how Oglesby has closed down on Harris. Harris is losing time to Helmut, so the gaps at the front are all spreading out, but it's Oglesby we want to keep an eye on.
Just to give you an idea of how quick Cal Short's going right now, Chris, we've obviously said that Oglesby is a man on a mission. He's going very quick. He said a 2:05. Short's still lapping at a 2:02. So that's a 3-second difference at the moment. So it surely isn't long before we see Cal Short leap up the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's going to depend whether he comes across a big clump of cars, which he's sure to do. This time through then, let's watch Oglesby over the line. How much time behind is he? He is 3.9 seconds, so he's gained another half second that time through over Harris. He's actually sped up a little bit and is closing back in on Helm. So it's all to and fro. It's as they try and work out where that grip is. If they're losing, if they brake a little bit too late, they're costing themselves seconds a lap at the moment. And that's why we're seeing these gaps vary so wildly.
Well, look, you know this track much better than me, Chris. Where is the grip right now? Where is the opportunity to try and find some speed on this Cadwell circuit?
Generally speaking, if it's not on a dry bit of the track, so if it's a dry line, then the grip is definitely there. But you can see there's not much of a dry line anywhere. Regularly, the dry line or the outside line is the place to be. But with it being so narrow here, it can be anywhere. It can be really launching over a curb, or it can be out wide. The traditional wet line is around the outside of each of these corners, and so that's what we'll see them. In fact, wherever the grip is where the car stops sliding. So keep an eye out for where cars stop sliding. That is exactly where the grip is on the circuit. They're not finding
it's even more sliding here as well, and someone has completely lost it.
And those are some bits of Samson.
Those are some pieces that are flying off the car. Samson was running so well up in 6th place. He had gained positions from the start, and oh my goodness, everyone doing their best to try and avoid the pieces that are in the middle of the track. Yellow flag being waved in the background too.
So that was a rear wheel arch that someone had lost on a lap before. They had deposited that on the outside of that corner, and as he spun down the hill there, that he collected that. That was with the bits of car you could see over there with just a piece of rear wheel arch.
And Ponce was the latest one to see spin there as well. He spun off the circuit and he spun off into the green as well, which means he's going to spin his way down the leaderboard too, Chris. This is a very uncomfortable race to watch for people who have been consistently well in the championship, because as this race is showing us so far, it doesn't matter how you've done in the season overall, it's what you do here at the circuit this weekend that dictates how good you are.
Yeah, and you know what, one spin is, you can be a second a lap slower throughout the course of this race, but one spin is going to cost you more time than that. So as we see this risk, you can see a little bit of wheel arch there left in the track. They might choose to sort of cover that under a yellow flag. Most of the time they just will leave it out there. If you get that stuck under your wheel though, it can be a real problem, because it's like having ice under a wheel there. But it's still sort of drizzly at the top end of the track. You can see our camera up there. In fact, this is up through the Charlie's complex. You can still see there's water and moisture everywhere, but again, it's stopped. There's nothing hanging in the air, so the conditions will be getting better for the drivers out there. 4 minutes then of this Caterham Academy white group, third ever race for them on the circuit as they head out through and up Park Straight.
There's that lovely Rothmans livery on the car of Caruso. I absolutely adore that one, watching it fly around. Here we go, who's doing this nice and tidy into the zone? Well, here comes Caruso now. Can he keep it tidy going through Park? He can indeed. He has got Harris on the very back of him as well. And and he's kept that very tidy, and he's gone rogue. He's gone to the inside, Chris. You kept saying go to the outside, that's where the grip is. He's completely ignored you.
And the inside can work just as well. If you get them tucked into the inside of the exit of a corner, then that is, again, it's not where you go in the dry, and therefore the grip can be there. So, yeah, you've just got to feel it out and work out where it all happens. Harris, though, yeah, was where did he start on this grid? I think he was fairly high up, so he's recovering back through, fighting in that third place against Oglesby, who has now got 2.2, so he's still closing in. The number fourth place over third place is still getting close, but I don't know whether he's got enough time with 3 minutes, because that's only going to be maybe 2 laps left of this race.
Harris is right on the back of Helm, though. I'll say that now. I think that battle for second and third is going down to the wire. You are very much right, Chris. I think it's fair to say that David Hall's probably got a comfortable victory here at Cadwell Park. But look at the
Cal Short moving up to 8th place that last time, and I just saw him take another couple of places, so he's looking like he's going to be well pulling in that front group again.
I told you he was fast, Chris. I told you he was fast. The timing screens don't lie, even though I might sometimes. But he's certainly making his way up the leaderboard very, very quickly here at Cadwell Park.
In his orange, this is orange car. There we go. He's crossing the line there as he went across, and he's only got 2.3 seconds to Harris in front of him. In fact, where has he got up to? 6th place now. So he has gone all the way from 18th to 6th place in this race. What a run for him. He's a man on a mission and absolutely flying.
He's the fastest man on the circuit. 2 minutes dead on that last lap. And just to give you an idea of how fast that is, everyone in front of him can't get faster than a 2:01.6. That is the difference. About 1.6 seconds a lap. Whether it's enough to close for a podium finish is yet to be seen, but we will keep our eyes peeled on it. There is the number 96 of Harris, who is chasing down Helm for a potential second place finish, and he's keeping right on the back of him as well. Charles Harris, he's keeping it nice and tidy as well. Whether he's going to keep with the front runners as well is the question, Chris.
So they're waving the yellow flag down there out of Gooseneck down into Mansfield because of that wheel arch that's lying in the track. They maybe cover that under yellows for a couple of laps. It could get blown to the edge of the track, which is what they'll be hoping. We see green flag out of Mansfield, so they're covering that bit of debris under a yellow flag at the moment. It'd be disappointing to finish this under a safety car if they felt that got into a dangerous place. I think that is the car of Oglesby, the number 18 car of Oglesby in that 4th place, 2.2 seconds behind his 3rd place and what would be a podium finish. Our championship leader, don't forget. So here he comes, he's chasing up and trying to get into Harris, and you can see Harris is caught up in a little group of cars in front of him. I don't know if they're back markers, but everything is closed up, hasn't it, between Harris, Oglesby and Platt's not too far behind.
Well, everything's working out for Oglesby at the moment, and everything's working out for Cal Short as well. A man possessed in this race so far, but there is our leader Hall as they emerge from the forest now. Who's going to be the first one to follow him? It is still Helm. However, Helm is very sideways, and Harris might gain a little bit of a speed advantage down the straight now. As a result, he is in the slipstream and he is bearing down, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. This has all closed up. Oglesby is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons, and Cal Short is not too far behind, and he's caning, as you said, well over 1.5 seconds on these cars in front of him every single lap time he comes through. Looking at my TSL timing, we've got 5 minutes of this race left to go. We haven't got the clock on screen yet, but 5 minutes still to go. So what's that, 2.5 laps of this Cadwell Park circuit? Side by, well, absolutely nose to tail then. That's Harris looking to see whether he can overtake Helm.
Here goes Charles Harris. He's chosen the outside line, heading down into Park Turn as well. Once we get to that hairpin camera, you'll be able to see just how close they are and who's going to be able to take it. Who's going to take that position? Charles Harris has done it. He's obviously been able to go round the outside of Helm. That's a very brave move down into Park Turn as they head round Chris Curve.
Yeah, Helm's going to be disappointed that he's lost that long time second place, as we've got 22 off the road again then. So that's Cooper having more problems, and then we saw him off there earlier, didn't we? He's having more problems up at the top there, but he's firmly in that sort of rear end of this race going in. But it was Helm therefore losing out to Harris. Harris making that move through, and he could see Oglesby coming behind, and I think Oglesby now looking at the rear of Helm thinking, I want a bit of that, and let's get some third place action, get a trophy and some a champagne shower.
Well, obviously at the moment the leaderboard's still showing Charles Harris as third, but we can confirm that he is indeed in second place. Hall has gone past our commentary area, and I can confirm Charles Harris is following him in second, and behind him shortly is Helm as well. So a lot of changing of position here. So Scott Helm, he's probably got one more lap left to try and retake second place, but it's fair to say that David Hall has drove a commanding race out front, Chris, and he should be duly awarded with a win.
Yeah, he's 6 seconds to the good as we see a car slowly over the mountain there, just getting back up to speed. Bit of a confusion as to what was going on there, but yeah, it really has shown a good decent speed. But what would Short have done had he been further up and towards the front of this and not have that issue early on in that race, which sent him plummeting to 18th? He's fought all his way back to 6th. I think he's going to run out of time. We've only got 3 minutes left to actually catch that group in front. But let's have a look at those gaps as they come down then. And
we'll just take a look at the lap time set by Charles Harris, the fastest man now out on that circuit, 1:59.6, going even faster than Cal Short, who can still not beat that 2-minute dead time.
The drizzle is just returning though, I can see, just to add a little bit more late drama. Every single time there's another, is that a spinner, a replay, or was that another spinner? I think there was another spinner.
There was another spin there. Look, there's the lead at the moment. Charles Harris is being harassed now by Scott Helm. Helm sideways as they head through Park Corner. Here comes the Chris curve now as well. Can Scott Helm stay with him as they head round this long swooping right-hander down towards the gooseneck?
He's had half a lap to watch what Harris is doing to have the speed. He's now copying him and has found the speed equally, haven't they? They've all working at each other. Anything your car can do, surely mine can do as well, as Harris comes then through the gooseneck down to Mansfield. That gap's growing just a little bit, but Helm is not done. It's not going to disappear off, and Oglesby not having a chance to catch back up just yet.
Oglesby not able to keep his Caterham under control compared to the two that are ahead of him at the moment, but Charles Harris is somehow maintaining that lead ahead of Scott Helm. And I'm looking out onto the circuit now, Chris, because I'm trying to see what's going on between the two. Chris Harris much cleaner through the uphill section there, ahead of Scott Helm, so it looks as though as they head through the forest, he'll definitely be able to maintain that position. But it is starting to bunch up at the front as more and more people find speed on this circuit.
Yeah, they're coming up to back markers as well, so they've got a bit of that to deal with as well. I can still see Short on his way up through, but he's still 2 seconds behind Platt. Can he do anything in what will be coming onto their last lap, I'm sure, with 1.5 minutes to go?
I think he was switching positions with them as they were heading into the forest. A very brave move actually from Cal Short. Someone's gone off at the back there. I think that's Charles Harris.
Yeah, it might well have been. It looked like him, and he's going to try and block from Oglesby. Oglesby's got to run. He's going to squeeze through as well. So Harris lost a couple of places, pushing too hard out of Barn Corner, and there's no grip out there. There's yellow flags as they turn into turn 1. So there was that spinner as we went through. He's clearly up there, still facing the wrong way up to the barrier. But Hall having a comfortable run out front, 4 seconds in the lead. But Oglesby now in that third place over Harris, who had a nightmare, but held back into his second place.
The championship leader now finds themselves in the top 3, and that means top points on offer for them as a result, which is crucial as we hit as we head towards the midway point of the season, I should say, Chris. And Scott Helm will be licking his lips at the fact that Charles Harris made that mistake, who up until that point had drove a stellar race.
I don't think it's all over yet though. Oglesby is now well in that battle. Hall's still got a bit of a comfortable gap back, 30 seconds on the clock still to go, but they will be crossing the line to finish the race. The checkered flag will be coming out this, so it's going to be important. But can Oglesby make another place up, and will Helm have to capitulate and give that second place? We're about to find out as we watch Hall coming out of Mansfield down into Mansfield at the bottom of the hill. That bit of debris has been moved to the side of the track, so it looks like we're all clear of that yellow flag, so the racing can continue. But he's had a great run. Helm has got a bit of a gap, and in fact Oglesby's lost a place back to Harris. Harris has got back through past Oglesby.
Charles Harris has indeed managed to work his way back through. He's stolen it from Oglesby. This is brilliant entertainment from corner 1 right up until the final lap of the race. Hall out with a commanding lead so far at the moment. Helm shortly behind him, and yes, Charles Harris has been able to retake a podium position from Oglesby, and Oglesby will not be happy, and he'll be dead set.
Make that gap up, but he was near to Harris the last. Yeah, so 8 seconds he had to make up. I don't think he's going to do that, but he is up into 5th place, so he has gained 1 more place as the leader then comes through to complete his race.
Well, let's see how they take the checker flag, and it will be Hall that would take victory. Oglesby moving around the outside of Charles Harris. It's a run to the line. Oglesby hasn't quite got the momentum he was expecting, but he was right on the heel of Charles Harris as they take the checkered flag. Luckily for Harris, he somehow had the speed. I was very excited there for a second, Chris, because I thought Oglesby had been able to slingshot his way around the outside coming out the forest, but that is the man we should be focusing on. A stellar race driven by David Hall. He got the best style out of all the Caterhams from the start line, and he kept that momentum going right up until the end of the race.
Really, he came alive in these really tricky conditions here to take the lead early and not really look back, did he? He was well clear of Helm and Harris, but that was the battle of the race, and Helm ended up in that second place. It didn't look likely at one point, but he just made good over Harris, who really did have to recover. And again, I think Oglesby pushing to try and get that second may well have cost himself. And Short, what a race back into 5th place there from when he was back 18th when he'd had that spin earlier on in the race. What a fight back through.
Well, and you keep telling me that these guys can't hear us, but I think Cal Short definitely could, because he got an inkling that he all of a sudden wasn't the fastest man out there. So he has gone and got the fastest lap of the race, a 1:59.1, which makes him a good 3/10 quicker than the next best challenger, and a couple of seconds quicker than many others that are still running out on that circuit as well. But here we go, confirmation of the top 14 finishers. David Hall taking the victory here at Cadwell Park, comfortably ahead of Scott Helm and Charles Harris. Charles Harris jumping back into the podium finishing places after Paul Oglesby made a mistake, and he was able to capitalise coming out of the gooseneck. Cal Short, he started off in 5th, he fell back down the field all the way to 18th, he made up those places and finishes 5th, and he also takes the fastest lap of the race, Chris.
Yeah, fantastic action then from Caterham White Group. Unfortunately, that's the end of Caterham Academy action for this weekend. They only get their single race today. They will have 2 races when they go up to Scotland, but we'll next see them on track on the 3rd or 4th of August at Knockhill for that super header. But you can see the drivers all here heading to the left of the mountain, and that's up into Parc Fermé, where we're going to get some exciting stories. I think they're all going to have their little war stories, and hopefully Sam Parker will be up there very shortly to go and chat to our drivers.
Well, speaking of Sam Parker, she is there. She is raring to go. So, Chris, it's time for us to go and find a coffee and a little bit of a break, and we're going to throw it over to Sam in Parc Fermé.
Gosh, what an incredible race that was for these guys. They did so well to keep it on that track. It's so greasy out there, and I'm so pleased. So we've got Hall brothers have won both Academy races, and fantastic. David and obviously his brother James won the green group. So when he gets out the car, I'll grab a quick word. But yeah, well done. I just want to give them all a hug, because that was, survival out there. It was crazy. So we'll wait for David to get out the car. David, congratulations! Absolutely amazing win. Like, it was treacherous out there, wasn't it?
It was scary for turn 1. There was obviously the spin, so went through the grass and then I think it just got space from there on. So that was good. Glad to bring it home.
Yeah, and you and your brother both winning both Academy groups. That's great.
Must be a good charm.
Cadwell's a good one for you guys, then. Yeah. Right, we'll come through and speak to Scott. Let's have a quick word with Scott. Well done, Scott.
Thank you.
Amazing, did a fantastic job. That was chaos, and it was quite close between you and Charles.
Yeah, right behind me. I made a couple of mistakes. He made a couple of mistakes. Coming through Barn was treacherous. It was terrible, and either that or Parker, where we slipped corners. But yeah, it just felt like damage limitation from the start. I got a good start, fortunately. The guy in front of me struggled, and then I just felt like, don't push for P1, maybe just keep the P2 and try and bring it home. So yeah, that's what I did.
I feel like that's a sensible choice in these conditions.
Yeah, it was a nightmare out there. It's so slippery, it's so wet. I just saw carnage behind me constantly. Like multiple cars on lap 1. I was just waiting for the safety car board. It never came. We had debris all the way down from Gooseneck to Mansfield. So it was a bit dodgems.
Yeah. It was. A few people made up some really good places in that race as well.
Yeah,
but
I noticed Paul's behind me. He wasn't there at the beginning.
He was hunting you down.
He was coming for me, but I kept him behind. Happy with that.
Excellent. Well done, Scott.
Thank you, Sam.
Right, just grab Will. Where is Will? Where's Will gone? There's the green group over there. Here he is. Here's Will. Let's grab a quick word. Will. Sorry, Charles. Fantastic. Like, you must be. That was.
Very chuffed.
Yeah.
No, it was a great result. I mean, messy race, to be honest. I put it on the grass quite a few times and completely stuffed the start, but brilliant fun, absolutely brilliant fun, and yeah, happy to have my first podium.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, it was literally survival, wasn't it? And just nursing it round some of those corners.
Oh, it was. I mean, I really should have gone down more to like 80% at the end and just held second, but yeah, dropped it to 4th, then got back to 3rd, probably made it a bit more exciting. So, good race.
Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
There we go. We'll hand back to the guys in the comments box. I think we might have some highlights for you. So Steve Merritt here races in the 270R Championship. He's having a good, successful season so far. How are you finding Cadwell Park?
I love Cadwell Park. It's a serious challenge. great fun in the wet and dry. The only problem is there's no runoff anywhere, so you get it wrong and it bites hard, as I found out on Thursday. I think you had a
I had a similar moment. Yeah.
So I do like the track, but it's not very forgiving. And qualifying caught me out a little bit as well. I had a little spin 3 laps from the end, and the times were getting quicker towards the end of the session. So I didn't quite manage to get back on the pace for the last 3 laps. So unfortunately, I'm a little bit further down than I wanted to be, but all to play for first race. So.
Yeah. Well, wish you all the best. Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you very much. Cheers, Sam.
Thanks. So Ollie here from 270R Championship, Oliver Cooper-White. How did qualifying for you? You've had that this morning.
To be honest, completely awful. Horrible conditions out there. It was incredibly slippy at the start. Started to dry up through the session. Times got faster, but I'm still last but one on the grid.
It's so tricky though to navigate these conditions, isn't it? Especially when it changes and lap after lap, it's changing and it's still raining. So some bits are drier, some are, it's just really, there's a lot going on, isn't there?
It's incredibly changeable. After yesterday, I got the whole bend sorted out. A lift, no brakes. It was all lovely, putting excellent time in through there. And then today, nothing. Just sideways everywhere. But we'll see what happens in the race. Keep my lines clean. Try not to come back with any damage.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
I think that's the main focus today, isn't it?
It is. Long may it continue.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I wish you all the best of the race. Thank you.
Well, it's great to hear from everyone competing here this weekend at Cadwell Park, from our very own broadcast competitor as well, Sam. And you can see there's some scenes of cars being cleared up from heading off into the grass, deciding that they weren't going to be racetrack cars anymore. They were trying to be rally cars. Here we go. There's the recovery vehicle, Chris. This is always an unhappy sight, really, at a racing track.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? But it gives me a chance, and a pertinent chance to, again, thanks to all of our Orange Army out there today, on behalf of all the drivers, all the Caterham action out there. Thank you ever so much to everyone who's putting their time out, all volunteers out there, helping us do what we love to do, and we never go away without thanking them. And yeah, they let us do what we do best, and they actually like to have a bit of clear up action, so something to do, isn't it? It's never fun if everything's gone smoothly.
Well, look, it's a great opportunity to thank that Orange Army and all of our volunteers at this track this weekend, and from BARC, who make these events possible and indeed help us continue to do the things we love, such as motor racing. And I'm pleased to tell everyone at home, because otherwise you're going to get very sick of me and Chris very quickly indeed, that Sam is out in the pits and Parc Ferme roaming around. She's managed to rope in a cameraman into it as well, so let's see what she has to find out there. Sam, to you.
So the Mission Motorsport 270R Championship will be the next race going out, just waiting for some things to be cleared up on track. But I'm just standing next to Zach Lower. Zach, you've had a good qualifying, and I think you're rather good through the Hall Bends there, aren't you, where it's a bit of a pendulum effect sliding it around.
Yeah, see, I feel pretty comfy through there. This track feels like it either suits you or it doesn't suit you at all, and yeah, I quite like it. I feel like I've got to grips with it. It kind of suits my driving style.
Yeah, well, you're good at drifting anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, like you. We like going sideways.
Yeah, at least you know how to control it, which I think is absolutely key for today with the conditions.
I think that's key. Like it's like trying to keep consistency, and I think being able to control oversteer and understeer is, the way to keep it on the track in this condition.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll let you get focused.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zach. Sorry?
Great job on your race.
Thank you. It was just survival mode.
Yeah, I'll be the same.
Yeah, but yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Zach. Right, I'm just going to have a quick word with James Emsom. We have got the white group podium going on behind as well. James, how are you feeling about this race?
Mixed conditions, so it should be an interesting one. Yeah. No, it should be good.
Yeah, it seems to dry out quite quickly in certain places, because this rain is like a misty rain, isn't it?
We've had 3 different setups in the past 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure it's the right one. So.
No, it's a gamble, isn't it?
It's got to go out and drive as it is now.
Yeah.
So,
excellent. Well, I'll let you get focused. I think we've got time just to find some other people to speak to. You'll see all the wings get brought back by the marshals that get knocked off, and then if they are intact you can go and recover them, which is quite handy. So let's have a word. Oh, Benja, let's go and have a word with Benja. Hello, Benja. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. My race is done now, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I bet. You did well, I saw. You happy?
I'm happy, yes. Yeah, I'm happy. Because it was just, as you're obviously experiencing in a minute, the conditions are very tricky, aren't they? It's just trying to navigate yourself around carefully.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of Code Brown moments out there.
But are you enjoying the circuit?
Yeah, really. I turned up at midnight last night, so I haven't been round. It's clockwise, right?
Yeah.
You're right. No, it's good. I'm just going to try and not come last and just have some fun.
But you've been here before, haven't you?
Yeah, once about 3 years ago.
Right.
It's been a while, but just have a bit of fun. That's the important bit.
Well, that's why we're here, right? That's why we all signed up to this, to have fun.
Fun and try not to hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, have a good race.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Okay, I think we still have got a little bit more time. The marshals haven't blown their whistle yet. Let's have a quick word with Darren. Hello, Darren.
Hello there.
How are you feeling about this race?
I'm feeling okay, actually. Actually, now it's raining, I'm a little bit happier because we've got a full wet setup. We thought we'd take it at this position here at 18th. You've got nothing to lose, so you gamble. You can live with a wet setup on a dry track. You just got to manage it. But obviously, a completely dry track, yeah, okay. But it doesn't look as if it's going to change. It's going to be this sort of wet, damp, horrible weather. So.
Yeah, it is unfortunately. I think it's set in, isn't it, for the afternoon? But it's bizarre. It does dry in certain places, doesn't it?
It does, because I was looking through the S's through there for the graduates racing, which of course is as close to our racing as it can be. And yeah, I was noticing was dry patches there. When they landed and they gripped really well, but then of course as soon as they got off that, it suddenly started to slide. So it's a real challenge. I have to say, it's a real challenge. Cadwell is very rewarding until it's not, and there's a fine line between reward and repairing your car, as of course you know.
Yeah, I do know. Yeah, and one of the Caterham instructors said you have to respect Cadwell.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. In the dry, well, even in the dry, but actually in the dry, it's a fantastic. In the wet, yeah, respect is really the key issue here, because you've got to be the same. All the other guys are in exactly the same position, so yeah, hopefully a good race. Yeah.
Right, you're going out, so I'll let you get in the zone. Enjoy it. Find those grippy bits on the green flag lap. Right, there we go. We can hand back to the guys in the comms box now, ready for this race.
Thank you, Sam. Great to hear from the drivers as they head out onto the circuit for this Mission Motorsport Caterham 7 270R Championship race. And also very interesting to hear, Chris, you were nodding your head frantically like a bobblehead when it was said that Cadwell Park is very rewarding until it's not. But before I let you unpack that a bit more, let's have a look at how the grid is lining up. And there's a second between first place and fourth when it comes to the qualifying. Craig Story is in that coveted pole position, so you'll see him line up on the right-hand side of row one. Ben Timmons shortly behind him as well, but only by about 0.2 of a second. Ben Wheatley brings it in third position, and Zach Lowe will start from fourth. And here we have the second page of racers. Daniel Hope leading the way there, 1:47.8 qualifying time from him. Everyone else on 1:48s until we get back to Darren Butler, who qualified with a 1:50 dead, but not much separating him, Harvey Lawrence and Scott Graham towards the back of that midfield pack. And last but not least, bringing up the rear, we have Benja Headley, Oliver Kibblewise and Gary Cross, all in their Caterhams respectively, getting just over the 150 marks. Benja Headley just narrowly missing out on that midfield pack with the 150.9.
Great
and now
stuff.
I have actually got a chance to come to you, Chris, to talk about how much you were like a bobblehead there, agreeing that Cadwell is a very rewarding circuit until it's not, and there's a very fine line.
There is indeed, and to my cost I found that fine line out, qualifying for the 427 Championship UK Top Flight Motorsport, the Caterham offer, and unfortunately I all came a miss, shall we say, in qualifying, and I've never actually raced here, so I've done a lot of testing in the run-up to a race weekend, but I've never actually raced at this Cadwell circuit. But a fantastic opportunity to see the 270s out on circuit. Then you can see this really long grid there. You can see them heading off into the distance. So this is the third step of the Caterham Motorsport ladder. So this is still the Academy car underneath it all, but since they've upgraded it a couple of times there, they've got the Toyo AAA R tyres, so they're more race-focused rubber on the tarmac. They've got rid of their windscreen, they've got rid of their headlights and their number plates. They're no longer race legal in the format they race in, and they've also upgraded their suspension a little bit. So we've got wide track suspension at the front, and last but no means least, they've got 135 horsepower now, so an extra 10 horsepower, a few extra revs to play with as well, and a whole lot more experience under their belts to get used to around this 20-minute race then. The first of 3 race outings for them this weekend in the Mission Motorsport Caterham 270R Championship.
My goodness me, I mean, even a few extra horsepower in cars this light makes a leap of difference, but to have 135 brake and be able to push it to more revs, Chris, they must absolutely fly. So
the ladder's all designed so it's a step up each year, and it's at least a second, if not 2 seconds, between each steps of these ladders. And they get you focus around this race car. The wide track front suspension gives you more planted feel as you're heading into corners. The floppy feel of the Academy goes away slightly in Roadsport, but really does become race focused when they get to these 270Rs. And like I say, one of the biggest thing is the experience these drivers, they've all been through, or many of these drivers have been through the Academy, through Roadsport, and now they're up into this 270R. At this level, they're also allowed to have team support. So in Academy and Roadsport, they cannot have teams looking after them. It's all about them in the paddock looking after their own cars. When they get to this stage, it can be arrive and drive, and a team can look after their cars. So everything gets a bit more serious, and lots of them will have maybe data and analysis going on, things like that, to see where they can find these times. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. The actions are going to be good, and this field is big as well, so we've got lots to look at.
And if you haven't been able to join us for any of the races yet so far today, I can assure you that there will be plenty of on-track action, lots and lots of overtaking, which has been missing from many other motor racing series over the last few years. So you will not be missing out on that today with these Caterhams flying round Cadwell Park. And as we see them just coming past us now in commentary, coming towards the final third of their green flag lap, ready to then assemble themselves on the pit straight and get ready, Chris, for another brilliant race.
Yeah, the drizzle is still hanging in the air. It keeps coming and going, and it really is affecting the grip out there on track. But these cars have, like I say, the AAAR Toyotas tyres under them. Toyo tyres, and they are really going to give them that extra little bit of grip. It's still going to be very slippy out there, but they will have a little bit of more of opportunity to get their foot down. And as they head through then these bends, and I can see the tarmac in front of me. It's trying to get dry. It's trying to dry itself out. It's just never quite making it before the next batch of drizzle. But I can see that that's almost stopped now. And so maybe by the end of this race we'll start hearing the tyres squeal again. That is reminiscent, tells us that the track is drying out.
Well, we might not have drizzle, but there's certainly a little bit of mizzle still flying around the air, Chris, as you named it so rightly earlier. And I am going to keep using that for the rest of the weekend. You can't stop me now. But yes, conditions are not ideal, and they are indeed ever-changing here in the countryside of Lincolnshire. And the cars are lining up. You can see them there at the back of your screen emerging from the forest. Someone's come into the pit lane, so they're obviously not happy.
Is that Darren Butler, who we heard from in the pits? He said he was out on the dry. I think it is, yeah, Darren Butler then in the 68 has come in. So we heard from him before saying he was on a full wet setup. Wonder what's caught him in. He's just checking to see whether his bonnet's been done up properly. It's very easy to miss a catch. He must have been seeing that bonnet sort of heading up, but the marshals have all taken a check and it looks like it's all good. Next thing will be to look for that 5 seconds walk and see the rear of the field just about lining themselves up, so it won't be too long. Darren Butler's going to have to make it all up from the rear of the field as he'll exit the pits. There is the 5 second ball.
Here we go, 5 second ball. The lights are getting ready to switch on. Keep your eyes on Craig Story on the right-hand side of the grid, the pole position sitter. The lights are on. And they're out here at Cadwell Park. We are racing, and it's a fantastic start from Ben Timmons on the inside line. He will have the advantage heading up into the first corner as well, and it's another brilliant start from the likes of Ben Wheatley and Zach Lower as they all make their way up through the first turn, through Coppice and towards Charlie's.
The right side of this track is definitely giving much more grip off of the line. Every person who's been in second place on the grid has taken the lead into turn 1, and therefore that is clearly the drier side of the track, and that meant the pole position is really at a disadvantage. As we watch Harvey Lawrence go side by side with Benji Headley then as he goes down through this field up the Park Straight, and you can see how steep a hill is out the hill. They will all be trying to get the toe heading up. Is Ben Timmons seeing whether he can hold on to that lead. This guy who's won 6 races this year, is he going to hold on around the outside? It's going to be tough as they head through Park that time.
Ben Wheatley had that inside line. He was trying to dive down and try and take the first place position. Ryan Wiley was our focus there on that shot, getting a little bit sideways as well as all of the other cars behind him. You can't get on the power too soon here in these conditions because the back end will just step out like it's doing the quick step on Strictly. Now let's have a look at how the cars come through Mansfield. It's looking clean so far, but this is where we've seen a lot of people lose themselves, especially on the grass.
It is still Timmons out in front there. He was able to hold on around the outside. Story still seeing what he can do, but he's down 1 place. And then we do have Wheatley and Zach Lower in that yellow car. Great to see Zach Lower up here. Charlie Lower's brother from one of the champions from last year. So it's great to see his brother up there and doing so well, having just turned up and putting it in 4th place on that grid.
And they're about to come past us in commentary now. Timmons, Wheatley, Lower, all neck and neck with each other as we head into the first Forest section. Little bit too much of a sideways action there from Ben Timmons. So Lower is now going to be right on the back of him as well as Ben Wheatley. Craig Story has dropped down significantly since leading.
Yeah, so he has dropped away from that lead group, and Ben Timmons has won 6 races so far. He is the man on a mission this year to see whether he can take this 270R championship, our reigning Roadsport champion. He's going to come across line astern then. It is Timmons ahead of Wheatley. Story, like you say, is dropping down the field a little bit there to 3rd place. Zach Lower came across in 4th, then Kennelly, Tolmarsh dropping 1 place.
Wilby has made up 5 positions. Merritt has made up 6 positions. The cars are absolutely flying from the midfield towards the front here, but it is Timmons who has got the lead as once again they head around that long swooping left-hander and out into the rear part of the circuit.
Yeah, these drivers will all be discovering what the conditions are like. Some of them will be figuring out where the extra speed is, so this thing is not decided by any means. We've got side by side for our lead once more then as Wheatley looks to see whether he can go around the long way around Timmons. Indeed he can. He used that toe up into Park that time. Timmons down to 2nd.
Cars running nice and clean so far still through the Park and Chris curve section of the circuit. You can see them all managing to keep the cars under control. I guess first lap jitters kind of come into play really, and that's why we saw so much sideways action.
Just figuring out where the grip is, how much grip there is, and they will quickly dial that in, say the experience really counts when you've got these slippery conditions. Although interestingly, Ben Timmons made it all the way through to the last race at Silverstone with never having a wet session in an official race. So unbelievably, 3 seasons later, he is now having his first squirrely session on a track. But Timmons is at 2nd place, and Wheatley really looking good out there in the lead at the moment.
And here they come up. Wheatley is in the lead. Timmons shortly behind him. They are going to head past our commentary and into the Forest section as well. Story still hot on their heels, albeit dropping off ever so slightly. But Story's building a nice gap between himself and Lower.
Yeah, really good for Story. He's coming good this year and making his 56 car go. He's got 2 seconds last time over the line, but I think he is going to be closing that gap in. We watch this great field flowing themselves through Barn and out through these final corners. So Tolmarsh just going through our screen there. He's making some good progress. So watch out for him. I think he might have made a couple of places up on that lap. He's right behind, I think that's Zach Lower. So Zach Lower, I think, is starting to struggle a bit. Indeed, Tolmarsh did make 2 places up on that lap, and Zach Lower has slipped behind him. So Tolmarsh in the black and gold car there in 4th place, making good progress.
Well, here's confirmation then of your top 10 runners. Wheatley is in 1st and is running with a 1.3 second gap to Timmons. Story shortly behind him. Tolmarsh has made up 2 places into 4th now. Lower dropping down 1. Merritt shortly behind him as well. Again, climbing up the field. Kennelly has lost 2 positions on that last lap alone, and Emerson, Wilby and Boyce all make up and round up the top 10 at the moment in this 270R category race.
Yeah, Ballard there is, where is he? He's down in 11th place. He's 3rd place in our championship so far coming in this round. So he's really not having a good time around this Cadwell circuit at the moment. How's Benji Headley doing? We heard in the interviews there that he's only turned up midnight last night. He's still in that 19th place, still facing the right way and heading at least in the clockwise direction as he pointed out.
I'm sure he was only jesting. He knows what he's doing at the end of the day. He's just funnier than you or I. Here they go then, heading around the Chris curve and disappearing off down towards the gooseneck on your screen. And our leading pack have indeed headed through the gooseneck and down towards Mansfield.
Seeing what's rare in Caterhams, where we get these kind of equidistant gaps as everyone tries to figure out the toe normally means that they run absolutely nose to tail. If you were watching around Zandvoort earlier in the year, you've seen that actually every single race, if you added up all the gaps between every single race we did from lead to second place, it was less than 2 seconds. Unbelievable Caterham action, and this wet weather does seem to be spreading out, but yeah, as you said, Merritt's been making a move.
Merritt has made up a place. He's taken that position from lower. He's right on the heels now of Tollemache. And as they come out the back of the forest, you can see as well that Wheatley's lead has been slashed now by Timmins as well. He is a man on a mission trying to get that first place back from him.
Yeah, so 6 wins so far this year for Timmins. He really has been the driver to watch, as he was in Roadsport as well last year, so really got to grips with this. He had an accident in the first race out at Snetterton, which actually wrote off his race car, and one of his competitors lent him his race car, which is what he is driving now, so he can continue his battle. He fought his way back to win a race at Snetterton after starting stock last in second race 2, and he has not looked back since.
Well, there you go, confirmation on the screen as well that Merritt has indeed made that position up ahead of lower, so he's the man hunting down Tollemache, but Tollemache is the fastest man out on the circuit right now, 1:53.2, the fastest lap of this race so far.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley is, I think, a guest into the championship, so he does not scoring points for this, so that'll be interesting for Ben Timmins to take into account as well, but he's not in the championship charge, but he's certainly there to go and take a trophy home with him, and he's looking good for it as well, isn't he, out front at the moment, ahead of Timmins. That's Zach Lower, I think, falling further back, isn't it? He's now, that was Kennelly overtaking him, so Zach Lower, after starting 4th, he's going to find himself in 7th place at least, in the battle then between Kennelly and Emerson, which is being on the pack.
Well, we saw the number 77 of Lawrence actually getting in the middle of all this fighting that's going on at the moment, one of the back markers in this race at the moment, but you can see Wheatley, Timmins are neck and neck with each other, Story not too far behind. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a spot on that camera at the moment, but I can assure you that they are absolutely flying around at the moment still, and Wheatley is being hunted down by Timmins. It might be another few corners before we see a big move, but I can assure you, and everyone watching at home, Chris, you'll back me up with this, they're probably heading down to park on this next flap. We might see a dive down the inside.
Certainly they'll have dialed in everything enough to know where the grip is, and that means that the toe will start playing for with that gap out front. As you watch the squirrely car coming down towards us, then that was Story just in front of Tollemache, I think, as they wiggled their way out the final corner. Ben Wheatley, though, has got his foot down out the back. He's got the grip sorted out right the back part of that, through the hairpin and barn that time. He opened up that gap rather than it coming down. Ben Timmins will be watching him with interest to see how it's going to go. Story having to defend heavily from Tollemache in that 4th place.
Well, you mentioned how Wheatley all of a sudden was miles ahead of Timmins going and taking the beacon at the start-finish straight. He was 6/10 quicker in that final sector alone, which in these cars and at this track opens up a huge gap to yourself and the other car.
Yeah, with only one really ideal opportunity up the hill to overtake. I mean, they will try everywhere, of course, but you can see the gap is coming down as the toe does figure. Ben Timmins there have a little wiggle on the brakes just as he tried to figure out where the limit of that grip is. Tollemache looking to see whether he can get past Story. He can't right now, but it's Merritt right behind him as well. A little bit of a lock up there. That's also another sign that we're getting some dry tarmac, but these cars are still right on the edge of grip there. And so I think that was a
Ballard's getting a little bit sideways, but he's hunting down boys. He's trying to get up into that 9th place, obviously trying to improve from where he currently sits in 10th. But the racing is brilliant at the moment here at Cadwell. Oh, running a little bit wide there is Wheatley. That might open the door and an opportunity now for Timmins to come through. A lot of time would have been lost there touching the wet curb.
That would have been refreshing for Timmins to see that, to find out that he can catch up and really how hard Wheatley is pushing. They are absolutely nose to tail as they head over the mountain. Still not dry enough to make that jump happen yet, but it is starting to dry out just ever so slightly, and that means Timmins is closing in. And like I say, he would have been pleased to see that mistake because it means that he is pushing ever so hard. Can he hold on to him this time through this back section though?
Story, Tollemache and Merritt all following one behind the other in unison, holding their positions nicely. They are the secondary pack chasing those 2 front runners on your screen now, Wheatley and Timmins. There you can see Story with a little bit of wobble as he gets back on the accelerator as well, heading through the last of the forest section, and there you go, you can see the difference it makes having a good last sector. Wheatley ends up taking the timing beacon again with another big gap, 7/10 this time.
This is as close as Timmins has been as they head into the back part of the track. They're side by side in that 3rd place. Tolmarsh looking around the outside. Can he make it stick around the outside of Story? I don't think so, as they head up there. That lower has sort of stopped the rot at the moment and made it sort of stick into 7th place. But where is this action out front? I think Timmins will be close to that lead as they go up into Park.
Story had that inside line through the first turn at Coppice, and that gives you the advantage going up that tricky long uphill turn.
Yeah, slightly drier on that line in the inside, can see from here. Ben Timmins wasn't able to make that move into the lead, but he is right on the tail of Wheatley now. Can he hold on to him for the rest of this lap?
He's keeping Wheatley honest, that's for sure as well.
Story sideways. He's
big sideways action from Story there as well, who've been running really well so far in this race and faster in the first sector than those behind him as well. So he's obviously feeling confident out on the circuit, or he's feeling a little bit of pressure.
That angle of his car looked like he was fully sideways. I wonder whether he did make the corner. We'll see when he appears back into our view. Here is our lead though, Wheatley ahead of Timmins. They are pulling clear though of that 3rd, 4th place battle. Is it going to be Tolmarsh? We can't see just out as they go there, but our lead battle is intensifying, and Ben Timmins interestingly has been able to hold on. 0.7 a second last time we could cross the line, and right in that battle where he needs to be for the tow. A tow will give a car an extra 5-6 miles an hour as they head up that hill, so it really is important.
There's nothing separating these two as they head into the forest section now. There's less than a Caterham between them. Big action going on behind them as well. We've stayed on Timmins and Wheatley, so we'll stick with them on commentary as well. Wheatley getting a nice exit from that turn. So does Timmins. They stayed on the power, because sometimes when you're coming through that section, Chris, we've seen cars wobble a lot as they get back on the accelerator. Now, here comes an important part of the track. Timmins is going to be in the tow of Wheatley as they head towards Coppice. Timmins is moving down to the inside as well. No, the outside, and he has to slam on the brakes because Wheatley closes the door.
Yeah, Wheatley did what he needed to do, but Timmins, I think, was just trying to put him off. He knows that his best overtaking opportunity is around after this right hand that they're heading through now as they head up Park Straight. He will be in that tow and looking to see whether he can get to the inside, because that's where you want to be for that overtake to complete. However, there was enough speed earlier for it to go all the way around the outside, so let's wait and see as they head up into Park.
Merritt's lost a little bit of time to Story and Tolmarsh, so potentially Story and Tolmarsh starting to break away from Merritt. Well, here comes Timmins down the inside of Wheatley. Is he going to make it? No, he backs away. He thinks better. He thinks about the long run in the race and not just about the glory at the Park corner, as indeed we see Story getting a little bit out of shape with Tolmarsh, putting a lot of pressure on him there as they head round to the Chris curve.
Interesting, it's still around the outside there. You can tell the car's all braking on the outside line, therefore not looking to the inside just yet. Part of these tracks is drying out quicker than the others. The wettest bit is through the Hall Bends still, but our lead group, you can see there is a drying line, isn't there, as they head around Mansfield and out towards the mountain. And yeah, they will be seeing, and we'll be hearing those tyre squeals soon. But this lead battle has said not come alive yet, but he's right where he needs to be. With 7 minutes still to go though, there's still plenty of opportunities to see what he can do.
There is indeed. Wheatley and Timmins have made their way through the mountain section of the circuit nice and cleanly, and you can see the lovely lines being driven by those two. A little bit of an adjustment had to be made there by Timmins. He felt as though the car was going to get away from him there, Chris, and the conditions obviously still not ideal for the number 8, but look how they are shaping up as they head round the final turn. We're going to catch them as they come onto the pit straight now. Here they go. Timmins has got another opportunity of the tow potentially, or is he too far back on this occasion?
He got closer into turn 1 than he did up to Park, so he'll keep that in mind for later in the race. Again, diving down the inside just to try and put Wheatley off. Wheatley wise to it though, and still there in his sort of wake, as it were. But still Timmins, remember I said at the beginning, he's really not had a side-by-side for the third. Sorry, I'll just keep an eye on that story. Still holding on, but Timmins really hasn't had any wet weather experience.
Well, look, there was 500 separating Story and Tolmarsh. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but you were getting excited about how side-by-side they were. There is nothing separating those two right now.
Absolutely, 500ths a second. Let's see whether we can get to that 5,000th the next time through. Ben looking around the outside sideways as he tips the car in. Does look like he's got more of a dry setup on that car, so if it is drying out, it will come to him. Looking to see the inside of Chris curve there, there really wasn't a room, and he's lost out a touch just because of that little... Oh, we've got a bit of a contact there. We had a car off at the top of Park, straight underneath our cameraman there. Hope everyone's all right, but that was a car losing it up into Park and went straight off into the barrier, so we'll keep an eye out for whether and who that is. It's one of the yellow roll cages. Well done, our cameraman, for holding on there. You could hear it hitting the airbag.
I was just about to tell everyone they made you jump, not just the cameraman as well.
It was a bit of a jump there, wasn't it? Unfortunately, I can't see what number it is. I can see whether I can find a number, but we'll look, I think, next time through for the car that's dropping down through. That would have been a horrible little accident up there. was fast up into that top spin. He just grabbed a brake and couldn't get it stopped when he went off the grass.
Well, we hope everyone involved is okay, including our lovely cameramen who are dotted around this circuit, making sure that they can bring you all of the action here from Cadwell Park. I'm looking around as well to see whether any yellows or any safety cars are going to be thrown around or taken out. We've got 5 minutes of racing left, so it would be a shame to see a safety car go out now, especially when these two are so close to each other, and Timmins is very much in the tow of Wheatley. There is not much separating these two at all. It's number 56. We'll just take a look and see if we can identify.
Craig's story. It's Craig's story then. He was in that third place, so he has lost that third. He was fighting with Tolmarsh, wasn't he? So that battle has come to a head, and we've lost that. So Tolmarsh will be up into that second place, and it will be, in fact, third place, isn't it? Tolmarsh and then Kennelly. So, it's been all action here. I hope the safety car isn't thrown, because it will really ruin this race. Whether they can cover that under yellow, let's watch.
Well, Timmins is looking on the back of Wheatley there as they head round Park, coming towards Chris Curve again. Has Timmins got a slightly better line than he did last time, because the last time out he lost a lot of time going through the Chris Curve, and it looks as though he's been able to stay with Wheatley on this occasion. Whether that lasts for the rest of the lap is yet to be seen. Let's see how they shape up as they head down into the gooseneck. They're going to come in from the right hand corner of your screen now any second. Who's going to emerge first? It's still Wheatley that emerges first, but Timmins is right on the tail of the blue Caterham as they head down the hill and towards Mansfield. And before you know it, Chris, they'll be right in front of us, but this is going to the line.
It is, and I think you'll have to keep in mind that Timmins knows that Ben Wheatley is guesting here, so he will get full marks, full points for being in this second place on track. He will only lose out the winner's pot, but he'll still want that as well. But that will be another thing factoring into Timmins' decision here. He doesn't want to throw away his extra, full marks and full points from this race on a position that's not going to cost, it's not going to gain him anything.
Well, he is very much riding the bumper, riding the very back of that leading Caterham with Wheatley at the helm, and they will take to the timing beacon once again as the lead cars. 1:44 dead for Wheatley out the front, the fastest lap of the race so far, a 100th of a second separating the two men out front in terms of best laps right now, Chris.
Yeah, it's absolutely close out there. They've been the class of this field, haven't they? Tolmarsh a distant third place now, over the top of Kennelly, but he was benefited from Story going off that last time, so where that sort of track action cost Story dearly, didn't it? He's finding himself as he got.
There goes Timmins. There goes Timmins around the outside of Wheatley. Is he going to outbreak him going down into Park? Well, he's certainly got the position Wheatley to defend, and he seems to keep Timmins at bay now as well. They're switching back on themselves. They're going to go around the Chris Curve, but Timmins, he's accepted defeat. He's slotted back in behind, and those Caterhams will resume their positions as they were.
War won there by Wheatley, wasn't it? But still plenty of battles, I'm sure, as they go into this. What will probably be their final lap next time through. But Ben Timmins there put it to the outside. I thought he was going to make that stick because the grip was on the outside, but Wheatley showing there is still enough grip now on the inside of Park to hold on and hold at bay Timmins, and that charge is going to have to come back. It really comes together after they go through turn one and then up through Park. That really is where he's going to make that move.
Here they go now, coming in towards the mountain section of the circuit, right in front of us in commentary, and there is no change really, Chris. They've gone past us for the last 5, 6, 7 laps now, and there's no change in the distance between them, but Timmins is harassing them right now. Wheatley has got Timmins all over the back of him as they head out towards the final part of the forest section. Wheatley needs to get a good exit through this final sector, otherwise Timmins will have the advantage and the tow going down pit straight. Here they go.
He definitely catches up as they go through that barn and hairpin as they head into turn one, and that's why he gets into that tow. But let's go through turn one once more. You can see how much speed Timmins has over Wheatley at the end of that straight, just with that tow pulling him towards as they head up through Coppice, then up into Charlie's, this right-hander that leads them back onto Park Straight. It's not really straight, as we found out. They go downhill initially before climbing up the steep hill, and that's where we've seen Timmins. Here we go, down the hill to start with, and then we'll head up through the two mountainous sides, up into this. Ben could go to the outside once
Timmins
more.
is going for the same position once more. It didn't work last time, but he's got all the way past Wheatley on this occasion, and he's been able to take the inside line. No, he switched back to block Wheatley. He was looking all over his mirrors. He was trying to make sure that Wheatley stayed behind him, and Timmons has moved up from second on the grid into the first place position. Ben Timmons is our new race leader, but it's not over yet. Ben Wheatley is all over him.
And we've got 46 seconds. Is that enough time to get back to this line before they're halfway around this course, aren't they? Have they got enough time to get back to the line before the clock is out? Is this their last lap, or will they have one more to go? I think with 30 seconds, this is going to be the last lap. That might have been an inspired move by Timmons to sweep around using that speed. It's 30 seconds is going to be ever so close as they come into the tail end of this course.
Here they come up into the mountain section in front of us here in commentary. Timmons has got Wheatley all over him. Wheatley might even make an optimistic move. He thought about it going around the outside, but he ducked out of it. Timmons has now got the advantage. There's half a second separating them, surely even less probably.
Have they got 10 seconds to get back to the line? There's a yellow flag, so no overtaking there. I think this is going to be the final. Are they preparing that checkered flag? I think so, yes. So it is the last time they're coming out. What an inspired move by Timmons then to overtake on the last lap.
On the last lap of this fantastic race, Timmons has been able to steal victory from the clutches of Ben Wheatley. So Ben Timmons is our race winner. A fantastic drive from the number 8 Caterham, an inspired drive by the number 8 Caterham, and he will be very, very happy with that race result. And Chris, I'm sure if you were at the helm of that Caterham, you'd be over the moon.
Absolutely. Well, I wouldn't be if I was Wheatley. I think I'd be licking my wounds. He timed that to perfection, didn't he? He just got that slingshot as he went through turn 1 on that last lap, and it drew him all the way up to him, and he was able to get the move done with the slingshot before we even got up into that corner. Great move by Timmons. Tolmarsh coming across in that third place to make a... Let's say we didn't see how the action ended with Story, but he'll be delighted to make third place. He's coming up quite a few places off the grid.
And what I can confirm to you right now is, as things stand, Ben Timmons has got the fastest lap of the race as well, 1:42.5. He's been able to achieve out on the circuit. 11 laps completed in this race as well, as the full top 10 have finished now. We're just waiting for everyone else to come through and make their way across the start-finish line. But what a brilliant race we've been treated to by the 270R series.
Absolutely fantastic. That's 3 years, or at least 3 years of experience showing from the drivers there. Really able to control those, and a battle for the lead that went down to the last lap. What more could you want? Let's see what we could do. They've got 2 more opportunities out on track as we watch the tail of the field coming across. Such is the size of this grid. How many cars have we got here this weekend? 25 of these 270R cars. Fantastic to watch the Mission Motorsport sponsored series, and great work that Mission Motorsport do, and we're really proud to be associated with this championship. It's what a race, and say the track conditions again drying out throughout the course of that race, getting quicker and quicker. You can see there's a drying line, and that's going to make the action even more exciting. There is the end of Craig Story's race. What a sad place he was. Let's have a look at the results.
Well, there you have it. Confirmation. Ben Timmons finished in first place, 11 laps completed. Ben Wheatley shortly behind him, half a second separating the 2 drivers as they cross the line. Lionel Tolmarsh completes the top 3 finishers as well, so he'll grab the final podium finishing place. And again, confirmation at the bottom of your screen as well that Ben Timmons secured the fastest lap of the race on the very last lap as well. 1:42.5 was achieved. And not only did he achieve the fastest lap on the last lap, he achieved the win on the last lap of the race. Chris, sum that up in 2 words for me, that race.
Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you, there's something else that's absolutely brilliant, is the fact that we're going to hear from these drivers very, very shortly, because we have our crew down in Parc Fermé. I am eagerly awaiting confirmation that they're ready to go, because I want to hear from Ben Timmons. And we are going to head down there now. Let's see if we can grab a word from Ben Timmons, our race winner, and indeed Ben Wheatley, the 2 men that battled from minute 1 to the very end.
Fantastic battle from the 2 Bens at the top there. An absolutely brilliant race in these tricky conditions. Ben was a man on a mission, I feel, Ben Timmons. Fantastic, Ben. You must be delighted with that. I know you weren't very happy, with the second place. You wanted pole, but you were going to hunt the other Ben down, weren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I was a bit disappointed with qualifying, which in no sense was to start on the front row, but it's always about making improvements. And I think, unbelievable well done to Ben. He was so fast in that whole session. I just simply didn't have the pace for it. We went with a little bit more of a dry setup, so towards the second half of the race, in the last few laps, the car really started coming towards me, and I could see Ben was just smoking me out of certain corners. So I knew it was just a case of keep up or survive for certain places and hope the track would come to me. and it just did on that last lap. So yeah, but a massive well done to him. I think his pace was exceptional. To lead for that long is really, really impressive. So yeah, hell of a circuit as well. I'm looking forward to a beer and a nap now, I think.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it? You need a rest after it for sure.
It is, absolutely. It's I know beds like Formula Series, these are baby cars, so to speak, but I've never felt so physically tired driving on a track. My hands, I don't think I can unclench my hands yet. So yeah, it's been wild.
And I must just mention, this is the first time you've been here, isn't it, this weekend?
It is, yeah, never been here before. It's 3.5 hours away and in the middle of absolutely nowhere, so it's not been high on my list of places to go, to be honest. Not when I've got Snetterton and Brands Hatch near me. So yeah, but an amazing circuit. I thought the whole mini Nürburgring thing was a bit of a gimmick, but I can really see why it has that moniker. But yeah, awesome place, and hopefully we can do something similar tomorrow. So let's see.
Excellent. Well done, fantastic result. Let's go to Ben. Congratulations, Ben. I've met you in the grads before, but yeah, fantastic result, and you really put Ben under pressure, and obviously you were leading so much of that.
I know, it's one of those races, isn't it? It's so disappointing to lead majority of the race and then get done on the last lap, but that's Caterham racing, isn't it? The worst place to be on the last lap is in first. So look, credit to Ben, he races really hard, really fair, and I've really enjoyed it. And after I've not sat in the car for 6 months, so it feels good to get back out there and stick it, on the podium straight away.
Oh, that's pretty impressive, really, after 6 months out of the car.
Yeah, I've not been in the car since February, and obviously the grads round in September last year was my last round. So yeah, I think we've sorted out what we need to for the rest of this year, and it means that should be at every round for the rest of this year. So hopefully I can give Ben a run for his money again.
Oh yes, bring it on. Well, that'd be
Cheers.
great.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Well done. And Lionel, let's have a quick word with Lionel. Lionel, congratulations on the podium. That's fantastic. How did you find it?
It was a good start, to be fair. It was a bit slippy off the bat, but I had a wet setup, so sort of balanced that one out. And the tyres started to go off near the end, but Craig Story gave me a really good fight, basically from the get-go, until I think he outbraked through Park. But no, it was a really good race, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, that's well done. Fantastic. Right, we've got some pre-records for the next race, so we'll hand back to the videos.
Well, if you have been following the Sigma 135 Championship so far this series, if you'd gone to any of the races, all of the races, you would have travelled 935 miles to be precise, from Kent to Wiltshire to the Netherlands, who can forget that, and back here today to Lincolnshire. It's been a captivating championship so far, and we've arrived for our first triple header of the season. 3 races here and a championship leader change as well. Alaric Barney down here to my right, the man leading the championship so far. Alaric, we're going to come in to you quickly. Leading the championship, you were just saying to us you're not in the ideal position today at the moment, though.
No, qualifying I gambled on my setup and I paid the price, unfortunately, but the weather's very hard to predict, and it's very slippery out there, so but we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's an accident up the front. We'll take advantage of that, but let's hope not. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. Consistency's been the key so far for you this season, sort of picking up those results whilst others have sort of plateaued and been up and down a little bit. What's been the secret to that consistency so far?
Stay on the track and finish as best you can. Yeah, it's a lottery usually, but I'm doing okay at the moment.
It really is a lottery. Just a final one with you then. It's the first triple header of the season as well. How much does that change things for you behind the wheel?
Nothing really. It's just great fun to have an extra race. It's looking forward to it really. It's rain or shine.
Rain or shine. Well, we're stuck with the conditions at the moment. Alaric, best of luck. Hopefully you can work your way back up the field a little bit. Let's move over a little bit. So the man that was leading the championship but then didn't race at Castle Combe last time out was Paul Goldstein. If you're wondering who that is, well, you can't miss him. Look at the car. 4 races, sorry, I should say, and 3 wins so far for him. We're just going to go over and have a little bit of a chat with Paul. Paul, well, we can't miss you there. We missed you at Castle Combe last time out, but obviously 3 wins so far, looking strong. How excited are you to be back behind the wheel today in, to be honest, pretty tricky conditions?
Yeah, I quite like these changeable conditions.
It used to fear me. I think that's where the real issue is. It does fear people. I'm not bothered anymore. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. I've got 3 grads races this weekend, 2 with Roadsport, so I'm very busy this weekend. P2, P1 for grads, and then P3 for Roadsport, so looking good.
In a good position across the board then. We've seen already with the green racing out in front of us, some of the difficult conditions, drivers going off a little bit, Bruno van Dijk dropping to 7th at one point as well after getting caught up. I know it goes without saying, but how important is it literally just stay on track, see what's in front of you?
Oh yeah, you've got to stay on the track, because whatever you're going through, the person in front's having a problem with and the person behind you having a problem with, so just must stay on track. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Paul, best of luck. As we said, we can't miss you there in that resplendent gold car. Let's work our way through here a little bit more, see who else we can have a chat to. We're going to make our way here over to Paul Armitage as well. Paul, been talking to Alaric, been talking to a couple of other drivers. Conditions difficult for everybody, but difficult conditions present opportunities.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I think it's going to be a question of trying to race cleanly and keep this on the black stuff. That's going to be hard out there.
It is going to be hard, and overtaking's challenging at the best of times out on that track. Narrow, but that means the field's going to bunch together a little bit today as well, especially with the conditions.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and this is a tough track to overtake on anyway. I think now, if people defend in the right way, you'll be offline. You'll be on a slippery part where you're trying to outbrake people. That makes it even harder. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Definitely going to be interesting. Best of luck out there. And well, chat to 3 of the drivers. It's going to be a great race, a first triple header of the season, as well as we've been saying. And well, the rain is starting to pick up. You can probably see it starting to form on my jacket a little bit. So it really is anybody's game out on track.
Don't worry, Harry, your jacket looks lovely. You look fabulous still, don't worry. The rain isn't ruining that at all. And the rain isn't ruining the fun here at Cadwell Park either. We've got plenty more racing still to come today. 2 more races left on today's agenda. And I'm pleased to say that for some reason, unknown to me, is that Chris Hutchinson has decided to still stick with me for yet another race. You're laughing about it, Chris.
Well, I was just thinking, actually, I couldn't leave my mate. Henry Heaton's on pole position for this next one on the Sigma Wax 150s. And yeah, we started racing in 2013. Actually, he pipped me to the Academy title. I finished second that year to Henry Heaton. So I thought I'd better come on board to say hello to Henry and to watch how he gets on. He's here guesting in John Curry's car here. So he's going to be starting from that pole position. It's not been a good starting position for any other driver out there today so far, but let's see how Henry Heaton. He's been racing recently, more recently, in the 7 Championship UK, the top flight British Championship of Caterham Motorsport, taking that step back into the Sigmac 150s for a bit of fun. Yorkshire lad, why not come and have a bit of a go in his backyard?
Why not? And you're not still bitter about that Academy title at all?
Oh, it still hurts. It still hurts. It never goes away. It never fades.
I can't believe I decided to dig into it a little bit more. But look, we've got, as I say, 2 more races left. This will be our penultimate one. I mean, this will be a great race to start bringing the day to an end, won't it? Because it's going to be jam-packed full of the same sort of action we've experienced in the previous 4.
So the graduates run a sort of parallel series to the main Caterham Motorsport Championship that's formed the most of this weekend. This car is the equivalent of the 310, the top flight of the... When we make our steps up from the Academy car, it's 4 steps later you get to the 310. So the ultimate evolution of the Caterham Academy car, and the Grad 150 is the equivalent of that. 150 horsepower under their right foot, so by the time you cater the fact that they've only got a half a ton of car, it weighs the same as a Mini Caterham. And yeah, that's the reason why we call it the 310R in the main championships, because they've got 310 horsepower per tonne, and that's an awful lot under your right foot. And I say these experienced drivers and the Caterham graduates offering a place where you can go and race your 310R in a parallel season, and many great sort of, I've seen names in this field that I've been racing against and with for many years.
Talk to me then about some names we need to keep an eye on. Give me some headline acts. Pick 2 or 3 out for me,
Harry
Chris.
Senior's definitely, he's put himself on that second place on the grid, and he is constant force at the front. Now we also see him in the 7 Championship UK doing a great job as an AM there. Jamie Elwood. Let's have a look at the field.
Let's look at how it lines up then. So as you say, Henry Heaton on pole in his Caterham, alongside him Harry Senior in the number 1 Caterham. Jamie Elwood and Matthew Willoughby are the 2 literally just behind them, and separated by just over a second from 1st to 4th as well. So very tightly packed front sort of grid. And there you can see Max Haynes as well, Bren Moore, James McCall, Andrew Whitten, regular names to the forefront of this championship. And there in the second pack, Craig Denham and Charles Elliott will begin the second pack. Ian Anderson and Christopher Raymond very close in behind them, all on 141s, including those behind them as well, Barry White and Gareth Cordy. And then all of a sudden we drop off into the 143. Stefano Maro is the one who starts that, and Michael Downing makes up the rear of this second group of cars. And last but by no means least, Rob Appleton. He gets a whole page to himself in the number 2 Caterham. He'll be the man starting from row 11 on his own. Of course, he won't be singing about how he's all by himself, because he'll be mixing himself right in the middle of it. Chris, you're really going to get sick of me at one point, aren't you? You are laughing now. I assure you won't be by the end of tomorrow.
It's it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. The corny lines are what keep us going in the commentary box here. But the weather, just to give you a weather update, no mizzle, no drizzle, completely dry out there at the moment, other than the track surface, which is still hanging on and damper as we can see through Hall Bends. But even Hall Bends is getting a drying line. It's going to be treacherous trying to overtake at the moment. You are going to go onto that damp part, and because of the rest of the drying line, you're going to be carrying 10-15 mile an hour more than probably a damp track can cope with. Anyway, they are going to soon head off onto their green flag lap, so they'll get to see the conditions out there. If you ask the question, who are the likely winners? Well, I'm not going to take it away from this front 4. I think they are going to be the class of this field, with Heaton there injecting himself in there, but a quality driver alongside Harry Senior and Jamie Elwood, who are always at the front of this field and have great battles, and Willoughby is never far back. So I'm going to give it to one of these first 4 if they can make it up through these first few corners.
Interesting to note as well, Chris, from that practice start and from the green flag lap that they're going round to enjoy now, Henry Heaton really attacked his practice start. He's potentially been watching everyone else who started in pole position really struggle with the conditions on that right-hand side of the track, as it appears to have left-hand side for the drivers, because everyone who started there has had a really slow start.
I bet he would have been petitioning to have it swapped over to the other side. I certainly would have been. I want my pole position on the right-hand side of the track, but you don't get that, unfortunately. And you can see even from here, there is a dry line. It's the natural line is the right-hand side of the circuit, so left as you look at it when we're looking down at the start-finish line, and it is noticeably more damp. Henry would have been spinning up his wheels in the desperate attempt that he could burn off a few last molecules of water, but I still think he's going to struggle to get that lead. If Harry Senior gets that the clutch point right, he's going to fly off, I think. That's not going to be the end of this race, though. That is certainly only going to be the first part of it. But yeah, look at this field coming up then into part. This has been the most sort of eventful overtaking point, hasn't it? It's been the most likely overtaking point.
I've very much enjoyed watching them all go through Park, and there's definitely been people who are braver than others going through this section of the circuit as well. And I think it's fair to say that that's not going to change going into this as well. But I think what we should keep our eyes on, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is the fact that it's now starting to, dry a little bit. We've not had any mizzle, drizzle, proper rain, like that wet rain that my mum always goes on about. We haven't seen any of that for a while, so the track is maybe starting to evolve to a more drier state, but it will still be greasy. So I think we need to keep our eyes on the Gooseneck, Mansfield, the mountain swoop up into that hilly part of the track.
And you can be sure that it is not going to be dry on the last 2 corners of this. One's called the hairpin, and it really is a tight hairpin, and it'll be greasy as anything under the trees, and barn as well. So whereas it might be dry in front of us and around a majority of the top end of this circuit, there will still be places to catch out our drivers, as you can see them weaving, trying to get some heat into those tyres, even a little puff of tyre smoke as they try and get the brakes all nicely up to temperature. These cars a little bit more capable than the 270s we saw before, 150 horsepower. They got a limited slip diff to play with as well, so that's a bit of fun for them in these conditions, and they will be hanging the rear of these car tyres out as they go around.
Whoa, Chris, you can't throw words out like that without explaining to people what that means as well. So what can they achieve by tampering with that slip diff?
So the limited slip diff allows it basically means that the rear wheels are connected to each other, whereas an open diff means that your inside wheel can spin up in greasy conditions, whereas when it's limited limited slip, it means that you can basically play with power oversteer, and my goodness, that's what the drivers love to do, and it helps the car turn, helps them get on the throttle, helps them to get that power down onto the tarmac, and it makes a whole difference to this car.
Well, thank you very much for that, Chris. I will tell you now, if there's no future for us doing this, there's definitely a future for you in teaching. Not sure about me, but thank you for that little bit of education. It all makes a lot of sense, and they are starting to line up on the grid. The last few cars coming out that final turn in Barn and taking their places right towards the back of the grid. Chris, give me one word to sum up how you would attack the first corner.
Relentless.
Relentless. Oh my goodness. This is going to be chaos then going down into turn 1 with these 150s. Right, everyone is starting to take their grid positions. I'm looking towards the back to see if Rob Appleton is slotted in. It looks like he might be. We've still got a couple of cars creeping forward. I'm eagerly waiting for them to be done, to be finished. There we go, the 5-second board is up here at Cadwell Park. We are 5 seconds out from racing, the lights are on. And the lights are out. We are racing at Cadwell Park, and it is a poor start from Heaton on pole position, and Harry Senior has been able to get the better start out of the two of them. He will lead the pack up into Coppice as they sweep up that long left uphill turn. It's a clean start from the rest of the grid as well. No spins so far, no casualties as of yet. And they all once more make it through Charlie's nice and cleanly as well. And there you can see the man who started in second, Harry Senior, has got the better start. And Heaton has dropped back.
Plummeted like a stone. He is about 7th or 8th place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place as the battle behind him catches out there. But he is in that 7th place, and the battle then comes up into Park. Here's Senior out, just losing out there.
Willoughby has made a move. He's made a move around the outside of Harry Senior. Senior has lost lead in this race as quickly as he got it. There's a lot of body work going up into the air. There's a spinning Caterham re-entering the circuit. Everyone's done very well to avoid him there. That was the very, very hair-raising moment for Ian Anderson, but it's lucky to say that he is safely through it. Willoughby now leading the cars as they head down the straight after the Mansfield corner, coming towards the mountain section of the track now. Sorry, no, gooseneck. I'm just getting ahead of myself, Chris. I'm getting so excited. We've got another car off in the background. They have rejoined safely. Other cars are managing to avoid them, and now they're approaching us in the mountain section of the circuit as well. Willoughby is ahead of Harry Senior currently, and the number 11 of Jamie Elwood slots in just behind, and the three of them are our top three as we head into the forest section of the circuit.
And Heaton has settled down though, so he's got to do a bit of a fight back. He's clearly got pace in that car though, so he will be seeing what he can do. But Willoughby made good of that right hand side of the track, and he absolutely swamped Harry Senior as they went up into Park Bend. So really on a mission, relentless as we might say, as he heads across the line side by side, Elwood and Harry Senior, as we see them so many times. Elwood just getting in front, nudging in front of Harry Senior as they turn 1.
Senior has slotted in behind Elwood as they head up that long left-hander of Coppice. It's a really long uphill. You've got to make sure you keep the momentum. So clearly Senior and Elwood were electing to make sure that they got the best entry and kept their momentum from being on the pit straight, going up through that long uphill section, as I mentioned already. Right now, Park Straight. Oh no! Willoughby's off! Willoughby was on the grass and he's lost a lot of time, and now he's invited Harry Senior to come straight back into it.
Indeed, Senior takes over, lock up as they head up into Park. Really is drying out this track lap by lap. Willoughby went out to the eggs of Charlie's, just lost it. And that's Hayes spinning, isn't it? Warner's spinning.
Gone off. He touched a little bit of the grass, and when you touch a little bit in these conditions, you are off. That is it. There is no saving it. And look, Senior and Elwood are now fighting with each other out front. There's a bit of a gap between them and the rest of the pack who are trailing in behind.
Normality restored. Harry Senior and Elwood then going pair racing out front and seeing what they can do. The rest are sort of throwing off. We said it was going to be treacherous if you got off line, and this drying line really encouraging speed, but they're not able to deal with that speed in all situations. But here's Harry Senior then ahead of Jamie Elwood. Are they going to Park Bend this time through?
Willoughby has dropped back to third. He's got Haynes for company very close behind him as well. You can see it there on the screen now. Willoughby being harassed by Haynes as they head into the forest section of this circuit. Lots of sideways action as they head through that first chicane also.
Yeah, absolutely. There's say plenty of grip on the racing line, but they are trying to figure out how do I get past the car in front of me. Looking then like it's Harry Senior just got a little bit of a gap there over Elwood. Then we've got that gap down to Willoughby, who's recovering it well considering he was on that grass heading up the straight. Here's Henry Heaton then looking to see whether he can get past Maud at the inside of turn 1. No, has to sit back. He saw that damp patch, didn't fancy it, and therefore stuck back in line again. He'll be going up into Park Bend thinking, what can I do there?
He thinks better of it because he knows that he needs to keep that momentum and keep his speed. He can't afford to constantly slam on the brakes whilst he's mid-uphill through Coppice, because otherwise he's going to lose a lot of time. Now, let's turn our attention to Senior and Elwood as they're heading down towards Park Turn. It looks as though Elwood has managed to get ahead. The number 11 slots in front of Harry Senior, and it's the two Harrys out front together enjoying a fabulous time together.
Tow racing happening now that the drying line is appearing. They are able to tow each other at that back straight, and they are kind of happily swapping places to see whether they can use that leapfrog effect to pull clear of Willoughby. And in fact, they are gaining a gap. They're 2 seconds clear of Willoughby that time through, in fact, 1.5 seconds, but looks like that is growing as they progress through this lap.
Jamie Elwood, I should say, not Harry. Again, Chris, I'm getting too excited. This is just a fantastic race that we're seeing. Jamie Elwood is leading Harry Senior at the moment. They're coming down into the mountain section of the circuit in commentary. Oh, very, very sideways as well from Jamie Elwood. Harry Senior slotting in behind him as they head into the forest section. Senior is all over him. The Willoughby keeping it nice and tidy as well as they head into the forest section of the circuit once more.
Heaton is in front of Maud as well, so he's made another place up, but they were really pushing the envelope over the mountain then. It was really squirrely as they went over the crest, and there's lost traction with those tyres. There is Heaton chasing now down to go towards Max Hayes in that second, but it is now Elwood over the line. Will they swap again as they go up into Park? I predict yes.
Well, Elwood's parked himself very defensively. He tried to keep that toe and break it, and he moved to the part of the circuit where he didn't want to let Harry Senior through. Jamie Elwood has got Harry Senior all over him. Willoughby following in behind with Haynes and Heaton behind him as well. Elwood has still got the advantage. They now head up towards the Park Straight. Here comes a little dip, and then the long uphill, Chris.
Here we go. Harry Senior looking to the inside, and I think Elwood is just going to let that happen. Again, they're just doing like wheelbarrow racing, as it were. One go, you go next, and that is pulling them clear of Willoughby. They are happy to work together for the next 10 minutes of this race before the final 5, when they'll pull the pin and they'll go back to competitive racing.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Harry Senior was giving Jamie Elwood a taste of his own medicine. He pulled off the exact same move that Elwood was able to in that section of the circuit. As you see them once again disappear down a long straight together, and running a little bit wide maybe on that occasion was Senior, and he has got Elwood on the back of him. This could be very tasty as they head towards the mountain section of the circuit.
Let's see what happens. I think they're going to run nose to tail. They are doing as they head round here, and I think they will do for the next couple of laps, so we should just keep an eye on that. They're managing that gap. You can see that they are dropping Willoughby behind, and that's all they care about right now, making sure they guarantee that first and second. Here comes Heaton though, trying to chase down behind Hayes, and Hayes is right on the tail of Willoughby, so that's the battle that really is going to come alive. His lead group, they will continue to swap places, but this is the battle I'm interested in. See how far can Henry Heaton get through.
Max Haynes pulling off a remarkable move at the moment to really fly up from 7th to be challenging now for a potential podium place, but he has, as you say, got Henry Heaton, our pole sitter, for company alongside him as they chase down Willoughby, who again was another front runner in this race, and you can see them going side by side up through Coppice. Heaton doesn't care about what we should be doing, he just wants to get ahead in this race. Senior still leading Elwood as well as they head on towards the Park Straight, but we want to see what's going on behind them, or do we? Because Elwood's making a move down the outside.
Yeah, so that we're going to see that move for the next 5 laps, I promise you, is just going to continue to happen. They're working together. Who is going to get that Haynes and Heaton battle? It looked like Heaton was looking all the way around the outside. That was the dry line, but it depends whether Haynes was able to hold on. I predict we might see Heaton in front now, up into 4th.
Anything can happen here at the Mini Nürburgring, and indeed at the moment it's Elwood who leads the race. He's been able to snatch it from Senior. Little bit of a gap is ahead. Little bit of a gap actually between Heaton and those who were challenging him earlier, so clearly something's happened that means that...
So Willoughby is there, then Heaton is next up, so he's fought through those 2 cars. He's been let free to see whether he can get back on that podium.
He's bought Willoughby a bit of breathing room, but it won't happen for very long either, as we see Elwood and Senior disappear past us in commentary. Willoughby has indeed got a little bit of a lead ahead of Henry Heaton behind him. But Heaton he's got his eyes set, hasn't he, on a podium finish?
Indeed, he's made up those 2 crucial places in just a couple of laps, and he's going to see whether he can chase down Willoughby. Let's have a look at his lap time this time through to see whether that's looking likely as this batch here. They are. Willoughby, in fact, there was one of them on the grass there, really squirrely on the rear end, but Heaton's already eaten into that gap of Willoughby. You can see he's chasing him down as he comes across the line. I think there's no doubt Heaton's going to be with him in the next couple of laps as we go side by side behind Hayes and Horton behind, and it looks like Horton's on the inside then of Haynes. Indeed, he's made another position.
Haynes and Heaton battling fiercely with each other as they head up through Coppice, and look, a word on Heaton as well. He was 6/10 faster faster than the car ahead of him on that last lap as well. So he is really going for it and gunning after him as well, as we see the front two runners switch places.
Have you seen that before?
Once again, in exactly the same scenario. Senior will take the lead from Elwood, but Jamie Elwood this time around is actually much closer than the cars have been before, heading around Charlie's corner.
He's just going to sit there for the next, say we're going to see that for the next 5 minutes of this race. They will just swap at exactly the same point. It's the way they can go quicker together. It's a real teamwork thing when the toe kicks in Caterham Motorsport. Like I say, it's worth 5 to 7 miles, sometimes 10 miles an hour more at the end of a straight, and they're going to use that extra speed just to pull them clear. And you can see it's working a treat. They've got a nice comfortable gap back to Willoughby, but Willoughby has not got a nice comfortable back to Heaton, who was just 0.86 when they went over the line, and I predict he's going to be right with him now.
I know you said about being patient and just settling down, but I don't think Elwood wants to settle down at all. He's all over the rear of Senior as they head now into the forest section. Really tidy by the two of them as they go through those chicanes. Heaton is right on the tail now of Willoughby also. Those two neck and neck probably as they emerge from the forest onto the pit straight. But for now, our eyes are on Senior and Elwood. Maybe we might even see a move on this occasion, Chris, on the pit straight. Let's watch it unfold. Willoughby on our screens currently with Heaton and Haynes chasing him now. But there we go, out on the pit straight. We can see it from commentary. Is it going to happen in the first corner? No, it's not. Elwood settles down behind Senior, and it is most likely going to happen exactly where it's done before.
It will do indeed. This is the battle. This is the real battle. The one for third place. Heaton really does want to get past, and he wants to see whether he can come across the gap. And the reason that Elwood and Senior are working together to try and generate that gap is because they know Heaton's coming, and they definitely don't want him coming to join in the fun. They will do that swapperoo again as you watch Elwood get that. You can see the slingshot effect as they go up the hill, because the hill also adds to the more important than the air being pushed out of the way in front of the car in front. So yeah, it just happens every single time, and they're not fighting it. By the when we get that clock there, when it says 5 instead of that 9, no longer will they just let that car go past. They will fight it.
We must really praise them as well, though. I mean, it's fantastically close racing from Harry Senior and Jamie Elwood. Elwood at the moment now back out in front, but the skill level that these two drivers have at their disposal to be able to race this closely and swap positions just freely like that every single lap, it's fantastic to see.
It's brilliant, and Caterham racers are some of the best at knowing the distance between each wheel. They will get millimetres apart from each other, knowing exactly how long their car is and what they need to do. And yeah, so we race these cars in and out for many decades, and these two here have been racing. Elwood's been racing for probably multiple decades by now, and Harry Senior has been here at the front of the field for many seasons, so they know exactly what these cars are capable of. They know exactly the distance between their front wheels and the rear panel of the cars behind. But here it is. Heaton has got ahead then into that third place. It's fought all the way back from, what was it, 7th or 8th, now into that third place. Can he do anything in the last 8 minutes? About a 5-second gap across the line.
Well, never say never to a former Caterham Academy Championship winner. Sorry, Chris, I shouldn't keep bringing that up. I do apologise. But look, anything's possible with Henry Heaton at the wheel as he flies up through coppice, chasing down Senior and Elwood, who currently are the designated front runners of this race. No one has been close to matching their pace, but maybe, just maybe, Heaton might be, and also Willoughby might be brought into the equation. He was a front runner right at the start, and maybe he can follow Heaton's lines over the coming laps. I say that though, the whole time Horton is chasing him down, and Thomas Horton is going to look for a move down the inside at par, and he makes the move stick. Thomas Horton has taken the position from Matthew Willoughby, and he will claim it and confirm it going round Chris Kerr.
Yeah, let's see whether Willoughby can do anything about that. He's toppled from 3rd now down into 5th. It's not where you want to be. We see these lead pair, and they are now ahead. There's that Heaton car. Jaws music start playing. Let's see whether he can get those fastest laps. A little bit of a stab by you there. Keep mentioning that Heaton thing. You know, I'm logging these as a racing driver. We never get one of the cars out onto the grass there. Who's that? Is that Heaton? Heaton lost his position, pushing a little bit too hard to try and close that gap. Heaton's now lost those 2 positions he just fought for the last 10 minutes to try and get.
And just to let everyone know at home, you have got a massive smile on your face as a result of that happening. So just as you mentioned your championship, you mentioned your old championship rival making a mistake, and it has cost him as well, because it means that Heaton will drop below Willoughby and Horton. Horton has obviously claimed that place from Willoughby, who was running so well. But Thomas Horton, with a really brave move, diving down the inside of par, he is the man who will come in to take 3rd position as it currently stands. And you'll see the timings on the left-hand side of your screen update, and you can see it there with your very own eyes in front of you. Heaton has dropped back.
Elwood, for the record, is still out in front ahead of Senior, but again, we're still not down to that 5 minutes yet. Horton, though, they're taking that third place, so he's the one now leapfrogging. Every single lap through this third, fourth and fifth has just changed. Heaton seeing whether he can do anything about getting past before this race is over. Hayes dropping away a little bit, but he's trying to haul himself back in. And then McCall, Maud, Witten, Denman making up the top 10.
6 minutes left to go now in this race at Cadwell Park. We are entering the final stages, the crucial crunch moments of this race.
Bit of a gap there, a little bit of a gap between, and that's Harry Senior won't want that. That gap is actually breaking over. I don't think it's terminal yet, but Harry Senior will not be happy to see that right at this stage.
And there's a huge gap between the two of them and those who are following in behind. Thomas Horton is currently in third place, but 7 seconds behind the front two as we see them fly past us in commentary and head towards the forest section of this circuit and the Hall Bend.
Yeah, that gap is, if I was in Harry Senior's seat, I would not be happy. That gap has gone out too much to allow me just to comfortably sit in that slipstream. It's the slipstream still happens, and I don't think it's terminal, but he won't want that gap getting any bigger than that before Elwood is trying. As you can bet Elwood is absolutely foot to the floor everywhere he can. He's going to be taking risks right now.
Both of them touched the grass as they were coming out of that final turn at Barn, and look, it's paid off at the most
He's
for
trying to
Jamie
shake
Elwood.
The slipstream as well. You saw him pull to the inside.
He was really trying to do everything to put Harry Senior off that, and it's paid off because he had the advantage going through Coppice. Tom Horton still in that third place position, but he has got Henry Heaton bearing down on him. Jaws music playing, obviously.
Willoughby's dropped another place there behind Hayes, so Heaton got back in front and has caused Willoughby to drop to 6th place now.
Racing drama from start to end here at Cadwell Park. And you can see just how close the battle is for third towards the top of your screen, and sixth, I should say, towards the back end of your screen with Willoughby as well.
Heaton closing back in on Horton as they go up. He wants that trophy, doesn't he? He wants to take that podium position, and why not, eh? He's not going to be scoring points today. He's a guest in this championship, but he certainly wants to take home those trophies, and it's looking likely. There you go, the gap has come down. Harry Senior can breathe a sigh of relief. The absolute pressure from Elwood there has not paid off, and we are coming into that final 4 minutes. Remember what I said, any battling we see now is no longer a give me, take me. It's all going to be fight, fight, fight.
And they are indeed fighting as they head into the Hall Bends neck and neck with one another. Slightly wider and a slightly loose back end there from Jamie Elwood. Let's see how that affects him throughout the rest of that section. And somehow Thomas Horton is still keeping Henry Heaton at bay. I'm not sure how long that will last for. We'll see as they emerge from the final corner at Barn whether that has been able to be subdued. But there you can see him keeping it at bay, and we see the two leading cars as well go and take the timing beacon as well. Elwood still ahead of Harry Senior. Will we potentially see a last lap move from Harry Senior?
It's very possible. This is the penultimate lap, 3 minutes 20 to go as they went across the line, roughly speaking that time. They'll have this one and then the last one to go, and this time we'll probably see Elwood protect the as he goes up into park. He won't want Senior comfortably coming through. He's certainly going to make him work a little bit harder. Here they go then. Can his Senior do anything, or is he going to sit there? He might be happy to sit there until the last lap, knowing that actually he wants to take that move and make it stick on that last lap. And there's all this, it's a chess game out there. It's like, you know, a chess game at 120 miles an hour in these cars, and yeah, there's a lot of game theory goes on in the minds of these racers.
It's the first time you mentioned speed, actually. It's probably good that we should, because the speed that these guys are racing at on this circuit right now is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's dried out so much, and it makes such a big difference, doesn't it? Like I say, these cars can get up to about 125 miles an hour at the end of the straights. Maybe not up this steep straight that we're doing here, but they generate more of their speed through the corners, and as the corners are dried out, so the pace of these cars has rocketed up there in the 136s. Remember when we were watching Academy earlier on, they were in the 210s when they started their race.
Jamie Elwood has got Harry Senior for company as they head through into the Hall Bends once more, coming up to that very tight hairpin turn as well. And who's going to emerge ahead? in that battle. It is Elwood who's managing to keep Senior at bay, but Senior might actually get a slipstream on the pit straight. So will he take the position on the pit straight? Let's have a look. He's got the slipstream. He's on the back of Jamie Elwood. He's looking to try and go around the outside, but Elwood has got the door firmly closed. He dives back around to the outside, then take that racing line through Coppice.
He didn't want it, Harry. He wanted to sit behind him. He just sat there. He's waiting for this move. This is the final lap they've gone into now. In fact, is it going to be the final lap with a 1:36? No, they've got another lap to do. Such as the time speed up that we've had, I think that may well not be the final lap of the race. But here we go. Harry Senior seeing it look side by side. Elwood lifted off the throttle to let Senior go through. Did he lift off too much? He wants to be in that second place coming into this last lap.
Does he know what he's doing? You said it's a game of chess. You said it's a game of poker. Has he played his cards too early? That's the question that Jamie Elwood will now be asking himself, because that is a significant gap between himself and Harry Senior. And is that a mistake from what was the leading Caterham?
Let's figure this out. If they get to that line and the checkered flag shown, then it was definitely a mistake. If he doesn't, and it looks like he's got it all under control as they go down to Mansfield, clearly he wasn't shown the final lap board as they went over the line, so he's thinking, I've got one more lap to go. He wants to be in that second place. He's put himself there, and he did it by easing off the throttle. Harry Senior didn't really know what to do, so he had to capitulate, let him go. He got his foot down, but I don't know if it's enough. Elwood's in the prime spot right now.
Yeah, they're catching up to back markers as well, so on the final lap of the race, that will definitely have a part to play as they head through into that forest section. Once more neck and neck, racing with each other. 30 seconds left to go in the race now. They will take another lap in this race. So clearly, this is a tactic play in heaven for Jamie Elwood right now. Blue flags will surely be waved to those back markers to get out of the way of the front two, because they won't want anything ruining that final lap of racing that we're about to experience. Elwood all over the back of Senior as they start to head up through Coppice, and they have got those back markers right in the way.
Cat amongst the pigeons. That's Downing and Appleton having their own battle. They do pull out the way, or certainly Appleton does. Downing still in blocking. That's going to throw the cat amongst pigeons. Harry Senior is ahead of Jamie Elwood then as they head out. Jamie Elwood though is in the prime spot. Can he work the timing? He uses Downing's slipstream. He uses Harry Senior. Harry Senior trying to get rid of that slipstream. Elwood going to go around the outside. He's going to have to do it the long way. Can he make it stick?
Has the back marker ruined Jamie Elwood's plan? He's got to go round the outside of Senior. He just about squeezes Harry Senior around that park corner, and he's heading through the Chris curve as the new leader of the race on the final lap of the race as well. This is an unbelievable drive from Jamie Elwood. We saw him forfeit the race lead on the last lap, and now he's taken the lead back on this occasion, and if he can make it stick for the remainder of the circuit, he will take the checkered flag ahead of Harry Senior.
Those back markers nearly cost Elwood that. He would have been unsure that he was going to make it. He just squeezed through. We haven't seen any overtaking in these final bits of the lap, but maybe Harry Senior can prove us wrong. But at the moment, as we watch the mountain leap to see who's going to come over here, it is Elwood. There really isn't room to overtake as they head through Hall Bends, and Elwood, I think, played a blinder that time.
It's all or nothing now for Harry Senior. Potentially his last opportunity is to get that slingshot effect around the final turn coming out of Barn, but they're heading down into the hairpin. We've lost them from our pictures at the moment, but I'm sure we'll pick them up very soon to see who on earth will come onto the pit straight first. It's Jamie Elwood. Jamie Elwood is going down the pit straight now. Harry Senior very close behind, but Elwood will take the checkered flag ahead of Senior. What an unbelievable race from these two drivers, and it looks as though Henry Heaton might just about beat Thomas Horton to the line, and he does by tenths of a second beat Thomas Horton to it. A brilliant race as well from Max Haynes to go from 7th up to 5th ahead of a very competitive front-running field. And of course Willoughby comes in shortly behind. Willoughby will be disappointed that he wasn't further up and battling with those two at the front. But Chris Hutchinson, what a race!
Yeah, brilliant stuff, wasn't it, from these grads, the 150. And the best thing is we've got the 310s, which is more of the same coming up in just a few minutes' time. But what a race by Elwood, really chess out there, just got the better of Senior, but like I said, he would have been thinking that he wasn't having it all his own way. With those back markers came to play, and nearly cost Heaton his third place there. He got that third couple of laps from the end, and the back markers really cost him, and he only crossed the line 0.14 ahead of Horton, and Haynes coming through. Yeah, what a breathless race. Well done, everybody.
Talk about a breathless race. I think you and I just sound like we've run a marathon, not just stood still and watched a bunch of Caterham's race.
I'm not built for marathon racing anymore, so yeah, absolutely. But Yeah, what a race, and I'd say it's great. We're going to see more of these cars tomorrow, so a couple more races for them as we see the bodywork hanging around out there. I'm not sure that one's going to be usable condition anymore as the marshals will take it back.
Well, I for one cannot wait for the racing to happen tomorrow and for more of the same action. So here we go, confirmation on how the race ends. Jamie Elwood takes the victory. Harry Senior very close behind him as well, just 6/10 separating the two drivers. And Henry Heaton, who did start on pole and dropped all the way back down to about 8th position on the grid as they were going around that first lap. An awful start really from him. He came all the way back through as a guest driver to finish on the podium. And it's worth saying as well that Jamie Elwood has achieved the fastest lap of the race, a 1:36.7. He did set that quite early on, but he was still able to take it nonetheless. Well, let's head down now to Parc Fermé to see if we can catch up with some of the drivers after what has been the most exhilarating race of the day so far. And we've still got one more to come, so don't go anywhere after we've heard from our brilliant drivers.
Well, what a race that was. The two drivers behind me there, your winner, Jamie Elwood, Harry Senior as well, working together at the front, pulling away from the rest of the field. And you can see the joy there on Jamie Elwood's face as he gets out of the car. Jamie, we're going to come and speak to you. Harry, if you want to come over as well, you worked together at the front for most of the race. We might as well have both of you together when we do this post-race interview. You can see that there. We'll start with you, Jamie, crossing the line first, but that was a heck of a battle.
Yeah, this was a replay of, I think it was it 2020 when I had my first race against Harry in real life? And yeah, it was just a matter of working together to get away. And then we both knew that the last lap, you did not want to be leading onto that back straight up the hill. So we had a little play around. I thought Harry had got it because he got a re-slipstream off a back marker. And I thought, I haven't quite got this, but I just had the overlap on the turning. So yeah, brought it home.
Just managed to get there, Harry. So close in the end there, but like you said, that's where it comes down to that final lap. But both of you out there giving it absolutely everything.
Yeah. For the whole time, just spent pretty much the second, third of the race just sat behind Jamie, building a gap to the guys behind, and then right at the end we had some back markers, and the one in front of me as we came onto Park Straight decided he'd be very kind and not really put his foot down and pull off to the side, and I was really just kind of hoping he would send it up with us and get in the way a little bit more and block Jamie. But no, we ended up side by side quite close into Park, I think it is, at the end of the straight, and Jamie just on the outside flew round me. So and then from that point onwards I knew that was very slim chance of getting back in front, so fair play to him.
Fair play. She's only 0.41 in it as you both crossed the line. Just a final one coming back, that sets it up nicely for tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yeah, sets it up for tomorrow. First race, second race I've got a bit to do from 9, so yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Well, if anything is like the racing we've seen out there today, then we know tomorrow is going to be another brilliant couple of races. We're going to go back to commentary. James, Chris, back over to you.
Oh my goodness, I've not even had a moment to catch my breath, Chris. That was, oh my goodness, that was unbelievable what we just witnessed. But you have assured me that what we are about to witness could be even spicier.
Yes, certainly this is, I've been following this battle all through the year, and it's absolutely spicy is the right word for it. And Taylor O'Flanagan there putting it onto that pole position, but it's the battle out front has been fiercely fought between our drivers. Right forms on the screen, but yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. As this track, and you can see it in front of us visibly drying. Even the offline bits are now drying out, except for through the middle of the hall bends at the end of the lap. That's going to lead to some even more exciting racing. Can we get more exciting? Yes, we can, because I think that lead battle, instead of being a battle for 2 drivers, I think we're going to see a battle for 4, maybe 5 of these drivers at least getting involved. But can they get off the line? That's been the sort of Achilles heel of all the people on the left-hand side of the track, and Taylor O'Flanagan in the yellow car there, Harry Cook and Hugo Bush are in the incorrect place to actually make spaces up, and they've been our sort of championship as a protagonist. So I think it's Lars Hoffman nearest stuff. He's going to be smiling like a Cheshire Cat to be on the right side of the track.
Well, let's take a look at how they line up in this race. It is Taylor O'Flanagan and Tom Willis on the very front row, Harry Cook and Lars Hoffman just behind them in row 2. Hugo Bush and Philip Bianchi not too far behind in terms of the pace. Bush is still on the 136s. Bianchi only just about in those 137 paces. The front runners definitely well within those 136s in terms of their pace. William Wood and Alex Vincent towards the back of that first group of cars, but there are more behind them. Multiple pages for all of our championships have been racing here this weekend. Duncan Mallard at the front of this group with the 138.9, and then we creep into the 139s indeed with Harry Eyre and Steve Lancaster just behind them. Christopher Welch as well, and then Ronald Mounsey rounds off the grid.
Yeah, just mentioning there, Chris Welch is Bri Welch is one of our photographers, and Chris is her dad, and she's been doing the 3 Picks Challenge in aid of charity, raising good money for that. Let me just get that charity name. I should have had it on my screen already. But yeah, so that's for Abigail's Footsteps, and yeah, if you can go to Abigail's Footsteps and type in a donation, it'll be much appreciated. But some fantastic work that charity does, and it's really important stuff. It was a stillbirth charity, and it's affected their family in particular. I know they wanted to say if we could head over to those websites and raise some cash. So we watch a very damaged car there. That's Max Haynes' car, isn't it? Being taken back. But yeah, if we could get on there, that'd be brilliant. That would be good to see. And thanks very much to Bri Welch and all her work in the paddock taking photos. John Bryant out there on the banks as well. It's a real family affair, and we'll just clear this car away before we get this Motul sponsored 7-310R Championship race underway. The first of 3 races for them to this weekend, 20 minutes apiece, and I can't wait.
I can't wait, Chris. I genuinely can't. But I just plug that website for us one more time so people know where to go to make a donation.
Google Abigail's Footsteps, please, and yeah, you'll go to that site, and please, any donation is gratefully received.
Every little helps. So yes, thank you to everyone who's going to be going to that website, Abigail's Footsteps, and making a donation. I, for one, will be this evening as I trundle back to my hotel. Obviously, Chris, as you head towards that luxury mansion they've put you up in this evening, I'm sure you could probably do the same. And the butler will be ringing his bell soon, actually, to chauffeur you back.
Indeed,
back
I'm waiting for the helicopter to arrive as
full Bruce Wayne style, I see. Very nice.
Indeed.
I wonder why they've blocked off so much of the car park. It's because it's for your Air Force One. I forgot about that. Anyway, so the cars are still lined up on the pit straight because we're having to clear off a lot of debris from the previous race, as we've already alluded to. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of bumping, a lot of shoulder rubbing, really, in that race, and a lot of action to enjoy with it. But inevitably, parts will fly off. So there's a little bit of a delay to the beginning of this next one, and you can see the course car going around at the moment, helping the marshals tidy everything up. Of course, everyone down there on the grid right now won't want to be sat there for too long because these cars can cool down very quickly in these conditions, Chris.
They've got their green flag. I think they'll be quite comfortable at the moment, just waiting for that. You never like to be sat around, though. It's really, you've got the adrenaline, you want to get going, and so it can be frustrating as a driver. Hugo Bush coming in as our championship leader over Harry Cook, but Bush finds himself down in 5th place after qualifying, so a bit of work to do, and on the wrong side of the track as well, so double whammy there. Taylor O'Flanagan, Lars Hoffman and Harry Cook are the other people sort of fighting in that championship right at the head of the field, and they're all up the front of this grid, which is why I think it's going to be a tasty race. And it's Tom Willis injecting himself in there as well, our kind of guest driver. We've seen him earlier in the graduates racing as well, so I think Tom Willis is out there doing multiple stints, so good for him. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what they're doing as they do pull away then onto their green flag lap. Time to get temperature into the tyres, time to get temperature into the brakes, time to figure out what the conditions are like out on this 2.2 mile circuit around the Cadwell Park, and looking forward to seeing how they do it. The 150 horsepower under their right foot, around we said earlier, limited slip differential, the big differentiator, but a bit more revs as well to play with. A really capable car that I won a championship with it in 2018, so a car that I'm very, very fond of, and watching these guys, seeing who's going to be the champion this year. And it's looking like Hugo Bush has got it all to do from 5th place of the grid this time out.
Well, there you go. Plenty to look forward to in this race, and I'll bring it up for you again as we see him putting temperature in his tyres. O'Flanagan was desperate to do an aggressive practice start there, Chris, because every single race the pole position has not been the position to start from. And I wonder whether we might see an argument, a case made overnight to the BARC organisers that can we switch things over? Can we move it to the other side for tomorrow? Because it's very unfair.
Unfortunately, it's a circuit-defined regulation that, you know, the circuit is licensed to have whichever side the pole position, and for mostly when it's dry conditions, you do want to be on that right-hand side. You want, the left-hand side, because you want out the inside into Charlie's. It just so happens you can see even from our pit point here, still a division of colour between this nearest bit and that far side of the track. Like you say, he tried his best to do that wheel spin to get it as much dried out as he can, but I don't think you're going to affect it, and I think the right-hand side of the track is going to have significant advantage again as they go into turn 1.
So we've got to keep our eyes on Willis at the very start then in the number 81, the nice shiny silver Caterham. Harry Cook is on the wrong side behind him, but Hoffman is the other one on the right side of the track, the good side of the track. Lars Hoffman, he'll appear on the left-hand side of your screen, sorry, not the right. It's the right side to be on, but it's the left side of your screen. It's not going to get confusing, don't worry, Chris. As we see them heading off into that forest section on their green flag lap, just getting comfortable with the way that their Caterhams are feeling ahead of this. The final race of the day. And then Chris will head back to Wayne Manor and I'll pack my bags and go off to my Premier Inn.
Quite a few of our drivers out there all stuck on 2 race wins over, they could say 3 races per weekend. You get a lot of opportunities, and yeah, Harry Cook and who else? Hugo Bush, Lars Hoffman, all on 2 wins, as is Tom Willis. So Tom Willis also, as a guest driver, still doing all he needs to do, and he's on the plum side of this track. Can he be the first driver to make it 3 wins? Everyone else is going to be out there to try and stop them. Let's see how they get off this line. 15 of these cars out here today as they just pull up into their grid boxes, making sure they're in all the right places. Remember how slow it was for the Academy to find them? Well, these guys are 4 years, at minimum 4 years into their racing careers. They know what they're doing by now, and everything happens a little bit quicker.
Well, 200ths of a second separated O'Flanagan and Willis in qualifying, and 2 metres separates them currently on the grid that they've lined up in. All of our cars are slotting into position, ready to get going here at Cadwell Park for one last time here on Saturday. The final round of racing to enjoy today. The 5-second board is out, the lights are up, and they're off. We are racing once more, and again it's a brilliant start from second place for Willis, but O'Flanagan is staying with him as they head towards Coppice. O'Flanagan actually slots in behind Willis as they head up the long left-hander going up the hill. There's a lot of jostling for positions going on there, but they have made it through cleanly. That's the main thing, Chris.
Yeah, but it was that right side of the track. Tom Willis does take that. So Duncan Mallet taking to the grass to see whether he could do anything about it further back in the field, but he had to back out of that. I think he had an accident in qualifying, which is why he finds himself further back. Tom Willis heads the field then over Taylor O'Flanagan, going to the outside.
O'Flanagan's going for it. He's going for it. It's Hoffman that's gone off onto the grass. He's got way too much of it. He's going to lose a lot of time now, slipping down the leaderboard. But O'Flanagan has taken back the lead of this race from Willis, who got the better of him at the start. And we see that the focus on our screen was Murgatroyd in the lovely blue car.
So as we watch the field then of these 3 turners, Chris Welch there just tailing the field right now, but he'll be doing that. Taylor Flanagan does end up in front then, like I said, Lars Hoffman flopping down a little bit, but it is Willis in that second place as they sort of go single file this time through. But you can see how dry it is now out on track through this bit of the track. Taylor Flanagan has now converted his pole position up. A little bit of a puff of smoke there, weirdly, from what looked like Harry Cook. I wonder what that was. Let's see, keep an eye on that just to check it wasn't anything too severe, but Taylor Flanagan's going to take them over the mountain for the first time this time. Tom Willis in second, Harry Cook in third.
It means that for the first time so far this weekend, the grid as they started is going to complete the first lap, because O'Flanagan is still in the lead. Willis is just behind him. Cook is third, and Hoffman, despite his best efforts down the park straight, has dropped all the way back down to fourth from second in that first corner.
He's lost in another place now to Hugo Bush. Hugo Bush has moved in front of him. Hoffman getting onto that grass, found out there is absolutely no grip to overtake on the grass. As Taylor Flanagan and Tom Willis looking to go side by side. Nope, they're going to go line astern, taking it. They're going to be viewing in their review mirror. There's a gap back to Hugo Bush, and they want to see Hugo Bush disappearing backwards as quickly as they can.
Well, we saw it happen throughout the whole of the last race as well. They will definitely be switching positions on the park straight now as they approach it. O'Flanagan, yes, is in the lead, but Willis is going to get that lovely toe from the slipstream as they go up the hill, and it makes all of the difference difference, but keep your eyes on Harry Cook because he might go around all of them. Cook is going around the outside of them, heading down into the corner. Will he be the bravest on the brakes? He will. Cook takes the lead of the race. Willis just behind him as well, and it means that O'Flanagan has dropped all the way back to third after leading going into that corner.
Hoffman did get back in front, but Wout's got the super toe, we'll call that. He got the toe from the two cars in front of him. He has cut the momentum all the way to the outside. What a move by Cook, really brave as well. Hugo Bush, though, is back behind Lars Hoffman now, and Murgatroyd follows them down as well as Lovett, so it's not too far away from the top 6. No mistakes, otherwise you're going to be pushed out that line.
There we go then, watching Harry Cook take the lead of this race with Tom Willis shortly behind him as well, and unfortunately Taylor O'Flanagan has dropped a little bit of time from the front 2 leaders. Let's see how they emerge from the little twisty uphill section. They do come very tightly packed all together. Really good work from Hoffman to stay in the fight as well after what's been a tricky start for the number 70.
Yeah, absolutely. O'Flanagan losing those 2 places, but I think they'll all have a bit of a smile on their faces. That was certainly dramatic going up into there as we watch Arriere sort of trailing back. So all these drivers, remember, very experienced, which is why we're seeing them sticking together a lot closer, trying to shake the toe Cook now as he comes down to the line, but it's not going to work. Willis has got the momentum, but does he want it as he goes into turn 1? He's going to try the outside line.
He's taking it on the outside. Willis has overtaken Harry Cook up through Coppice, and I'm sure we'll be able to see a better view of it. There we go, confirmation. Tom Willis is ahead of him after that very, very risky move going around the outside. Great racing from these guys out front, but it also pulls Taylor O'Flanagan back into the mix, and he's got Hoffman with him, but because they're so close and they're so astern, it means that they're going to have a great tow running round into the park corner. Oh, Harry Cook almost making contact but ducking out the way of Willis, and Harry Cook will retake the lead, and Hoffman might go round the outside of Willis. Is there enough room for all of those Caterhams? No, Hoffman has to go off the track, but he doesn't make contact coming back on with O'Flanagan.
Yeah, it was a risky manoeuvre to try and keep your footing around the outside there, and I think he had to pay for that. He got squeezed onto the grass that time through. Tom Willis, you could see how little speed he had at the top of that hill as the others were just in his... And Harry surprised Harry Cook as well as he jinked out to avoid crashing into the back of him, but he finds himself back in that lead. Taylor O'Flanagan's been in that 3rd place for a few corners now. Hoffman now still seeing what he can do, but he keeps putting his car in just about the wrong place at the wrong time, doesn't he? One time he's going to get it right, and he will make that position up.
I'm really enjoying just how tightly packed these 5 front cars are, all of them neck and neck with each other, and just about hanging on as well is Murgatroyd in that lovely green Caterham, just coming in behind them as well, and they're disappearing off through the Hall bends, and obviously they'll then go through the hairpin and barn, but let's see how they emerge onto the pit straight as we get another lovely focus.
That's Lovett just going through there as it is Harry Cook then coming down. Tom Willis in 2nd place, O'Flanagan and Hoffman. So it is as we were as we went into Hall bends. It's even drying out through Hall bends now, so they've got even more track to play with as the less and less of these puddles and damp patches exist, and they're going to be drying out. The clouds are looking pretty grey though. I wonder whether we're going to get a drizzle before the end of this race. But Harry Cook doesn't want that right now. He's got a clean pair of heels over Tom Willis. Watch Tom Willis's car though close in on this toe. Here he goes.
Here we go, going down the park straight. Willis is right in behind Cook. Willis has got the speed and he's got the advantage. He's gone right around the outside of Cook. He'll take the lead now from Harry Cook, and O'Flanagan looking down the inside of Hoffman, but Hoffman covers him off. He'll keep a hold of 3rd place, and they slot 1, 2, 3, 4 behind each other within the space of a second. This is electrifying racing at the moment.
Yeah, Hugo Bush has not come to figure at the moment. He's still in that 5th place with Murgatroyd just behind him, but he'll be looking to see. Maybe just doesn't quite have the pace this weekend. Certainly drifting away a little bit, just nothing fatal at the moment, but Lovett certainly is. So it's definitely a battle for this top 6, isn't it? Lovett in that 7th place, just drifting away slightly, but what a battle for 6 places this is. Can Murgatroyd and Bush get it right involved again?
Harry Cook is certainly keeping Tom Willis honest, because he's looking down the inside, he's looking down the outside. He's just making sure that he knows that he's there at the end of the day, I think, as they head through those horn bends once more. Brilliant driving from all those involved, because they kept those cars nice and tidy through what is a very tricky section of the track.
Yeah, it really is. They're motorway speeds through there, would you believe, when it's dry. They're going about 70 miles an hour as they turn left to right. Can you imagine doing that in your regular road car?
No.
As these Caterhams
scream
around and out and down across the line. Tom Willis having a little bit of a gap now over Cook. Not too much though, but it's Hoffman up into that 3rd place, having dispatched with Taylor O'Flanagan. Hugo Bush is coming back to figure again as they all head off round Charlie's again.
There we go, up through Coppice and around Charlie's. They go nice and tidy, nice and clean. Now here we go, the interesting the interesting racing part of the circuit. Park straight, here they go, 1, 2, 3, 4, all in tow of each other. Harry Cook going around Tom Willis with ease as they head down towards Park Corner, but will Willis potentially make a move? No, he's decided to slot back in very nicely with Hoffman chasing down on him as well. O'Flanagan right on the back of Lars Hoffman as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, they head through the Chris curve as well. This will not be the last time we see the front four exchange positions.
And they don't have the luxury of being able to just work with each other at the moment. There's too many cars involved, too many variables, so they really are going to be fighting for each of these places each time it happens, and it's not going to be a comfortable race for any of these top six as they head around. Harry Cook, though, has been the majority of time in front, but we have figured out earlier on today that you don't want to be in front at this stage, you want to be in front on the last lap. That's the only one that counts for paying.
And here they go up through the uphill chicane coming towards the mountain section. Oh, a little bit of a mistake there by Willis. It's allowed Hoffman to go through as well, just as he was coming out the top of the hill. Tom Willis got a little bit too sideways. The back end went out from an event. The last Hoffman came through. And again, it allows Taylor O'Flanagan to be thrown right back into the mix. And all of a sudden, Tom Willis would have gone from challenging for first to falling all the way back for fourth, maybe.
I was just about to say that they are starting. They're going quick enough around the mountain now to take some proper air. And Willis's car was just slightly sideways as it took off. It gave him a monumental wiggle, which then meant that Hoffman was in the right place at the right time finally, and he's moved up those couple of places, finds his Motul sponsored Caterham in that second position now. Harry Cook, though, still firmly in that lead as the rest of them play around with each other. He's seeing whether he can put off into the distance.
Here they go through Charlie's, and that front four pack are staying very close to each other. Hoffman the leader as they're starting to fall back a little bit from the main leader, Harry Cook. Oh, that's a poor choice from Tom Willis, trying to go around the outside. He's taken way too much grass. He's lost a lot of time. Taylor O'Flanagan easily slotting into third place behind Hoffman and behind Cook. And the big loser there, unfortunately, on Park Straight on that occasion is Tom Willis.
As soon as you get the wheels on that grass, there is no traction to be able to pull the car back onto the tarmac, and we've seen both people trying just to that inside line, not working. Harry Cook is getting that slightly bigger gap each time. It's certainly not a sufficient gap yet, and Hoffman will be looking at that, but while Hoffman's having to look in his mirrors, it's now Taylor O'Flanagan, the yellow car he sees there, who's fighting back.
He's got to be careful he doesn't fall into the clutches of Hugo Bush as well, because the next time round they go onto the long straight, Bush will suddenly have the toe of Tom Willis, and Tom Willis will be at danger of falling even further back. But for the moment, it's Cook, Hoffman, O'Flanagan, Willis and Bush as they head into the forest section through the Hall bends and towards that tight hairpin turn.
And we're only just about at the halfway mark, so everything we've done, we can do it all again. And lots of it, and long may that continue as Cook comes down here. This is all drying out nicely as well. You can see how the tarmac colour there is now the right colour rather than that damp colour, and it means that they are really able to fling these Caterhams 155 horsepower as they head down, 310 per tonne as these little pocket rockets heading around this Cadwell Park, which they're really suited to. But it's Hoffman losing just a little bit to Cook. Cook is going to be desperately pedalling as hard as he can to try and shake that toe, and he's succeeding at the moment. It looks like it's going to be O'Flanagan fighting Hoffman rather than Hoffman fighting Cook.
Here we go then, heading down and up Park Straight. Taking the lead of this secondary pack at the moment is Lars Hoffman, but he has got Taylor O'Flanagan. He looked left, he looked right, he stuck it down the left-hand side, heading towards the tight park turn. Is he going to outbreak his competition? He will. It means Taylor O'Flanagan slots into second place, Lars Hoffman settles for third, and Tom Willis is still staying in with the fight. He might come into play in a couple of laps' time, maybe even the next lap as well. His race is not over, and it's all to play for the rest of the podium places, but Harry Cook is looking very confident out in front.
Yeah, I think that could still all change, and Tom Willis has taken a whole lap to try and clean off and recoup after getting onto the grass. Taylor O'Flanagan wide out of Mansfield then manages to find some grip on the grass out there, didn't he? Managed to keep that position, but that's all Harry Cook wants to see. He wants to see this happening in his rearview mirror.
It might open the door for Lars Hoffman as well. He was all over the back of Taylor O'Flanagan. We've seen an overtake already in this section, but he decides to stay behind him to bide his time, use his patience, and potentially overtake at a more comfortable point of the track. But what's fantastic to see, Chris, is that first through to fifth is separated by no more than a couple of seconds.
Yeah, they've been this far apart for the whole race, haven't they? Closer probably than they have been on the grid. Here comes Hugo Bush though, so while he may not have that ultimate pace, while they're all battling each other, he is able to get into that slipstream, cling on in there, and that's all he needs to do up until the last 5 minutes of this race. Taylor O'Flanagan though looking to see whether he can hunt down Cook, Cook is still able, each lap he's pulled out maybe a 10th each lap, and he's now got that gap up to a second. Still not enough to shake the toe, unfortunately, in these Caterhams, but he will be happier with the direction of travel right now.
Here comes the infamous Park Straight section once more, and Tom Willis is all over the back of Lars Hoffman. Is he going to be able to get the toe as they head up the hill towards the park turn? He's looking all over the back of the Motul sponsored Caterham. He's going to make a move down the inside. He's got too much grass. Has he lost a lot of pace by doing so? He has. He hasn't. He has. He's going to have to settle behind Lars Hoffman as they head round the Chris curve. And Taylor O'Flanagan still leads that secondary pack, but again, it provides the advantage for Harry Cook to build even more of a lead and to maybe settle into the closing stages of this race.
It was like Schrodinger's cat there for a bit, wasn't he? Had he passed, hadn't he? He'd done both all at once as they come down the hill into Mansfield, but that grassy track is not making a good use of that overtake, and he has going to have to commit to the outside. Hugo Bush wide again around that corner, but again,
he's giving it everything.
Good finding, good speed on the grass there, so he'll keep that in mind for later in the rack, but his track limits infringement, so he doesn't want to do it too many times, other than the marshal will call him up as they launch themselves then now over the mountain. You can see the car bumping up into the air, real air between the tyres and the tarmac as they fling these cars through the Hall bends. There is Hugo Bush. Can he do anything? Our championship leader, don't forget, but has started in 5th, is still in 5th, not making the progress he wants to. Harry Cook, though, is making that progress over Taylor O'Flanagan.
Lars Hoffman got very out of shape coming up the hill towards the mountain section of the circuit. He lost a little bit of time there, but for some reason, or somehow, probably through the amazing ability of himself through the forest section, he stayed right on the back of Taylor O'Flanagan. Harry Cook has built up a significant lead that we've already mentioned, but it's O'Flanagan, then Hoffman, then Willis, then Bush. They are neck and neck with each other, and I'm sure as they head round the Charlies section of the circuit and down towards the Park Straight, we're going to see some juicy overtaking. Here we go now. Tom Willis on the back of Lars Hoffman, who's bearing down on Taylor O'Flanagan. Where are these Caterhams going to go? It decides Tom Willis is going to go around the outside, but he keeps touching the grass and losing time. Has Lars Hoffman made a dive? Oh, that's a late break and a lock-up from Tom Willis. He's still on the inside of Hoffman. There's a lot to do here for Hoffman to maintain his position. Tom Willis is staying with him as well. This action is brilliant going through the Chris curve. What on earth is going to happen between the two of them?
Oh, did they make it through? They didn't make it through. No, they did make it through. I did a Schrodinger's cat as well. They took a little while to come
Tom Willis has pulled off the overtake of the century. How he held on to that, I have no idea. In such treacherous, greasy conditions, it's allowed Taylor O'Flanagan to build up a bit of a gap between himself and the cars behind. So first and second has got a gap, second and third has got a little bit of a gap. But the action from third onwards continues to deliver, and at the moment it's Tom Willis leading that pack.
He'd had his wheaty biscuits for breakfast this morning, hadn't he? He was brave as you like round the outside there. So was Lars Hoffman. What fantastic action. Ended up costing them quite a lot of time, but let's not ignore that. It is Harry Cook looking. He's taken a great step up this year. Taylor O'Flanagan is not an easy person to beat, and he is currently showing him a few seconds, a few tenths per lap. Another 3/10 last lap. What is it going to be? The gap is bigger rather than smaller. Great job by Cook.
Well, the gap that all of a sudden existed between Taylor O'Flanagan and Tom Willis has been closed significantly by Willis, who's been chasing him down. Potentially not this lap, Chris, but the lap that follows, he might have that toe advantage going up Park Straight, and with only 5 minutes left in that race, that could be a significant moment.
He wanted that, didn't he? From that lock-up, which is not a comfortable place to be for any of those drivers, he managed to get it stopped and hauled up. He's going to close in already on O'Flanagan. You can see the extra speed, or the whoosh of speed you get from the toe going up that hill, right on the tail, like you say, ready for next lap, probably through there. And he showed how much he wanted it last time through. He is not a man to be trifled with. Taylor O'Flanagan is going to have seen that in his rearview mirror, and the speed at which he's closed across that gap as well. So he's going to be looking to see whether he can do anything to stop the relentless progress of Willis. Willis might be the only person that's going to be able to catch Cook, but with 4 minutes to go, I think Cook might have enough of a lead.
Harry Cook won't mind these two fighting each other. O'Flanagan and Willis keeping each other busy, keeping each other company, but also slowing them down in their pursuit of Harry Cook out front. So Cook will let that keep happening behind him. Only a gap of 1.6 seconds, and when they last took the timing beacon, it's probably slightly more than that at this stage as well. It is worth noting as well that still in the hunt for a podium finish is Lars Hoffman, who is currently the fastest man out on the circuit right now, 1:36 dead from the number 70 Caterham. Yes, he's dropped a position from where he started, but he is still a fast car that should be taken seriously. That's Hugo Bush there on the screen, also just behind him.
Look at Willis though, absolutely, you can't even see his car there as they come down towards the barn corner, this final corner. Hugo Bush has just not had the space today. He's going to have to see whether he can do anything about that tomorrow. He relies on them all battling, and he's not going to. But here comes Willis then, he's closing in. Taylor Flanagan protects to the inside. He doesn't want him going through just yet. but I think Willis, he'll be unable to stop him as they go up into the park bend this time.
Here we go. It's time for the drama, Chris. It's time for the action. They're heading towards the park straight, and what on earth is going to happen between O'Flanagan and Willis? Well, let's find out. There's O'Flanagan on your screen. Here comes Tom Willis just behind him. Has he got enough of a gap to negate the toe? No, he hasn't. Willis has got a little bit of a toe. Is it not? Is it enough to get round him? He might have to dive down the inside if he wants one. No, he settles in behind for yet another lap.
Saw Chris Welch's car off to the left-hand side in the barriers there, looking like it had been made quite a contact. And there were yellow flags, which is I think why Tom Willis had to get out the throttle there, just to placate that. Obviously the yellow flags mean that there's a danger out front and you should be prepared to stop, which is exactly what he did. But now he's closed that gap back down. Hopefully Chris Welch and his car is going to be all right. He'll certainly be out trying to be racing there tomorrow. Taylor O'Flanagan had a little bit of a respite there because of that yellow flag. But here comes Tom Willis then, seeing whether there's anything he can do this side of the track. We've not seen it yet, but he looks like he's the man to try.
You're never safe with Tom Willis right behind you in your rearview mirror, because he will overtake from anywhere on this circuit. No corner is too small for him to try and move down the inside or outside of as they head through into that tight, twisty section. Tyre screeching fills the air, Chris. You must be so happy to hear that now.
It's brilliant. We've had all sorts. I love the wet weather as well, but actually to have a variety of racing all throughout the day, fantastic stuff. So well organised there by the BAIC and Caterham Motorsport. Yeah, Harry Cook's still out in front there. Taylor O'Flanagan, calm as he liked when he was driving through this section, though. He's a wise head, many championships under his belt already. And Willis is going to look down the inside, then over that damp patch. Has he got enough grip? Had to get on the brakes, and he's going to just about make it.
He's on the inside, but O'Flanagan's been able to cover him off, but he will still have a toe advantage as they go down the park straight. Here we go, we're watching them now. Taylor O'Flanagan ahead of Tom Willis as they head down the hill, and then they'll head back up it again on that park straight section towards Park Corner. Tom Willis is all over the back of him. He's decided he's going to take the long way round. He wants to go round the outside, and round the outside he'll seemingly go. Tom Willis flies through into second place. He takes it from Taylor O'Flanagan. He's just about hanging on, and Taylor O'Flanagan will settle down in the third place, but we've probably got one more lap after this one, Chris. So we've got one more opportunity.
Penultimate lap, and that yellow flag zone does not stop them battling up into that park corner. They get a green flag by the time. I think there are wheels sort of hanging around the exit of the track, which is not really the clerk of the course really keeping this race going, and I think because he can see they're all paying attention to those yellow flags. Tom Willis, though, he is out front. He's putting a tiny gap over O'Flanagan. O'Flanagan's going to be clinging onto his coattails to see whether he can do anything about holding on to him as they go through those corners for the last time. Harry Cook managed this situation incredibly well, but they're going to be coming down to take the last lap flag now.
Well, there you go, you can see it on your screen. O'Flanagan has dropped behind Tom Willis as they head in towards the tight, twisty section, the difficult, tricky, skilled section of this circuit here at Cadwell Park. Through the forest trees, they start to emerge now onto the pit straight, and it is Cook who has the lead of this race at the moment. Harry Cook will take the timing beacon and start the last lap of this race. Shortly behind him is Tom Willis, and behind him, still very shortly behind indeed, is Taylor O'Flanagan. Here they go, heading up through Coppice now. Taylor O'Flanagan must be thinking, I've got to make a move now. I've got one more shot of finishing second and maybe making a late charge and surge through the first, however optimistic that might sound, Chris. But here they go, long looping right-hander now onto the park straight, and O'Flanagan is stuck to the back of Tom Willis like a Velcro patch. Here we go, Taylor O'Flanagan, he's creeping ever closer. He's going to dive around the outside of Tom Willis now, but Willis looks to have covered him off, and he has indeed, but the move has in over the end. It's not just stuck. Taylor O'Flanagan is still all over the back of him and cuts back to the inside.
Oh, this is still side by side then as it goes to gooseneck. This is going to be uncomfortable. Willis has done it once before and held on. Can he do it again with his Cook, that leader? Who's going to come out in that second place just behind them? Taylor O'Flanagan has got past Willis then as they went through the gooseneck. Can Willis do anything about it? Hugo Bush has also made a move over the top of Lars Hoffman.
But Hugo Bush has gone off. He's gone off in the background.
Here comes Willis.
Willis is going to take a look around the outside again. We know that he can overtake from anywhere. Who's going to emerge out the top of the turn? It's still O'Flanagan who emerges out in front of Tom Willis, but now they head into the Hall Bends. What's going to happen here? Taylor O'Flanagan a little bit sideways there. Is that going to open the door for Tom Willis?
Wise head there from Taylor Flanagan, had to be brave, tucked it down the inside, another green flag, so they were under yellows as they went through Hall Bends. Here comes Taylor Flanagan though, he looks like he's got that all sewn up. Well done, great road.
Well, a brilliant drive from Harry Cook to take victory here in the final race of Saturday at Cadwell Park, and it is Taylor O'Flanagan who flies into a second place finish. Tom Willis shortly behind him. Hugo Bush beats Lars Hoffman to the line, and the rest of the field will shortly follow behind, I'm sure, but those front runners built up a significant gap, because I think it's fair to say, Chris, they were in a class of their own.
It's been like this all year, and that's fantastic racing, and it's great to see them racing millimetres apart as we see the rest of this field coming across the line. Unfortunately, Welch go out there late on, looked like his car needs a bit of love and care, but these battles have been going on all season long, and it's been fantastic to witness from the commentary box. And Cook there is that looking, as I say, lost a few bits of bodywork there, certainly made some significant contact with the outside. That's on the park straight, so it would have been carrying some speed as well.
Well, look, it's nothing a bit of teacup can't fix at the end of the day, Chris. That stuff is magic. I swear, it's magic potion in a bottle.
It's amazing what the boys at DPR can do to put a car back together again, and they've got 2 more races tomorrow to get that car back out on track. Hopefully, Chris Welch is out that car and all well. I'm sure he is, otherwise they would have safety car'd that race. But a fantastic action. Cook has, just like I say, he's taken a step forward this year and really looks the man on form, and he's the first person to take 3 wins this season. It's been so even between all these, but what a race, what a result.
Well, let's take a look at the results as they appear on our screen in front of us. Harry Cook does take the win, and he takes a victory by 1.7 seconds over Taylor O'Flanagan, and only about 0.4 of a second separated O'Flanagan and Willis as they took the final 2 podium spots. Hugo Bush got an overtake done on Lars Hoffman on pretty much the last lap of the race, and those front runners, as I say, were in a league of their own, but Lars Hoffman will come away with the fastest lap of the race, even if he doesn't quite make it onto the podium. And Chris, I'm going to wrap up your job today by trying to describe to me that race in one singular word. I know it's like an impossible challenge, just like asking you what the meaning of life is, but you've got to try and do it.
I'm just going to say brilliant. Brilliant is my word. Sorry, that's more than one word. Brilliant.
It was absolutely brilliant to watch. And speaking of brilliant, I want to hand down to our brilliant team who are in Parc Fermé, because I want to hear personally from the drivers that have just treated us to possibly the most brilliant spectacle here at Cadwell Park. Guys, it's down to you.
What a fantastic race to end on today. There was about 5 of them battling for first place at the beginning part of that race, but they put on a fantastic show for us. So I'll just wait for them to get out the cars, and Harry Cook will be delighted with that win. So I'll just wait for him to get out the car. There's lots of smiles from Taylor as well. But yeah, fantastic race. You know, dry for them as well, which was good. Meant they could push on a bit. And there was some great overtaking. Harry, congratulations! That was fantastic. That was a crazy race at the beginning, wasn't it? And then you managed to put a bit of a gap on the other 2.
Yeah, very hectic. I think I managed to get in the lead, and then I think Tom made a small mistake up the mountain, and I thought, okay, it's the chance, and then just went for it. But I saw 15 minutes, I thought, Christ, this is going to get a knackering, but yeah, happy with that result.
Yeah, there's no rest here at all, is there?
No, there really isn't, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'll go and have a word with Taylor. Congratulations, Taylor.
Thank you.
Goodness me, that was a crazy race, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just trying to stay off the grass, to be honest, everywhere, you know. You think there's a bit of a move on, but you know, you're just not worth the risk. So yeah, very happy to be on the podium. Needed a little bit of work to the car, I think, make it a little bit quicker for the race. I think it was just a bit too pointy, and I lost the tyres quite early. But yeah, super happy overall, especially to get back there. Tom almost had me on the last. Well, I almost had him, then he defended it, and yeah, great last lap. I want to watch that back. Yeah, super happy to be on the podium.
But you overtook him obviously round Chris curves, wasn't it? And then into the gooseneck.
Yeah, no, I saw obviously he was going to take the inside, so I sort of went to the outside, and he outbraked me by a long shot. So then my only option was to try and undercut him. So yeah, I managed to just get a nose around gooseneck, and I was looking at him like, please don't turn in. And yeah, no, he backed out. So yeah, very super happy with that.
Yeah, very brave move. Well done, Taylor. Let's go and have a word with Tom quickly. Tom, can I just have a quick word? Goodness me, you guys had a great battle out there, didn't you? That was a very hairy race.
Hairy, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think I was on the grass a couple of times in that race, and managed to keep it on the black stuff ultimately, and yeah, happy with third.
Yeah. No, that was well deserved.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant, well done.
Thank you.
Right, that's it for all the Caterham racing today. So I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I'll hand back to James and Chris.
Thank you very much, Sam. Oh my goodness, what an absolute treat we were able to finish with today. But the racing action this weekend at Cadwell Park is far from over, Chris. Just tell me, what time is our first race tomorrow? Because can we actually start it in 5 minutes?
9:30 is our first race tomorrow. That's to the Roadsport. So where we lose the Caterham Academy from today's events, we gain the Roadsports, which I'll introduce you to all tomorrow. But 9:30 for the start of that sprint, and we're going all the way through to 4:20. In fact, it's about 3:50 tomorrow.
Well, there's a schedule up on the screen for everyone to take a wee gander at. So yes, we are starting at 9:30 tomorrow morning. So make sure you get your live stream on sharp for 9:30 in the morning. But join us a little bit before then as well, because we'll have some build up here from Cadwell Park. We'll have some thoughts of drivers who have raced today, and indeed drivers that are racing potentially for the first time tomorrow this weekend also. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us here on these streams. Make sure you've got your cups of tea sorted. Make sure the coffee machine is warmed up. Make sure you've trained everyone in the house how to prepare your croissant in the morning, as I'm sure Chris will tell his butler later this evening. But there's another day of racing still to come here from Cadwell Park. And Chris, let me get your final thoughts before I let you jet off in the private helicopter.
6 races today. We've got 11 tomorrow. We need to have a little rest of our voices tonight so we can last the day. I can't wait though. Let's get it going, and I'll see you to the 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Right, well, you're on voice rest now. Off you go. Get into the helicopter. Off to Wayne Manor you depart. And from me, it's a very warm goodbye. I hope you do join us again tomorrow, because we have been treated to some exhilarating racing, and I'm sure that there'll be more of the same tomorrow. But for now, it's goodbye, but I'll see you in the morning.